Hello and welcome. My name is Fran and I'm the owner of the Off the Lead podcast. My solicitors have advised me that due to Irish anti-clickbait legislation, I cannot just publish what Blindboy said, but thankfully, due to a legal loophole, I can still publish the entire podcast. So give it a listen while it's still online. Let me know what you think about what Blindboy said, the mad bastard, and you can direct all your emails or comments to me at imofthelead@gmail.com. That email address again is imofthelead@gmail.com. Let me know what you think about what I'm doing, what Blindboy said, and without any further ado, I give you my conversation with Peadar Riley. Thank you. And we're live. Peadar, welcome back.
I'm back.
You sure are. To our regular listeners, they won't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You're back. What do you mean back? Did I miss a podcast?
You missed a 4-hour podcast.
Yeah, fucking 4 hours. Like, you smashed the record when you came round. Smashed it. But my counting laptop, it wouldn't turn on.
It wouldn't turn on, yeah. So that's probably why it was so easy and so good, because I knew it wasn't fucking recording, you know.
Yeah, well, there is that element to it. But what are you here for, Peadar?
I'm here to see what this Off the Lead is about, Frano.
You surely are.
Yeah.
This is the first podcast whereby I'm not trying to get something out of the guest, for want of a better term. You're here to get...
I'm here to find out what the fuck is going on, not yeah.
And I'm glad to have you, and I'm glad to have you to do that, because I need to know.
Yeah, I remember you saying to me the last time when you were on to me that you need to be asked a question so you actually know yourself.
Yeah, because I'm very confused, being perfectly honest with you. I kind of half know why I started it, and I'm glad I did, and it's kind of blowing up on me a little bit, and in a good way. But I don't know. So, like, put it this way, what are you keen to ask? Or?
Well, I have an idea of my own personal opinions and ideas on why you're doing it, but then I'd say there's an awful lot of people who are like, what the fuck is he at? Like, what is this all about? Is it interviews? Does he want to become a journalist, or is he setting up a cult, or is he trying to rival Scientology, or what the fuck is he at? Like, he's doing these recordings with different people from all walks of life. Like, I think it's a great idea, but is there a grand scheme of things? Like, is there... What's the end game?
You said you had a few ideas or something to that effect of what it is that I'm doing. Can I hear some of them first?
No. Because I want to hear from the horse's mouth what you think it's about.
But you see, again, and not to go kind of around in circles, I'm not 100% sure. I suppose I've been listening to podcasts for, nearly 2 years now. And I say podcasts, I've been listening to fucking Sam Harris, Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson. And what I think I was looking for was, I suppose, an Irish version of what Joe Rogan does. Somebody having conversations with people exactly like Joe Rogan does, but not with Americans, talking about American shit.
Yeah, because I've heard a little bit, bits and pieces of Joe Rogan's...
Sorry, just get you to push that mic a small bit away from you, Peadar.
All right, no bother. Yeah, I've heard bits and pieces of Joe Rogan. You know, again, there'll be only 5-10 minutes. These 3-hour chats, I don't know how people listen to them, or do they listen to them all, or do they listen to them, like, as I was saying to you before, like a radio in the background, because I can't see anybody being able to just sit there and listen to it for hours and hours on end. But I've heard, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of Joe Rogan's podcast, and they sound very good, but I've never actually sat down and listened to a full one. And I was wondering, do many people listen to full podcasts, or do many people, did you aware of listen to your full podcast? Or?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just on my own kind of listening to podcasts background, for want of a better term, I think I'm representative of people who listen to podcasts, say.
Right.
And with the likes of Joe Rogan, and this is what people don't really understand about the 3 and the 4 hour long conversations. When Joe Rogan or anyone that I'm listening to regularly puts out, let's say, a 3-hour podcast, or in Joe Rogan's world, 3-hour podcasts in the 1 week, I go, happy fucking days. There's 9 hours of listening, basically. So it's passive. So I'd never, ever, ever sit down and just listen to a podcast. When I'm at work, I suppose it's an alternative to the radio.
Yeah.
Essentially. So that's, if you think of it like the radio, it's on in the car, it's on in the background at work, and depending on who I'm listening to and what they're talking about, I will or won't listen to it depending on what I'm doing. So if I'm driving, that means that I can give it my full undivided attention, to a degree. I'm not going to crash the car because of the attention I'm devoting to what I'm listening to. But if I'm at work and I'm doing something that's kind of noisy, or because like when I'm watering, say, it's quite a noisy process, so I might miss the odd word here and there. And if Joe Rogan's just having the crack with some comedian, that's grand.
Yeah.
But if he's talking to somebody about like a deep and meaningful topic,
you want to hear in every syllable. Yeah,
exactly. I don't want to miss anything. So yeah, people do listen to it all. Now the way people are listening to mine, I know by the kind of the back end metrics on the websites, the majority are listening to them all. The majority might take 4 or 5, if not 10 attempts to listen to them all. But for the most part, yeah, if they're listening to them regularly, they're listening to all of them. And what might happen is they might listen to an hour of a 3-hour long one and stop and not go back. But that's just because it's because they're talking about something that just doesn't interest them.
Yeah, you're not going to listen to every podcast everybody does. Like, you're not going to be that interested in certain things, or are you? Or
well, I've a ready answer for that, because I've only kind of changed my listening of Joe Rogan's in particular recently. So when I kind of got hooked on podcasts in general, I was listening to every second Joe Rogan put out. I listened to it intently. So that was 3 or 4 a week, 2 or 3 hours at a time, all day, no problem listening to them all, and did for like a year and a half. But I suppose in the last 6 months I've become a lot more selective. In his case, I'm skipping all the ones he does with fellow comedians, and I'm only really listening to people that I kind of find interesting.
You're refining what type of guests you're listening to on his show.
Yes, I suppose if you compare it to radio, if radio was just invented last week,
you're going to listen to
everything. You're just going to listen to everything. But over the years, you're going to know the difference between good and bad, and you're going to be a lot more selective in who and what you listen to. And that's the fucking beauty of podcasts, is you're choosing what you listen to.
Yeah.
When you go into work and someone has Today FM on, you're being subjected to whatever comes on that station, and probably 30% of it being ads half the time. So you're just being bombarded relentlessly with fucking Harvey Norman or whoever the hell is on the radio waves these days. And TV is the same.
Exactly, yeah. And people are changing their ways, Netflix and all that now, and avoiding all the ads and all that, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, Netflix is an interesting one, because I thought Netflix was kind of not the new TV. I thought it was a new thing completely. And it wasn't until Des, my last guest, it wasn't until Des kind of pointed it out to me that you're not being selective of what you watch by watching Netflix. You're still being limited to what Netflix gives you. That would be Des's approach.
Yeah.
So anytime I say to him, I was watching this really good documentary, he'll go, where did you watch it? And I'll say Netflix, and he'll just roll his eyes and go, oh, yawn, you and every other fucker out there.
It's narrowed down to whatever Netflix decides is for you.
Exactly. So Des would be a big YouTube man, because there's a billion people using it all the time, uploading whatever, no matter what your interest is. Like, if you're interested in glow-in-the-dark worms, there's probably 10 hours of glow-in-the-dark worms material on YouTube. And, replace glow-in-the-dark worms with whatever it is you're into, like. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you're the Irish Joe Rogan, and it's not what you're trying to be, though, is it?
No.
Is it not, I'm getting the feeling it's something a little bit different than that. It's not just a podcast.
It's certainly not just a podcast.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's certainly not just a podcast. That video I sent to you the other day of me and Des getting out of the lake, that to me is
fucking nuts. You need to put that up, though, don't you?
Well, that's what I'm getting to. That's going up. That and
what has that got to do? What does getting out of a fucking frozen lake have to do with podcasts and Off the Lead? Seeing that this is meant to be off the lead.
Well, it's not just a podcast, as I've kind of stumbled out a couple of times already in previous episodes. Now, what it is, I don't know, but it's certainly closer to, I don't know if you call it a movement or a philosophy or a cult or a religion or a club or what,
or all them things,
or maybe all those things combined. Yeah. But the idea that getting back to the video of us getting out of the lake, that to me is off the lead activity.
Big style.
Like I'm
some may say fucking crazy.
but here's one for you, right? I'm, I suppose, a triathlete. I swim, my bike, I run, amongst other things. And in triathlete world, they only swim I don't even know the months. It's like March or May to September.
This in Ireland, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. So they only have events and they only train the swimming part in open water and lakes. So put it this way, most triathletes out there, no matter how serious you take them, like Graham Mackin there,
yeah,
he would take
to him, Graham's fantastic.
Yeah, like he's the only reason he's not a professional athlete is because he's not getting paid.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? And whatever swimming training he's doing now is the same swimming training that everybody else in the country is doing. It's in a swimming pool. And he's not doing it in open water where he would compete because it's too cold.
Because the top of the water is frozen solid.
Only in parts.
That's enough to... Only the part that you have to get into is fucking frozen solid, so that's a start.
But put it this way, we did it in just swimming shorts. Even at the height of summer, on the hottest day of the year.
Dry suits or wetsuits?
They wear the wetsuits. And even in a full body wetsuit, it's steamed too cold to go into the water in a full-bodied wetsuit in October. Never mind fucking the 20th.
But you were red raw, like you're fucking close to hypothermia.
I was, and you want to be careful with the whole hypothermia because you could fucking catch it fairly lively.
Yeah. If the person taking the video doesn't give you your keys quick enough to get back into the van, give me fucking keys. I just had to laugh at that part. Thought that was one of the funniest parts. But
hey, look, for the people wondering what that's all about, it'll be in the video.
Oh man!
But yeah, you limit yourself and you do it smart. So where we were there was in Loch Ramor in Virginia, and we started out and we swam, I don't know, for maybe, was it about 15-20 minutes we were swimming in the water, but we were never any more than 10 feet away from something that we could pull ourselves out of.
Yeah. And you had your big life buoy. So what do you call them things? You have Baywatch job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fucking
a tow floater.
David Hasselhoff running down the beach. Joke.
Yeah, pretty much. And the idea of that is like I would wear that at the height of summer. That's not a cold thing. That's basically just if you get into difficulty for whatever reason, you're not just sinking like a stone to the bottom. You can hold on to it and fucking scream help or whatever. I've never needed to use it, but I suppose it's like a seatbelt as such. You don't intend to use the seatbelt in your car, but you're not driving down the road without it. So
you've taken triathlete, or is that what you call them, triathlete? That's what you're swimming, bike and running.
Swim, bike, run is a triathlon.
So you've taken that essentially off the lead as well by getting into it when the lads that actually do that.
No, it's not that I've taken a triathlon off the lead. It's being off the lead is not. It's not doing what everybody else does. It's not being told that the lake is too cold. The lake isn't too fucking cold. If I can get in and swim in it for 20 minutes in a pair of shorts, anyone else can get in a fucking full body wetsuit. And it's just an example of how you can do all these things that people say that you can't do. Like this idea that, it's, I'd go for a run, but it's pissing rain. What the fuck is stopping you from going for a run? Go out and run in the pissing rain. There's, during that kind of way, and it's that mentality. People are so fucking, I don't know, there's a kind of a herd mentality. There's things that people say, and it crushes independent thought. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to upload that video with the idea that people are going to start jumping into fucking lakes and freezing themselves half to death. That's not the point. The point is, put it this way: we went to another lake. We go to a lake every week.
All right, so Des does this as well, does he?
Yeah, the two.
I didn't know if you just threw him in there.
No, myself and Des do it every week, and we've been doing it for the past 10 weeks or so. So we've gone to different lakes. We've gone to 10 different lakes in the area, which is cool in itself. I've gone to places that I've never been before and gone for a swim. Now, granted, the ones 10 weeks ago lasted a bit longer than the ones more recently, purely because of the temperature of the water. But we went to another lake. I think it was in Mulla, the far side of Kells. And when I get out of the lake, there was two people walking past. They were just out walking on the road, an old enough couple, they're probably in their 50s or so. And they kind of saw me and kind of made a funny face as if to say fucking lunatic, and walked off, and that was grand. But I'd like to think that maybe the next day when they were going out for their walk, and maybe it was snowing or maybe it was a couple of degrees colder, and they were about to say, or they would have said, "Ooh, it's a bit cold to go out walking."
Sure, if your man can get into it into the water.
Yeah, and that's the kind of mentality that I'm trying to, I suppose, foster.
So you don't have to copy what you're doing, but you're just breaking the norm just even slightly.
I think so. Yeah, I think so, because if people are kind of looking outside and saying, "Oh, it's a bit cold to go out for a walk," but earlier on in the week or the month they saw or heard of some fella swimming in a lake in his fucking boxers or a pair of shorts, we may
breaking the ice to get back into shore.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that was a bit unexpected, to be honest with you. Because we didn't get in there. We get in somewhere else and swam back, like. So I wasn't really expecting that. But I suppose it's just to foster a mentality that, you know, all is not as it seems, I suppose. And getting people from different, as I call it, different loops. Like I've had like a martial artist on days, that you could call that a tech podcast, I suppose. Talking about things that people wouldn't have been exposed to otherwise. I think it just wakens people up a little and kind of broadens your horizons, I suppose. I think.
Big time.
If any of all this makes any sense.
No, it does, yeah, because and a lot of the people you were talking to, maybe you know, people that are listening to your podcast mightn't ever really, I suppose, talk to somebody like that or hear what that person, you know, their opinions or their thoughts, especially if they're an expert in a certain field, you know, and they're talking to you for a couple of hours there, and people could be, you know, finding out things, and especially I've noticed as well, just like you've had people that I consider I know, you know, 20 odd years, and you're learning new things about them just by listening, because for once it's not in a pub environment where you're, you know, as we were saying before, weren't we? I think on the original podcast, It Doesn't Talk, everybody's talking nearly probably every week in the pub, but are you actually talking, you just making idle fucking chit chat, you know what I mean?
Yeah, idle chit chat. Like, Jesus, if there's one thing that kills me, it's small talk. It's this, you know, how are you? I'm alright, yeah.
And people think they know someone for years, and you mightn't fucking know, you know, much about their actual personal lives at all, because it's the idle chit chat over a pint, you know.
You don't know a fucking thing about it.
Yeah, just talking for the sake of talking, and just keeping noise, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just filling the gaps, like breaking the silence. And it's gas because like there's people out there with super interesting things to say. Like I haven't reached far and wide for the. What?
No, yeah,
guests.
that's what I noticed. Like when you've done your first couple of podcasts, I was there. He's gonna fucking run dry soon, and then the next thing you get another. It's like, yeah, and the more people you have on, the more people I'm thinking of. Do you know what? Jesus, you could get him out or her out. Or, there's so many people doing from all different walks of life, but I think then people don't really want to discuss a lot of it. It's not that they don't want to discuss, they're nearly afraid. And I've asked a couple of people that I find interesting characters, you know, over the last while, would you be interested in coming like, oh no, not me, no, I wouldn't have the personality for that. You get that a lot.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a personality, and you sent me a thing. I don't know if this is going to be because I was showing it to a few lads I was out with there a while ago, but I don't know if it's going to be the leading statement for your off the lead, or was it just something that just came into your head that you sent me in a text, quite a long WhatsApp. But it was just basically, I don't know, as I stumble through life, I'm going to try my best to do this, that, and the other. You know that? Is there some reason for that, or was that just come out? Because I have it here, like.
Read it out. If you have it to hand.
Yeah, I'll have to.
We'll make it a first. I usually ban phones from this.
All right.
Phones do.
No, I thought this might be what you're going to have on your podcast or some sort of leading thing, because it was pretty profound, I thought, anyway, and the people I've showed it to, wow, that's basically it was a very good example of.
Well, it's I would view that very much as a work in progress.
Yeah.
So again, and that's why I was delighted when you said that. I think the way you put it was you were going to Vincent Brown my ass.
Yeah. That's this mad cult about Francis.
But I need that, like, because I need to kind of figure it out.
Because I think there is people, and I did say to you at the time, I reckon there's people out there that are going, what the fuck is this cunt at? Like, what's the objective? What is he trying to do, or what is he trying to be, or what's the aim or the outcome? Are you looking to make money? Are you doing it to try and create a movement? And you were saying at the time that you need to be asked these questions, because nearly you need to be asked to actually be able to answer it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And on the am I looking to make money aspect, I want this, whatever this is, to be my full-time gig.
Right.
And in order for me to do that, I need to, I suppose, create a revenue stream from it. And there's a couple of different ways that I've thought of so far in how I'm going to do that, and I'd be intrigued to know what your kind of knee-jerk response is. One is, I suppose the original idea was, or what most people do, should I say, is they have a Patreon account and they upload their podcast, say, for free to the public forever. And then if you're giving them X amount a month, whether it's €1 a month or €5 a month or $100,000 a month, whatever your figure is, if you're subscribed and you're paying a monthly fee, whatever it is, that means that you get access to either just what everyone else gets for free, but maybe a week earlier, or maybe you get some of the behind the scenes material. Maybe you get podcasts that are only for Patreon subscribers. So that's the kind of typical revenue model.
That's how you go about monetizing a podcast.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. Now, I'm not a particular big fan of that. What I would much prefer is to have everything online for free forever, and then charge someone a membership to the Off the Lead club or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But call it a £5 a month. Or not a £5 a month, a £5 a year. So for what you get for your £5 is a username and a password that gives you access to, let's say, a Dropbox folder online. And in that Dropbox folder is, I don't know, maybe it's the text message exchange between me and you before you came on, and me and all the other guests before they come on, from before and after. Before the podcast and after. So, the first one is, hey man, thinking of starting a podcast, would like you to be a guest. What do you think? And
don't have the personality for it.
Exactly. And I got that from loads of people, and a lot
you get that from most people,
of course.
Because most people, I don't know, most people think they don't have the personality for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned earlier, and I'll get back to the monetization of it, but we said earlier that, what was it? It's almost as if I'd run out of people to talk to. Everyone I've ever met, or even a blind stranger, and literally everybody listening to this podcast is a perfect guest.
Yeah.
And the people who are the least equipped to have these type of conversations could actually be the best podcasts. Yeah. Because as long as you're able to have a conversation with someone, you're perfect podcast material in my eyes. And I've actually gone, not that I've gone wrong slightly, but I've had, in my view, too many almost personalities. And I've found that I've been interviewing people. I don't want to interview people. That's something that I really, really, really want to steer clear from. I don't want to get on, a motorbike guy and interview him. I'd sooner get on a guy who's mad into motorbikes and have a conversation with him. I'd much prefer if the conversation
sort of dips in and out of motorbikes and talks about life in general as well as that. Yeah,
absolutely. And the life in general is from a motorbike enthusiast
perspective, which is going to be different than somebody else's.
Exactly. So they're conversations. They're not interviews.
Yeah. Can I read this out, or do you want to read it out?
No, go for it.
Because I just thought this was great, because I was actually showing a couple of people that, and they're all right, because it kind of probably answers a couple of the questions that I'm here to ask, and it probably answered them for you as well in a sort of straightforward fashion. Because I think I was asking you what this was about, and you just had there's a little bit at the top that has nothing really to do with it, but you were saying, in order to clarify, my podcast isn't remotely objective, nor will it ever be. It's biased. It's subjective. At times, I'm sure I'm going to appear sexist, racist, ignorant, homophobic, intolerant, arrogant, bigoted, and a whole host of other undesirable things. But as I blindly stumble through life, I will be as reasonable and logical as I can be, trying as best as I can to understand myself and the world I live in. And if anyone, wants to come along for the ride, then they're more than welcome. The thing is, I see there being holes in our society, and that's not to say that we have lost anything. I think that science and technology have widened our horizons, but in doing so have left gaps. It's in these gaps that people fall through. It's in these gaps that people get lost, are left feeling isolated and afraid. One thing that seems to separate me from most is my relative lack of fear. I say relative because it's not as though I lack fear itself. Quite the contrary. But in a way, I seem to lack a fear of fear. So with that in mind, I'm going to attempt to show people why they needn't be so afraid, that I and everyone else are just as uncertain and just as full of questions and doubts in our collective attempt to navigate our way through life. And it's not rocket science. My plan is merely to have conversations with people I find interesting while periodically broadcasting my internal dialogue, like now. Because for every random thought or musing I have, you can be damn sure that every other single person in this country is doing something similar. And that doesn't make you weird. You're not touched. You're just you. And don't let anyone tell you any fucking different. And then you finish it off with that in mind. I hope you continue to follow me on my journey off the lead. And I just thought that was brilliant, because it does sort of sum up what you are actually trying to do.
I think it does, and that is very much a kind of a work in progress. Now, I say it's a work in progress. I might tweak that endlessly for the next 10 years. And
you'll refine it
and not change it.
Yeah,
do you know? I mightn't change that. It might be perfect the way it is. I don't know, because I don't.
The more you work on it, the more you might realise the original is just exactly what you want. Because you could change it around, but I think it's just the way it came out, because you're obviously just writing it, and just as it flowed from your brain to your to your pen or your text.
I actually recorded it.
Right.
And I subsequently typed it out. And so I wouldn't be able to, personally, I can't write in a state of flow.
Right.
But I can talk in a state of flow.
So dictaphone job or...
Yeah, like everyone who has a smartphone probably has a dictaphone app already in it. So I would make recordings on my phone in the van, at work, out running, out cycling, out swimming or whatever I'm doing. I could make 10 or 20 recordings in a day. It might be 5 seconds long, like it might be a second long. Like put it this way, I met a new contact today in relation to the business, and he introduced me to his wife briefly. Her name was Maria, and I wrote Marie in the back of my hand because I'm terrible with names. And when I pulled out of his driveway, I took out the phone and went, Dave Heffernan's wife's name's Maria, and that was my voice message that I saved myself. And I would do that, like I'd be driving to work and I'd think of something, somebody would cut me off in traffic and I go, do you know what that fucking prick's problem is? And before I'd say it, I was like, actually, I might remind myself of this, because there might be something in it for later. So, and I think most people are like that. At times in your life or during your day, you might think of something and you might kind of go, fucking hell, that's a bit profound, or, I look forward to saying that to someone, and 10 seconds later it's gone, like a fart,
never to return.
Yeah, so I've gotten into the habit of recording them, and I think I recorded what you read out there in a kind of a state of flow, and subsequently, as I say, transcribed it and probably changed it a bit, or maybe not, I can't really remember. But I'd highly recommend to anyone listening, especially like if you're regularly listening and you're enjoying these types of conversations, you're presumably of a certain mindset, and if you're of that kind of persuasion, I think there's a lot to be benefited by in kind of recording thoughts that you have throughout the day, and the best way to do it is just to say quietly into a microphone.
Yeah, because you're always going to have your phone, and you might not always have a pen and a pad. And as you said, it's easier. It's a lot quicker speaking into a microphone than it is to.
It is, and there's an interesting one there, because before I started doing this podcast, I'd nearly have to, sneak into a bathroom, or, do you know that kind of way? Hide when I'm
now you just pretend you're on the phone, do you, when you're recording it?
Well, now, like, even when I'm out running, like, if I'm out running, and it happens quite regularly when I'm out running, because, the blood is pumping and the brain is fucking engaged or whatever else, and I might be thinking about something, and I think, oh, fuck yeah, I'll record that. And before I used to, as you say, kind of pretend you're on the phone, but now I just take out the phone and start talking into it like a mad person, basically, on the side of the road.
Sure, every second goes out.
but I can do that because I'm not just some madman. Oh, that's probably podcast related, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know, kind of way, because I'm running this, I can get away with kind of doing what for a normal person would be weird, but it's okay for me because I have a podcast. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but the fear thing as well is a great one, I think, because a lot of people, a lot of people have fears, and I think were we making the point when we were having a chat the last day about fear it's inbuilt into you as a human, like, to have fears, and everyone has them, but a lot of people don't share the fear anymore, so then they think it's just, I have massive fears of doing this, even coming out for a podcast. Like, a lot of people would be going, oh no, rabbit in the headlights. Even I was to a certain degree, there's something, it's just a little bit daunting about it, and but you just have to do it, don't you? You have to. But a lot of people kind of don't want to talk about fear, or, as you said, fear is healthy. I think I said to you as well. You need to have fear.
It's necessary. Yeah, it's there's no getting away from it. And evolutionary speaking, put it this way: people, or animals, say, because we obviously are animals, but animals tens and hundreds of millions of years ago, if they had no fear, they didn't survive. Here, yeah. Like if you were a mammal, like a monkey, say, and you weren't afraid of snakes or large birds or much larger rival troops or whatever they are, if you didn't have inherent fear, you got eaten. You know, that kind of way. So that's why
fear is good.
Yeah, and every animal has it. There isn't an animal that's devoid of fear, because if there was an animal that was devoid of fear, it wouldn't be here
now, yeah.
Unless, now I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm sure there's some cave-dwelling thing that doesn't have any natural predators and it doesn't need fear, so it trundles on. But for the most part, it's absolutely necessary. But the weird thing about that is we need fear of predators. We need fear of heights. Heights is perfectly natural fear. Again, animals, ourselves included, that weren't afraid of of heights, especially primates, especially monkeys. If you're a monkey and you've absolutely no fear of heights whatsoever,
You're in big trouble.
You're like, fucking right, you are.
And a lot of people look at monkeys or baboons or whatever and think, they couldn't be looking at them leaping up in them trees.
Yeah, you'd think that, but they don't take jumps they can't make.
Yeah.
They don't say, oh, I might reach that or I mightn't, but sure, fuck it, I'll give it a lash. Do you know that kind of way?
Nice to be on the ground.
You're out of the gene pool with that one, lad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But the thing about fear is, it's necessary. We have fear circuitry. We're born with it. It's in our heads. It's in between our ears. We have it, and there's no getting away from it. But the same fear that we have, or the same fear circuitry that we have in our brain for lions and tigers and heights and predatory birds and all that jazz, that's the same fear that we use now today in 2017 for 40-year mortgages.
Which is mad, isn't it?
And it's no wonder we're all stressed out of our fucking heads. Fear should be a fleeting thing, or if it's to be a kind of a background thing, granted you should always kind of be afraid of predators, but not like we're afraid of not being able to pay bills mortgage, or you know, whatever else it is.
Because as you said, it's the same wired circuit that would have been projected in fear. As you said, a fleeting passing a tiger, a large, you know, primate, you stayed away, you knew the fear. But that's, as you said, it's the same. It's the same circuitry. We don't have anything else to use. And as you said, for 40-year mortgages,
so,
or paying your bills every week, so that's a constant fear. Well, and it's no wonder people have mental illness, etc.
Absolutely.
And why is it getting worse? People are wondering. Well, that's probably
people are more in debt. It's a part of it. Surely, I'm not saying it's the fucking answer.
It's not a fleeting thing. Yeah, it's not a fleeting thing. It's a constant worry for people going to bed, waking up every morning.
Put it this way:
who's going to pay the bills if I get sick? If I lose my job?
How often do you think you have a bit of fear or worry or anxiety or whatever you want to call it over having to pay bills, whether it's your mortgage or your credit card or whatever, or, you know, whatever it is? How often would you personally think you get that? You know, once a year, once a month, or
or maybe all the time, but it's just so far in the back of my mind that I don't even think I get it once a month. Do you know that kind of way? But it's probably always there. Like.
Well, maybe it's not. Maybe you don't get it that often.
Maybe I don't.
But maybe you don't suffer the same way that a lot of people suffer. Because there's people who get up and it's the first fucking thing they think of. And every time they spend money, they think of it. You know, every time they go to the shop and they're buying bread and milk, and they're like, will I get the cheapest stuff that's here? Or maybe yesterday's stuff that they're kind of giving away for half nothing, or will I buy the kind of fancy stuff? No, I'll save the 50 cent because, you know, I've got fucking bills to pay. There's a lot of people out there kind of like that. There's a lot of people that can't. It's not that I put it this way: how many people shop in Lidl and Aldi because they want to support the German supermarkets?
Oh, this is it, yeah.
But they have to just go. They're there the same way, the same reason I'm there. It's because it's fucking cheaper. So there's people who worry about money maybe a little bit more than yourself. Not that you don't have money worries, but again, getting back to that circuitry and that fear. Imagine somebody is worried about their bills once a day. I don't think that's too much of a stretch, say. Okay, let's say it's once a day. Imagine you have, I don't know, a pet fucking rabbit or something, and once a day you walk a tiger into the room and walk it back out, and you terrify the fucking shit out of it.
It's going to affect our quality of life, isn't it?
Of course it is. And it never knows when it's coming, and it's always kind of there.
It
never gets them.
Yeah, but it's still always fucking there.
But it still walks into the room.
Maybe the next time.
Exactly. And I think there's something there. Something there. I don't know what it is, but look.
It just brings us completely off tangent, but it just brings me to... I was actually having a discussion with a chap there during the week, and he was talking about these, you know, the electricity meters or gas meters you put into your house that you put the cars into? And he was saying, you know, I think you buy a $5 in the post office or the shop, and you top up your electricity, and then your electricity goes off when the car runs out, and you go and get another. And he was
like a payphone for electricity.
Basically. Yeah, basically, I think Pinergy or some of them crowds do them. But he was talking about, great lad, this is the great thing. And I was there. I remember hearing about them before, and it brings you back to the old. I don't know, what was it? The Silver Cross pram analogy. Was it me and you had a discussion about years ago? Rich people or people that are more well off can afford to buy the best of the best, and they buy a pram and they have 4 kids, but the same pram does the 4 kids, and people who are hard up or whatever, they have to buy the cheapest pram, and it's like the Silver Cross pram was €300, the cheapest one was only €99, so they buy it. but then they throw it out and they buy another one for the next child, and over the course of their 4 kids, it actually costs them more money. And I think it's very similar, as far as I know, and maybe I'm wrong, because this chap was sort of saying, no, that's not right, but as far as I hear, there's a standing charge on them boxes, like, that means that your unit of electricity is actually costing you more than if you were just hooked up to the mains, and it's just you get your bill every.
Yeah, if you could afford not to worry about a high electricity bill, say,
your bill is cheaper.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it's like that to me is just wrong. I don't know what. It's like preying on the weakest in society or something. Do you know
no, it is. Our society is fucked in that regard because. But here's another analogy. You're not super rich, but you're all right. You don't worry about your bills, fucking all.
I'm all right once I have a job.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But put it this way, lose your job and see how often you worry about your fucking mortgage.
Well, this is it, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That tiger's coming into the room more than once a day to the little rabbit now, isn't he?
Yeah, that cunt is crawling up the end of your bed in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But here's another analogy, in keeping with exactly what you were saying there about the kind of the electricity being dearer. If you're not, let's say if you're not shopping in Aldi or Lidl, let's say you're going to fucking Marks and Spencer or wherever you're going, odds are you're eating better quality food for a start. And if you're eating better quality food, it means you're going to the fucking doctor less. If you're forking out 80 quid a month for your local gym and you're going, running on the treadmill, or you have a personal trainer or whatever it is, you're healthier. So you're not going to the doctor as often. And if, let's say, put it this way, if you're, I don't know, call it a millionaire. If you're a millionaire and you have a headache, say, and it's not really going away, you can put up with it. Like, it's not too bad, but it's just been niggling at you. You'll go and you'll make an appointment with your doctor and you'll get it checked out. But if you're, if you don't have the 50 or 60 quid spare change to go and see a doctor, you don't go to the fucking doctor. You put up with that fucking headache. And, 6 months go by and a year goes by, and then you go to the doctor and you've got a tumour the size of a fucking golf ball. And it's kind of like, oh, lad, you should have really come into us fucking 12 months ago.
Not the money.
And extrapolate that ad infinitum for every little ailment and every little purchase that you make. Even, here's another one. This, oh, Christ, this kills me to see it, and I see it all the time. And maybe I'm aware of it more so because I drive a big, heavy saloon. It's an Audi A6. It's fucking 2 tons with no one in it. And there's fucking nearly 6 foot between the back of my kid's head and the number plate out the back of the car. And I pull up behind a Nissan Micra in traffic, and I see the kids, and they're 6 inches away. Their backs are 6 inches away from the fucking back bumper, and that's the difference between living comfortably, say, and not living as comfortably. Your kids aren't as safe, and that's so fucked.
Yeah,
so fucked up. And that same family, if that same kid is in an accident, they don't have the money that somebody else has to get the right kind of treatment. Do you know that kind of way? And look,
it sums it up, doesn't it? Like it's back to the electricity costing you more, your Silver Cross pram, the whole thing. It's just. And it's not, the cliche, the rich get richer and all that crack, but it's the poorest. And as you said, then if kids are in a little bean tin Nissan Micra, and them family probably won't be able to afford specialist hospital care for the child. Whereas the ironic thing about it is the chap that's driving a big Audi or a BMW or something like that probably will be able to afford it, but he won't need it because he's got a big car to protect him and his kids. You know what I mean? So it's the irony of it all.
It's fucked. And shit rolls downhill.
Yeah. It is a race at the bottom, and I know I talk about it a lot, but I do firmly believe that in some parts of society it is a race at the bottom. Like, and this, we had a discussion, I think, good for a good while on that for the podcast. I didn't record the fact that this race at the bottom is continuing, and it is getting worse. And a lot of people say, it's not that fucking bad, and we have a better life than we had 100 years ago and all that. Yeah, and I agree with that. But there is other people are getting very, very individualistic, and it's just, I'm all right, Jack. And I think I gave you the example the last time. Like, people will say, like, even when it came to unions, I don't need a union. I'm smart. I'll just go in if I want a pay rise and I'll get one off the boss. The rest of them mightn't have a clue. But the little did they realise, you might have got 2 or 3% off your boss because you're the boss to go in and ask him. But if you had been in a union or something like that, everyone would have got maybe 5%.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. But it does seem to be a race, and people are they have less and less money, less and less in your pocket. You might be making the same money as you were 10 years ago, but you have actually less because everything's going up. The price of fuel has gone up. The price of electricity is going up. Everything's going up. So people are poorer. They might be on the same wage, but they're poorer.
No, I couldn't agree more. And again, this is an ideal conversation to have on this platform. Long form, get into the kind of nitty gritty. Neither of us are experts on it, but I don't want to get an expert on talking, 3 or 4 steps above everyone else. Yeah. And I think politicians do that.
Yeah.
They talk above and beyond people, and people just kind of assume, I think, that because they're using big, convoluted language and they're talking in fucking riddles, basically, that's in
that's what a lot of them are doing. Is talking in riddles, talking absolute nonsense.
It's intentional.
By fuck it is. You've seen, I think it was Father Peter McVerry there, the chap that does all the homeless work in Dublin,
Yeah.
And I think it was Late Show or something that was on there, and I think it was Hubbard he was saying to him, but no, the government are getting on top of this housing crisis. They really are getting on top of it, and they're just spouting what they wanted to hear. Be very careful about the facts that they give you, because the facts that they're giving you are so misleading. They're saying that X amount of houses are now up. Them houses were there. All these scams, and they blur the lines and just keep talking. It's just pure. But I'd be looking at. I'm interested in current affairs and stuff like that, and you're just looking at them, and you nearly have to applaud them. My God, you can talk some shite and confuse the ordinary Joe Soap lad. Yeah. Because what you're doing is talking. Because if you call a spade, you're talking shite.
Yeah, well,
you really are.
Des kind of put it well. He said that, I had said that I've become just disillusioned with the whole political process to the point where I don't pass on your remarks.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
But he was saying you're playing into their hands. That's exactly what they want. Yeah. If there's only a fraction of the population that's voting, and they're listening to them, happy days. Yeah. If the overwhelming majority of people aren't listening, all the more odds for them getting back into power.
You go down to the street, the boys are interviewing, ordinary lads on the street and ordinary women on the street, and the whole lot of them are scamming, fucking lying bastards, full rich, they're not living in the real world. Guarantee you, 9 out of 10 of these people are saying that. Don't vote. Yeah, because why are Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael always in power?
Well, here's one for you.
People are voting for them.
I've been saying this for years, and again, to who? To the odd cunt here and there. At least now I've some sort of a platform, and I do very much so intend to grow it, and that's a good segue maybe back into monetizing it. But don't get me wrong, I'm not fucking finished with talking about how fucked up our political system is. But I'm after confusing myself there. What was I saying?
We were just talking about the fact that I suppose what we were saying was society and that the way it's going.
Yeah, I'm after fucking interrupting myself there. But anyway, look, we'll get back onto the kind of political end of things, but we'll get back to and start back again to the monetization end of things.
There's people voting on that.
Oh no, it was my platform, wasn't it?
Yeah, your platform for people voting or not.
Yes, people voting, but we're back in the room. I've been saying this again to no one forever, and loads of people are doing that. They're saying it to no one. Yeah. And this, again, is a cry out to everyone and anyone that might be listening. If you've got something to fucking say, send me a fucking email. I'm off the lead at gmail.com, and, sit down and let's fucking discuss it.
It's great crack out here.
Well, yeah, before I forget again, my idea is to have a none of the above category. So, you go to the polling station and you've got, 4 choices. Do you want to A, B, C or D? But I want a none of the above. Or maybe not a none of the above, maybe a I don't know.
And what would that achieve?
Well, what that would achieve was, as it stands, and I'm going to pluck a figure from the sky here, as it stands, 100,000 people reliably get out and vote. Do you know what the figure is? How many people?
Would it be more than that?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Even 60% turnout on the island of Ireland, the Republic, what are you talking about, 4 or 5 million people? So usually get around, it depends on what sort of a vote or election is going, but you'd usually get between, I'd say, 40 and 65%, I'd imagine. Okay, so at least 40% are usually for general elections.
So for average, would it be 55? Would you say %? And that's % of.
But if you said 50, look, 50 might be a little bit high. But if you said 50, that's of eligible 50% of eligible voters. Yeah, obviously over the age, and that's another thing. I think lowering the age should be done.
Right. We'll get to that as well. Don't let me forget about that, because I was actually only texting a friend of mine about that exact topic. But if, let's say, we'll call it 50% of the eligible to vote people vote, the opinion of the people who don't vote is they don't care. But they do fucking care. I think that the overwhelming majority of that 50% say, what's the fucking point? You've got a choice. Asshole A, asshole B, asshole C, asshole D. It makes no difference who I fucking vote for. They're all a pack of fucking lying bastards. So it makes no difference. But if you give them I don't know or a none of the above, and all of a sudden 20% of that 50%, call it a couple of 100,000 people or tens of thousands of people get the choice, they'll get up and they'll go in and they'll tick the none of the above vote. So then when all the votes are tallied, and it says that, you know, X amount of people voted this way, that way, and the other way, but 30% of people who voted said none of the above or I don't know, that might prick the ears of people who've been thinking of getting into politics. And it might make them say, hang on a second, there's 200,000 people who didn't know who to fucking vote for. That's 200,000 votes up for grabs.
Yeah, I see your point, but like, I mean, there is usually on a election ballot papers, whatever you call them, you would have a minority candidate on that, you know. Now, a lot of people will probably go, "There's no point in voting." But again, you get 94 votes when everyone else is getting 20,000.
But again, even the independents or the minority guys or whatever, I think the taste that's in the air is, no matter who it is,
they're all the same.
Even if it's the new guy,
yeah,
like the new guy, you know, or the independent or whoever it is, they might be slightly different, but fuck them, they're all the fucking same, really. I think what can an independent do?
Well, I think a lot of people will go into politics probably with great intentions, and then they realise that you have to fit in to the structure of politics. And the structure of politics is very rigid, and there's not much room for doing all this stuff. You know, you see it the boys coming out with their manifestos. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And a lot of that is just buying votes, basically.
Yeah.
And you know they're not going to do it, and people still vote for them. And then the opposition say, "Hey, you said you were going to do A, B, and C, and you didn't do anything." And they're going, "Well, we're in power now, so it doesn't really matter, does it?" And then they might get kicked out of the next election. But it's vote buying that whole crack, and I think people's hands are tied when they get into politics. I really do. It's very, very hard. What you need is a fucking revolution.
No, but before we get on to fucking burning it all down, if you were encouraging people to run for election, say, and I'm talking, what I'm not talking about is career politicians, because what you have now is you have career politicians. You have people who have embedded themselves in the political sphere. They run for power, saying they'll do X, Y, and Z. They get into power and they go, "Oh fuck, I can't do half the things I wanted to do," and they're career politicians. So they can't just, you know.
It's not even one career. It's a dynasty. It's coming from fathers, and his grandfather was such and such. So we voted for his father, his grandfather before him. Now we're voting. But then you see it happening all the time.
But these career politicians, they've no out. A regular person like me, I can run for election, say, even in a local election, I can run. And if it doesn't work, if I get into power and I realise that I can't change anything, I can turn around to the people who voted for me and said, "Here, listen, I can't change anything. This system is corrupt as fuck. I'm going to do what I can, but at the end of my term, I'm opting out. I want somebody else in."
George Lee done that a while ago. Do you remember him? It must have been 2 general elections ago. George Lee was a correspondent for RT News for years, and he said he ran under Fine Gael. Stand corrected, I think it was Fine Gael he ran for, and he got in, and I think he resigned after a couple of months. He just went, "Yeah, look, this is odd." But I said I was going to do all this shit, and I can't.
That's
it's
what you need more
fucked.
of. That's what you need more of. You need 100 of those cunts.
He just became disillusioned, I think. He probably went in and started, right, I'm going to wreck this place. I'm going to shape this up. I'm going to rattle this place to the core. And then he realised, no, there's all this. And it's not just somebody saying no. It's all little bits and pieces, I'd say, that just constrain you and keeps the status quo. And it's not just Ireland, because a lot of people, it's this corrupt banana republic. I have to agree with them in a lot of, but it's worldwide. It's a system, you know. America's the same, like, you know. There is that, once you get in, as you said, you could do something like George Lee, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know what George Lee is doing now.
No, but fair play to him. He did whatever he could. He said he couldn't do any more, and he fucked off back to his job. But he wasn't a career politician.
No.
He wasn't embedded in it. And what I want to see is 100 more. Is George Lee, was it?
Yeah.
I want to see 100 more of them, 1,000 more of them. And if, instead of being only able to name one George Lee, if you can name fucking 10 and you can pull up a list online of 1,000, maybe then, like, nationwide, the people might go, hang on a fucking second. Every lad in every town in the country that wants to change anything, can't do anything. Maybe then maybe that'll be the spark for a fucking revolution, because we do need something, maybe not, full scale.
No, we don't see burning shit to the ground, Rodney. But there needs to be a shake-up. Like when you see people with the negative equity mortgages and all that crack, like it's very, very sad. And people with the standards of living are just going down. Even though, as I said, their money might be the same, it's not going as far as it used to. And it really is sad. And there does seem to need to be something done. Like, but is it going to happen? Is there the appetite? Because Irish are great at complaining, but like, I mean, you see what can happen. One example is the water charges. Like, you can see what can happen.
Example.
That is a massive example. And you think then when people get a taste of that they go, oh, we'll have a bit more of that.
I think they have. I think that could be, maybe that's the fucking spark. Maybe that's that woke a lot of people up. That woke me up a little. Because
I know so many people that paid it, and then they realised, I was a fool to pay that.
Yeah,
but they had to. It was the other half of the country. It was nearly your none of the above electorate said, "I'm not paying it. It's a new tax that I'm not registering. I'm not paying."
We'll put it this way: have the government tried to push anything like water charges on us since?
Have they? No, the property tax was in before it, wasn't it? But
what I mean is, they'll wait till that's kind of forgotten before they fucking do anything about it.
Yeah, well, I was reading up there, I think they're even trying to slip something in now that they can charge for excessive use, and the boys are arguing now that's a backdoor into charging for water again, excessive use, because excessive use could be set at X amount of litres, and that could easily be dropped.
Yeah, but if they went at the start and went in for like an excessive litres thing, they probably would have passed that through.
Maybe
People
they would have,
fuck.
Maybe they would have.
But they didn't. They fucked up in a way. Do you know the kind of way they shot themselves in the foot? I think that's the kind of... The water charges was the canary in the coal mine. The water charges was the, hang on a fucking second, maybe
people just had enough, didn't they? Really did have enough. Like,
but again, you need something.
But I thought they would have grown on that. I thought there would have been more. Like, the water charges is a while ago now, I thought there would have been more outcry at like the banks. Even somebody was telling me they're at the credit union, the local AGM, and they were basically saying, did you ever think you'd have a local institution giving out basically that they have too much money because they have to have a certain amount put away in reserves in safe places, all
the
that.
Credit unions.
And the credit unions, the local, the good guys, basically, not-for-profit organisations, aren't competing on a level playing field. They're competing against the banks. And the banks, one rule for the banks, completely different for your local institution, your local credit union institution. Completely different rules. So they're not allowed to give out mortgages, for example, and stuff like that.
And what, should they? Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, of course they should. Yeah, they've got the money there. They've got the finances there. But it's that's the reserve. That's for the banks. That's their gig.
Well, surely the credit unions nationally are in a position to put up a big billboard in every branch in the country and, kind of spam their fucking members, for want of a better term, to sign a petition to have legislation
and
changed
this is again people getting involved and people being so disillusioned with everything nearly that goes on. It's above my head, so above my station to be even asking these questions, because if you go down to, for example, I think our local credit union, it's after taking on a good few swallowing up a few credit unions, but they're all under one banner now. But they have, I think Navan alone had over 30,000 members, and 30,000 members AGM, I'd say you were lucky if there was a couple of hundred people there.
Yeah.
And they basically have very little dividends or whatever, and there were basically people giving out about basically standing up. A few people were giving out, and the person I was actually talking to I felt like standing up and saying, what are you going to do about it? Why is nobody giving out that you don't have a level playing field with banks? And the person I was talking to actually said, oh well, somebody else did stand up. I was delighted because they basically took the words out of my mouth and said, what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Like, and they're basically, oh, hands are tied, it's a different playing field, but there's your local not-for-profit institution. And remember who brought this country to the knees was the banks, and now the credit unions can't even get on the same level platform. And the credit union are great, if you run into hard times or whatever, the credit union will sit down with you and work something out with you, or defer payments or lower your payments and all that. You won't get that sympathy off a bank, like. So it's again, it's society these days, isn't it?
But look, we are society. Me and you are society. Me and you, like every individual in this country, every citizen of this country is society. That's one thing that we fucking...
People forget, yeah.
People forget, like.
I think as well as that, a lot of people will be probably thinking that, I don't know, it's kind of like back to politics and money and business and big business and corporations have a lot to say and play in our society, the more powerful and big you are, strokes are pulled for you.
Oh no!
And I don't need to give
doubt.
You any examples. I'm sure you know loads of big corporations.
Of course, but countries don't rise or fall on the activities of like, you know, the 1%. Do you know that kind of way? Like when societies crumble, it's not because the people at the top were corrupt. It's because the individuals were corrupt. It's because every citizen in the country was just, you know, a little bit corrupt. Now,
or naive,
but they might be a little bit corrupt because they're looking at what's going on in the 1% and they're like, fuck this noise. If they're doing that, I'm doing this. But it's up to us as individuals to point out these differences. Like this conversation that we're having here. Any dog in the street in the country can listen to this conversation and understand what we're talking about. But what's out there in the media, when the credit union gets mentioned and the unlevel playing field it has against the banks, it's mentioned in, you know, convoluted language and in terminology that people don't understand. This is what people need to hear. These type of conversations. Two lads, neither of us experts in fucking finance or anything. And I don't want to get, you know, the CEO of the fucking credit union or whoever the top dog in the credit union is. I've no interest in speaking to that man or woman in here about these matters because they can't help but talk too many levels above me and everybody else fucking listening. This is exactly the type of conversation that I want to have, and this is the type of conversation that the people listening can understand and can action upon. Can, you know, again, the tagline, it's off the lead.
And tagging back to, that's what I was just going to say to you, back to off the lead. This is, I imagined before I came out here on a previous discussion with you, that it's kind of like trying to open people's eyes as well to what's out there and have conversations about actual subjects that matter rather than, you know, did you see the football game last night? No, of course, and the shite that's in the, you know, quote unquote news. Do you know what I mean? Like the horseshit that's on the radio, the horseshit. It's getting worse, lad. It's getting worse, isn't it?
I'm not in it. I couldn't even tell you. But like every so often, I don't know. It's like a guilty pleasure. I'll be in a filling station paying for diesel or something, and I'll just glance down at the headlines, and like typically it's buy 5 dies horror smash. And you're like, fucking hell, like, or, you know, something to the tune of, you know, the latest member of the fucking British royal family has a fucking
girlfriend,
whatever
fiance,
the fuck it is, like, and you're just like, roll your eyes and go, Jesus Christ, is this, you know, is this what media has come? And you take that online and you see the clickbait that's out there.
Oh, I mean, that's it. And you say, is this what media is becoming? But it's going to get an awful lot worse with the deaths of newspapers and stuff like that. But it's going to get worse because where will be the integrity? Because if you look at the likes of your social media now, Facebook and that, man, the clickbait is just brutal. Like, look, and the leading, you know, it's just there'll be no hacks. We were talking about this before as well, weren't we? Like actually journalists that go, investigative journalists that will go and dig up some dirt or look for a story. There'll be none of that left because it's all about how many boys you can get to click on a picture of, I don't know, Jordan or someone, or you'll never guess what this girl done next, and you have to click on the thing to see what she done. She did fuck all, like, you know what I mean?
But you're from the newspaper's point of view, and you'd obviously know more about this than I would, but from a newspaper's point of view, let's say if I was running a newspaper and I was just a pure out and out capitalist like all newspaper owners are, and I had a choice, you know, 2 people come to interview for a role. One is an actual investigative journalist who wants to, you know, expose stories on X, Y, and Z. And the other person is, you know, Pippa O'Connor, or, you know, no disrespect to her, but anyone with, you know, a couple of 100,000 people following them on Instagram because of their fucking makeup or their body or whatever it is that they're selling people.
Oh, they're going to go for the 100,000 followers,
yeah. It's a ready fucking audience, like. But like you're involved in that world a good bit more than me. I mean, to me, clickbait is the death rattle of traditional media, being honest with you, because it's going to just alienate too many people.
It's just all about how many likes and followers you can get these days, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's fucking nauseating.
And do you know what the mad thing is? Because it's guilty pleasure as well. I do be on looking at some of them, and do you know what? Sometimes I don't even click on it. What you can do is go into the comments, and you'll get some smart ass that'll put up what the whole thing was without you having to click on it. You know, so this is basically a non-story. Yeah, nothing happened. Only she died at the end or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, and it just saved you reading an entire article of shit, and you didn't have to click on it. But you'll get in the comments like people giving out about what a pointless story and blah blah blah. You read it. You clicked it. I get frustrated if I click on something now that starts with a sort of leading line. You know, like ... halfway through a sentence, and I have to click on it because it might be of something of interest to me. And you know it's shit. You know it's shit.
Before you click it. Before you fucking click it.
But I usually go to the comments now just to see what the fuck's going on. But you'll see so many people going, this is a non-story, typical blah blah blah, whatever the site is or whatever. And what I found actually after talking to yourself, what I found myself doing was going home and clicking that little button up at the top right hand side of the Facebook, wherever it drops in. I don't want to see this sort of stuff, or I don't want to see this anymore. Blah blah blah. But I actually noticed one, because I know you had a tech guy on there. I didn't actually listen to him before. Des, he was another tech guy.
Simon, yeah,
because I didn't actually get to listen to him. But I just read your opening statement was why Facebook or whatever it is, social media is going to eat all our children or whatever. I had to laugh. But on the whole the Facebook thing, like, it's. I had pictures. I think I took a couple of pictures of my kid or something, just on my camera. And the other way they'll pop up at the front of your, at the top of your Facebook, and it'll say, Peadar, you haven't posted a picture in a while. Give us a photo, Peadar. And I don't put photos.
Go on, you know you want to.
Yeah, and they're there, and all you have to do is press them. And I'm going, no. So I said, there's a little arrow there. You can do that as well with this, even your own stuff. I don't want to see that. Click, done. Next time I went to Facebook, it's back again. Every single time I go onto Facebook, the pictures that I last took are up. And I keep clicking, I don't want to see this, I don't want to see this, I don't want to see it. I don't think Facebook are listening to me.
I'm not sure what that I don't want to see this is. Is that not in relation to ads and stuff? Like, this ad isn't relevant to me. The idea being, if you click this ad isn't relevant,
you won't get it up anymore. But these are my photos, like, and it gives you the option on the photos not to see this, or not give me these suggestions anymore. Because I have no interest in putting photos of my kids up on Facebook. So I've clicked on that little section, strip on the top that's with my photos. I do not wish to. The suggestion, I think it is, to pop up, but it keeps coming up every time, even though I click it every time. And I just started clicking it. I just see how many times I click this, and will it ever go away? But I don't think it will, even though it gives you the option of kind of getting rid of it, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah, of course.
It's still there every time I go on, which is a bit strange.
Well, look, put it this way, it's not as if Facebook don't have the capability to erase that. Do you know that kind of way? If they wanted that...
This man doesn't want to put up these photos, let's leave it at that. He's after clicking it 5 times, you know, but no, every time I go on, it'll be there again the next time I log on to Facebook, you know. All the photos, I'm not putting them up Facebook. Do you know what I mean?
But remember when you said that every so often you'll see something, you'll know it's clickbait.
Yeah.
And you're clicking it anyway to see if it's not clickbait. And I do that as well, you know, from time to time. You kind of like, oh, fuck it, you'll give it a lash, and you go like, oh yeah, fucking Cal surprise, like. But... It got me again. But on the...
You know you're going to be got, by the way, before you click it.
Of course
you fucking know.
It's
not even a 1% chance it's going to be anything.
But put it this way. Someone who's pretty much identical to you, but just maybe ever 0.5% of a difference in personality, sees those pictures of their kids, or whatever it is, up, and... they do what you do for the clickbait.
Yeah, to go out,
give
it a lash.
I know I shouldn't, but yeah, in it goes. They just can't help themselves.
Maybe that's why they keep doing it.
Look, put it this way, and I don't have anything to fucking back this up, but I would imagine that the best cutting edge psychologists in the world are all either full-time employed at like Facebook and Instagram and all these other crowds, or they're hired in periodically or whatever it is, or maybe it's Facebook and the other giants that are paying for the research to be done, which is probably more to the point. But the idea being that they're on the cutting edge of what makes us tick, because they profit from it. The better they can...
Oh, it's in their interest to know exactly how you tick, yeah.
Of course it is. And it's just... The online world is just a bit of a fucking quagmire. But the beauty of what I'm doing here, and what other people like me are doing, is... they're providing an alternative to that kind of nonsense.
Well, this is true, yeah. It's a different media and different entertainment, isn't it? And
I think so.
Not talking in highfalutin language or whatever. It's just getting to the brass tacks, as it were.
Pretty much, yeah. And in a language,
cut the bullshit, lads.
In a language that people can understand, and in an accent that people can kind of listen to. A mutual friend of ours, Darren McElroy, he had a great one. I was chatting to him the other day, and he mentioned that he'd been listening to the podcast. I was like, fucking cheers, man. And he said to me, you know, you that know more about podcasts than he would, can you recommend one for Netflix films? Someone that's reviewed Netflix films. Yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck, I can't offhand, but I guarantee you there's hundreds of them, you know, out there. If you just Google Netflix review podcast, you know, you'll get 20 of them instantly. And he goes, oh, no, I've done that. And you're right, there are, you know, hundreds of them. But they're all American.
Yeah, and it's going to sound different in your native tongue or whatever.
Course. Like what he said, I think, was he loved even if somebody took an American one and only re-recorded it, like literally, like, you know,
yeah, just with the droll flat nav and accent, like
pretty much, pretty much. And one of the other arms of this off the lead movement or whatever it is I'm going to do exactly that, but for speeches. I'm going to do. I
remember you saying something like this before.
Yeah,
some famous speeches. Charlie Chaplin's one you were going to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, the great dictator speech, written in, you know, I don't know, the 20s or 30s or
still rings true to today.
It does, timeless. It does. But he has like a polished British BBC accent. Yeah. And it's not going to fucking rile people the way that my bogger Navan accent is going to rile people, or I'd like to think will rile people. Now, I could just share that off the Lead Facebook page, which I keep saying will be live next week, but it's still not.
Come on, the fuck, hurry up.
I know. But as soon as that is live, I will put up my reenactment of that speech. I'll probably do the Pale Blue Dot by Carl Sagan. That's another speech that people should look up if they're not familiar with it. JFK's Flight to the Moon speech, and, you know, others. And again, I could just share them. But
not the same.
It's not. It's really not, and I'm not going to improve them, not by any stretch of the imagination.
But it's going to be in a different accent. It's going to be something more familiar to,
I think so,
your audience, probably.
I think so,
and maybe not the people that are living abroad, but
yeah, maybe not. But I would imagine now that everyone, not everyone maybe, but that the large majority of people who are living in the other countries
are from
are Ireland.
Make it even more special. They're listening to
maybe
that from far away. Yeah.
Maybe if nothing else, I think this podcast has a market abroad for people just longing to hear Irish people talk.
Yeah, that's
that kind of way. Like if you don't get to, you know, see or hear an Irish person from one end of the year to the next, it might be nice to just kind of tune in. To a couple of.
Do you listen
voices.
to these back? Do you listen to, like, would you do a 3-hour podcast with someone and then go and listen to it again?
I've listened to them all back. Yes, but only from a recording point of view. I want to make sure that two hours in, it isn't for maybe 45 minutes.
So you wouldn't be actually listening to word for word again?
No.
Because I was thinking every time you do 3 hours, you probably listen to it again. So that's 6 hours. Fucking hell, that's a lot of time. Like,
it is, but then again, you see, in podcast world is the same as radio world. You ask somebody how much radio did they listen to in a week, and they go, I don't know. And you go, no, try and figure it out. And they're like, okay, well, it's on in the car, it's on at work, and between the two of those things, there's 60 hours a week. So
so you just wouldn't find it going by.
You turn around to somebody and ask them how many hours of podcast would you listen to, and they say, I don't know, 50 hours. You go, what? But little do you know, you're probably listening to that and more yourself if you're just listening to the radio.
Do you cringe when you hear your own voice?
Not anymore.
Yeah, so you did at the start.
I did.
Fucking hate it. Everyone heard. There's a scientific reason for that as well. You know that, yeah?
Well, my understanding of it is that the reason you don't sound like yourself is because when you're speaking, you hear your own voice through your jaw and through your skull.
That's basically it. You're not hearing what it's a more accurate reflection on what you sound like listening to it back, even though you go, I hate my voice. That is you hate the way you sound, and was basically what you're saying. It's a bit mad, but I think it's more realistic as far as I'm aware. When you're listening to yourself back, that's how you actually sound. But because you're listening, I think I sound a certain way now talking here now, but when I listen to that back, I'll be like, oh, do I sound like that?
Yeah,
but you do.
Of course you do.
You do,
of course you do. But it's interesting. The really weird thing is because it doesn't bother me anymore because I'm so used to it, and it didn't bother me at the start of this podcast because before I uploaded Beef, which was the first one, I'd already done like 100 hours worth of recording, so I was kind of well used to kind of hearing my own voice even at that stage. But what's fucking so weird and so surreal is, like, herself listens. She doesn't listen to them all, but she'll dip in and out of ones, especially if she knows who I'm talking. She'll absolutely listen to this one. Oh, fuck. Like, no doubt it's 2 or 3 days post now, and she's got the earphones in or whatever, and she's smiling because I'm talking about her. Like, but she listens.
Hey, you're out.
Yeah. She will listen to the odd one at least back. But I'll come home from work and I'll walk in the door and I'll hear me and you chatting. That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
That is strange, so surreal. Yeah. But here's another one for you that just sprung to mind. This is fucking class, and this kind of epitomises what I'm doing to a degree. Fionn, my 3.5-year-old, when Ruth collects Fionn, let's say, in the car, if she's going to listen to a podcast, like most people, she listens to it in the car.
Yeah, which is...
So sometimes when she gets back into the car, she straps Fionn in and drives off. My conversation with you or whoever else will play. And what does Fionn say? Daddy's on the radio.
Yeah, mad.
And the cool thing about that is he's going to grow up.
That is the radio to him.
But not even that. But he's going to grow up with the mentality of, if he wants to be on the radio, he can be on the radio. Do you know that kind of way?
Yes.
He's grown up with Dad being on the radio, so why wouldn't he grow up thinking that if he wanted to be on the radio, he could?
There'd be no reason not to be, yeah.
Yeah, and that idea of kind of leading by example or something, or I don't know, that there's something in that. Here's another one for you. I run every day, and as a joke nearly, I was going out the door, I was going to run from my house into Navan and back, and before I left the house, I said to Ruth, kind of jokingly and kind of seriously, do you want anything from town? Because if she wanted like a fucking, I don't know, a bar of chocolate,
you could go in and get it, yeah.
I could go in and get it and bring it back. But from Fion's point of view, he's going to grow up with running into Navan,
no problem,
being a thing, without me ever, encouraging him.
I used to walk out here from Navan as a kid, but it was once in a fine summer's day, maybe once a year. It was a long old walk. You're looking at what, 4.5 miles?
Yeah, it's 7k from my gaff to the Bull's Arse at the centre of Navan. Yeah, so it's 14k in and out. But let's say if you were to leave the house one day and say to your wife, right babe, I'm just walking out to Frano's, see you later.
She'd die of a heart.
She probably would. But let's say if that was more the norm, let's say cars weren't a thing or whatever, your kids will grow up thinking that my house was walking distance away, which they wouldn't now.
It was a real, I understand. It was, remember when we used to be going out, you're more from the country, but I remember from being from the town to go down to cousins we had in King's Court. And I remember one time we were going to go down to meet a friend down the road. Fucking 6 mile later, and we're still walking. I was just around this corner. The corner was about another 4 mile round. I said, down the road. Down the road to me, is a street away. These boys were going for miles to see their friend down the road. Yeah. But it's all relative. It really is. What you consider down the road.
Of course. But even the podcast, like even people saying things like let's say you'll go to work tomorrow or whenever you're in work next, and someone will say, Annie cracked, you do anything mad over the last couple of days.
Yep.
And you might just drop into conversation, well actually I recorded a podcast, I was a guest on a mate of mine's podcast, and he's going to hear, some random friend of Peadar's has a podcast. But you know what I mean? And it normalises this. If some random friend of Peadar's can have a podcast, maybe I can. Or maybe my friend who's been on about setting up a podcast forever, maybe if I tell him this lad who's just a normal guy has a podcast, maybe that'll be the boot up the hole he needs to just kind of go and do it.
Because a lot of people, I'd say, would think probably, now I don't know, but I'm just imagining quite a lot of people will probably go, who, like to yourself, who the fuck does he think he is, like, with this podcast shit, that's to preserve, like broadcasters and stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Who and again, as you so it normalises that, and it makes it attainable for everybody, because a lot of people are going to podcasts. Does he have a degree in journalism, or does he, like, what gives him why does he think that he should be able to speak to the masses,
It gets back to what I said, or what you read out, this idea that it's not that I'm devoid of fear. I'm not. I'm terrified of loads of shit, and with good fucking reason. But this idea that I lack a fear of fear.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, but you see, I'm I don't know, I was about to say I'm lucky in a regard. Luck has nothing to do with it. Or there's a great John Kavanagh quote, I don't know if he robbed it from someone else, but
the luckier I get, is it?
Yeah, the harder I work, the luckier I get, yeah. But I'm, I suppose, different to most insofar as that, number one, I run my own business. So I can publicise myself saying fuck, shit, cunt, bollocks, and I hate this and I hate that, and I think, this is wrong with society and that is wrong with society, without worrying about, my customers or not my customers, my company's customers, my boss's customers. Do you know that kind of way? Yeah. Or my boss saying, hang on a second, like, what's this? I'm not afraid of getting fired off the back of saying something
like here. Podcast, yeah.
Yeah. Plus,
you're kind of untouchable.
to a degree, I am.
Unless you fire yourself.
To a degree, I am. I am.
You're accountable to nobody but yourself. You don't have a person that you're accountable when it comes to employment.
No, I certainly don't. And on top of that, I kind of make my own hours. So, like the 4 hour podcast that we recorded we did that. What time
during
did
the
you come
day?
out
Yeah,
at?
I think it came out at 12 o'clock. I had to, or no, it was actually 11 o'clock. I think I had to leave for a dental appointment. I think about 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
it
so
was 4 hours.
So we recorded like a 4-hour podcast.
I was on my. I have a real job. But I was just on my day off, just to clarify for the record.
But like you had a day off during the week, so we sat down and did 4 hours at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
If you're working 9 to 5,
you ain't doing that,
and it's an hour commute to Dublin and back, you literally don't have the time. You physically don't have the time. So in that regard, I can kind of move things around. Now, don't get me wrong, I work as hard, if not harder, than fucking anyone else.
Yeah, well, I can definitely verify that's correct, because the hours you keep are fucking ridiculous. I actually, if you recall, sent you a message there a while ago going, do you actually sleep? Like, because I didn't reply. You responded to me, but I didn't see it because I was at work, I think at 1 a.m. in the morning, and then I realised you actually had written back. But when I seen it, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning or something. I said, well, I'm not going to, because he'll be in bed now, and then I will wake him up. And then I looked at the top last scene at 4:05. I was like, when does this man sleep? I was talking to him this morning, I was talking to him in the afternoon. I'm about to go to bed, and I keep mad hours, and he's up. And then the next thing, you're getting a screenshot of the motorway on the way to Dublin at like fucking 4:30 in the morning, pissing rain. I said, that man is dedicated, you know what I mean? He really is.
But again, that's only kind of half the picture, because what people will see is me out running at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, and they'll kind of shake their head in disbelief and go, that fucking lazy fuck, is he on the dole or something? He never works. Yeah. But little do they know, I'm up since fucking 3:30 that morning.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
Now, that day,
same with my night's walk and all that. You could be down in town and people are going, I never see him. I think I told you the example before. It was actually a work colleague at work that lives down the road from me, and when the houses were only getting built, our housing estate was it was a building site at the time, but he seen me talking to the chap, and he said to me, you want to sell drugs or something? I never see him. Every time I pass him, every single morning, 10:30, he's outside smoking a cigarette. Sure, he never goes to work, because he was coming onto the building site at whatever it was, 8 o'clock in the morning. He'd see him outside at about 10. He'd be going home from work, because the way the builders in the good old days, I don't know if they still do it, to finish early, maybe about 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And his car was still there. And he's like, how does he have a nice car and a nice house and never go to work? I was there because as soon as you drive off, he goes to work and he gets back home again. So to your man, he never moved. His car never moved.
Yeah, of course.
He never moved. He just had this nice house. He must be selling drugs. Because he actually said to me, does he sell drugs? I go, no, he walks with me. He goes, he doesn't walk. Every time I look around, he's there smoking his fags, Yeah. But it's all relative, isn't it? As you said, you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning. People see you floating down the town and they think, how does he do anything? Like?
It's a different time zone.
Yeah.
Like, and that day, like, I was up late one night actually, the reason that I was up late was I did the recording with Des. We started at like 8, or it could have been 9. That was 3 hours, so that was 12 o'clock by the time we finished it. And by the time I had done me a little bit of tweaking to the audio and got it uploaded and did a few bits, it was 1:30. I went to bed, and then I was up at 3:45 to go on the delivery. But I came home, did half a day's work, and at 12 o'clock in the day I went to bed till 5. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
So I was in bed fast asleep from 12 o'clock in the day till 5 o'clock in the evening. So you kind of, you
fit your sleep pattern around what you're doing that day. Or...
Well, you do.
But
it's not always like that either, by any stretch of the imagination. But the point is that I have the luxury that I can do shit like that.
Yeah, and I think that if you had to do that for a living, if you were being forced to do that, or, I'd say that would take a much bigger toll on you than because you choose to do it. That kind of way? If that was your work, like you have to sleep between 12 and 5 and all these mad patterns of sleep. If you were doing that for somebody else, I think that would be much harder.
You drive insane.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to do it.
No.
But the fact you're doing it for yourself, it doesn't matter, because you chose to do that. You chose to stay up till 1. You knew you had to get up at 5. But you do it for yourself, and there's nobody. It must be a good feeling not having to answer to somebody, about why you were sleeping then and why you weren't doing that. It's just your own. You just do your own thing, don't you?
Yeah. No, and it's mad. You've hit on something that I've actually been kind of obsessing over recently. And it's this idea of circuitry. I mentioned it there earlier. That this, not fear circuitry, but when something, let's say you've been ignoring something. Let's say there's been a damp patch on your ceiling that you noticed one day, and then the next week you notice it again. You're like, ooh, that could be a little bit bigger than it was. And then you look at it again. It's like, oh shit, okay, right. I really should do something about that. And you put it on the long finger, and nothing happens. The circuitry that's at play there, and then obviously, the fucking ceiling collapses
down
in
on top of
it.
you, yeah.
The circuitry that you're using when you're putting things on the long finger and when things happen unexpectedly. I'm going to butcher this now, but the sentiment will be right. that's kind of like a reactionary circuitry. And there's fear there. You don't really know what it is. You're afraid to kind of approach it and
Pandora's box.
yeah, exactly. You don't want to know what's behind it. You know it's getting fucking worse, but you can just ignore it. And that's anxiety inducing, and that's stress inducing.
And subconscious, on a subconscious level, I'd imagine
it
as
is.
well.
Oh no, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. So that's flooding your brain with negative emotion. Okay, so you're getting, I don't know if it's cortisol is the neurotransmitter that makes that. My little brother Pat, the neuroscientist, is going, it's fucking this, Frano, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, well, that'll do me, Pat, right? Because I don't know what he's talking about.
Again, whatever neurochemical that's at play, it's the bad one. But if you see that, and instead of going, oh fuck, I'll leave that. If you see that and go, do you know what? I wonder what the fuck is up there. And you go up and you cut a little hole, and you're using your exploratory circuitry.
Yeah.
And that's pumping the good stuff into you.
Right.
And
so there's a reason to never procrastinate.
Oh, procrastination it tortures people. And
You used to be a bit of a procrastinator, weren't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and less now because again,
you see the benefits, and you see the benefits as well.
Like when you're working again, like I've done the commute, like I've done the up and down to Dublin, and working in a job that you just want to fucking tear your face off. Telesales for Aircom and selling shit, and just Christ, you know me, man. I've done everything, good and bad. I've dragged myself around building sites. Only 2 years ago. Do you know that kind of way?
To drive half the way around the country as well than the other.
Repping, yeah, absolutely. And I've made good
serious
money.
mileage. I remember we calculated, I think you had done more miles in 6 months than I had done in my entire life.
Well, look, talk to anyone who has a fucking job repping. Yeah. That's the life of a fucking rep. And the life that comes with that is a life of sitting on your arse for, 70 or 80 hours a week in the car, living at filling stations. This kind of crack, and that's just, it's not good full stop, and I don't have that anymore. My commute is my delivery twice a week to Dublin. I door to door to where I operate is like 6.5 minutes, that kind of way. Yeah. So
back onto the secretary there, because I think I cut you off there. Were you were going somewhere with that? The exploratory thing releases the good stuff.
That was it. Like if you can not procrastinate, like if you can actually go after the problems. Like you're still dealing with the same problem,
but it's actually good for your brain.
It is good for your brain. You're if you're exploring shit.
It makes sense. Like I never thought like that, but
people don't, of course.
But this is what, and again, I keep on. But it's trying to tie back, because I'm conscious that people are going, I thought this was going to be off the lead, talking about why you're doing it. But this is case in point, isn't it? Learning things from people that you might know for years that you mightn't actually have learned. Like I've learned that now, that using the exploratory actually releases the good stuff in your brain, and that's what I was taught was, this is part of what this is about, talking to people about interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I said earlier that I've found over the last couple of episodes that I've been interviewing people, and that's because I got in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and I got in like an extreme downhill mountain biker, and an endurance athlete, and
it's always going to be a little bit interviewy, isn't it?
Yeah, and they were great. Don't get me wrong.
They were brilliant. I listened to 2 of them. I think Roger and Graham. I didn't get the other chap. I haven't got to them all yet, because I need to start playing these podcasts, because as I think I was saying to you, they're great. I took out my guitar for the first time in 5-6 years and started dusting it down, and had Graham on in the background. I think I listened to Gaz as well in the same night. I'd done about 6 hours worth of podcast. But I need to start getting this stuff into my car, that you can bring it with you. Make it my radio, because when I get in, it's Today FM. It's tuned into my radio. It's Xmas FM at the moment, because the kids love Xmas FM because it's all Christmas songs or whatever. So I don't mind having it on for the month of December or whatever. But there's a lot of ads in it as well, and but I need to get away from this, because I do feel that I'm falling behind the times, especially with my television viewing and that. Like, so many people now are just Netflix and all that, and they don't watch telly. Telly is like, what's telly like? And and even the way you listen to, like, radio, like, people are probably going, you listen to the radio, what's that all about? Why would you do that? Half the time there's ads on. Or remember the classic I was saying to you, I think it was one of the chaps who write for the Mirror, he had a little strip in it. He was talking about Sky TV and he was saying like, oh, Sky TV, I was in the middle of watching my favourite ads and a programme came on. And it's like 15 minutes of ads and 15 minutes of a programme, like, do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
It's nuts.
And like when you look at the, like, for anyone listening, just the next time you're watching the telly and an ad comes on, just try and examine the ads that you're watching from this perspective. Think of how shit the version of that ad that you would make. Like, these ads are big productions. Like, they really are. Like, depending on who's making them, they could be multi-million euro productions. Whether it's because they've got some famous actor or because they're, on location or whatever the fuck it is. These things aren't cheap. Like, they're big budget things, and that's where that mentality of the program came on and ruined my favourite ad. Like, I saw an ad recently for, what was it? Virgin, I think. Virgin are trying to make a play for broadband space in Ireland or whatever else. And it was just an ad for Virgin. And like, I obviously couldn't see myself, but I'd say my pupils were fucking dilated like fuck. I was honed in on this ad. It fucking gripped me.
It was epic, was it?
It was. That's the word. It was fucking epic. And it was like a movie.
Yeah, like a blockbuster trailer for the next movie. Like.
That's exactly what it is. And more and more ads are like that. And the
wow factor.
Yeah, big time. Like, and you're
sitting there watching the shit, you don't even realise that you're watching it. You're like,
absolutely. Yeah, with your mouth open. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that shit's not good for you. Really isn't.
It's
good
like
for
the
you.
opposite of off the lead.
Well, it's on the lead.
Yeah. Just watching that shit,
it's,
you don't
it's
even know you're doing it. Like.
It's on.
And I can see myself. I've never actually took a video of myself watching telly, but I'm showing the ads come on. I'm probably glued to the fucking things. I'm giving out about them at the same time. Like, but I'm still watching them.
They're so engaging though. And again, they have a team of fucking psychologists behind them, telling them what colours to flash at you, how long to have a scene, the camera angle, the this, the that, the other. And myself and Simon mentioned it. This idea of like the ad is. At the start of the ad, there's this dad, let's say me or you, and he's asleep. He's the head on the pillow or whatever, and the eyes open up, and he looks up, and his missus is there beside him, and gives him a little smile. And then, he walks out into the hall, and there's the two kids asleep, and walks into the room, and into the sitting room, and the tree is there, and the presents are there, and it's just, you just get this warm, fuzzy feeling, and you're just, that's the perfect life. And then it just comes up. Tesco. Or Volkswagen.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of a completely different ad. But
what ad were you thinking of?
It's just class. I don't even know what it was for. Is that the beauty of advertising? I don't even actually. I think your man wakes up hungover and he's lying in the bed and he looks around and just, let's just say, unattractive lady beside him, and he's like, oh, what did I do last night? He puts his fist in his mouth, crawls out of the bed, tiptoes down the stairs, goes to grab his jacket and sneak out, and next thing the two kids run down the hallway. Hi, Dad! And he's like, fuck, this is my life. Back up to bed again. I don't know what it was for. It was brilliant though. I just thought it was brilliant. You're going to get away from the one night stand and you realise this is your life. You're still half cut.
But again, they're playing on your humour there.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? It's not.
And sometimes it does. Sometimes it does work, doesn't it? Some of them are good. Some of them you would laugh out loud. But there's the majority of it's muck. Like, and as you said, you just sit rooted to the thing because you don't like when Sky TV came out first with the pause and rewind and all that. Like, it was great and it still is. Like, I do record a lot of my programs because I work shift work and that. I do record a lot of them and I just instantly fast forward the ads. But if I'm watching something and it's just on live, then it's you're just watching the ads. And sometimes I do try and record something and watch the news or something, and that'll give you the half an hour play to fast forward all the ads or whatever. I don't sit there religiously looking at ads, but you will find times, and especially if you're watching live sport or something like that, you have no choice, like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you could probably go and hoover your hall. I don't fucking know. You could hoover your hall in the time between the ads. There's that many of them on, or make your tea, or do you know what I mean? You could probably wash your window or something. But no, you sit there and you're just banged.
But it amazes me. People say that they don't have the time.
Yeah,
I'd come on the podcast, but I don't want the time. I don't have the time. Or even better again, I'd love to come on the podcast, but I don't have the time.
Yeah,
but if you were to examine their life, they're watching 28, 30, 40.
Oh, this is it. There's no point in
TV,
saying to you, like, I tried that one. I'm very busy, Fran, but it just doesn't work because then you make me think and you go, yeah, you've got loads of time to come out. You just have to make the time, don't you? Like, you really do. Like,
you really do. And a great analogy I've heard is. And it's, before I even say that, it kills me when people, and I'm sure you're the same, and anyone with kids this will resonate with them. When people who don't have kids say they don't have the time, it's just like, fucking
man.
yawn. Like, do you know that kind of way? You've all the time in the fucking world. You've no idea.
You have no idea until you don't know what you've got till it's gone nearly, isn't it? As
100%. 100%. But the analogy I was going to get back to, me that loves me analogies, was even when you have kids, like let's say you've got 2 kids and you say, listen man, I've got fucking 2 kids, I don't have the time. If you had triplets and you had an extra fucking 2 kids, do you know that kind of way?
None of them would die.
No, they're not going to starve. They're not going to. You're not going to be neglected. They're going to get loads of fucking time.
Yeah,
you make it for them, like. So if there's something, anyone that's listening, if there's something that you've been meaning to do and your excuse is, you don't have the time, cop the fuck onto yourself.
You have plenty of time.
Unless you're running a company with fucking 500 employees and you have 10 kids and you're not willing to give up your Ironman training or whatever it is, like, you've got the fucking time and you've got it in spades. Get up earlier.
Big time, big time, yeah. And it's a way of thinking as well. It's just a complete. You just have to. Sometimes you just have to stand back and go. You do have more time than you thought, and it's all relative. You thought you didn't have the time, and you don't have kids. Then you have kids, and you realise, oh well, I had so much time. But sometimes I remember when Roisin was pregnant with Blotty, our first child. I remember actually sitting around. I was actually getting bored. Do you know? I was kind of floating around with my guitar, walking into different rooms, strumming away, just kind of doing not much really, and kind of thinking, I have all this time now, and I'm not going to have that time in another couple of months. But I knew sort of deep down I had to have the kids to not have the time to make me want to go back to that. But I said, well, look, this is what you're doing now. You know that the end is nigh.
Yeah,
and you're doing nothing, so you might as well have a couple of kids because you're doing fuck all. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's the truth. It's a whole cop out saying you don't have the time to do stuff because you can make the time. As you said, if you had triplets, you'd still have the same. You'd probably still have the same amount of time to do whatever you need to do. You know what I mean? You just have to make the time. Like,
yeah, well, put it this way: like I've a 3.5-year-old and one on the way, and I probably do more stuff now than I did before I had kids. I think I do. Of course I did. I do fucking way more now than I did back then. Now, granted, my work has changed and whatever else, but I think people that'll resonate with people. People will kind of, I suppose that they'll get that. They'll know. And again, like you said yourself, like, you don't know what you have until it's gone. And you said it there. It's just the way you're thinking, and that's what I'm trying to change.
It's tying it back off the lead again.
It is.
It's a way of thinking
and
as well as
being on the lead, as opposed to off the lead. Being on the lead is thinking that it's,
oh, you don't have the time.
Yeah, being on the lead is thinking you don't have the time. Being on the lead is thinking it's too cold to go out running. Being on the lead is thinking that you can't go swimming in a lake in your fucking shorts in December when there's ice around the edges. Being on the lead it's all of those things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the idea of being off the lead is, like, being on the lead is thinking that getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning is crazy. Like, why is it crazy? Do you know that kind of way? Yeah. Or not that it's not crazy. Maybe it is crazy, but maybe you need to be a little bit crazier. Maybe you need to be a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe there's nothing wrong with being a bit fucking crazy. When was the last time you said, "Oh, I can't wait to introduce you to Brian. He's really normal." You know that kind of way? Like, anyone who's in any way interesting is
you have to,
a little touch, a little fucking a bit of a lunatic.
Yeah.
Like. And
it doesn't mean, psychotic or
no, not
strange.
at all.
Like, every man that you have probably on this, you haven't actually had any women on, have you?
Not yet. No.
Every person you've had on would be, I'd say they'd openly admit that they're a little bit, not they mightn't say crazy, they mightn't like that strong a term, but definitely obsessed. When you look at likes of like Graham doing all the triathletes, or even Roger Dar's yokes, you have to be obsessed to become that good at something.
Well, them boys are obsessed. But I mean, are you obsessed?
No, I wouldn't say. But I'm a little bit crazy though.
Without a fucking shadow. 100%. Well, you're not my best friend for fucking 30 odd years without being it.
Being a bit crazy, a bit crazy. I don't know if I'm obsessed with anything. I'm probably semi-obsessed with a lot of things, but not one particular thing. Like some of them guys you've had on would be, just as far as I can see, just you have to be that good or to be that interested in it. You have to be, and there's nothing wrong with being obsessed. Like, I mean, the best people obviously have to be obsessed with what you do.
No,
to be the best.
To be the best at it, and to really get into it. But again, and this is no disrespect to the obsessed lads that I've had on. I want people on who are I suppose who've something to say more so than are obsessed. And I'll continue to get kind of extreme obsessed people on, because I think they're just interesting. But I'll definitely try and get better at finding out what their opinion is on stuff,
rather than just asking them about what they're focused on because most of their life.
That's interviews. Like when you interview people, and especially when you see, like, if you watch, the Late Late, or if you I don't know who the fuck else is there, Graham Norton, or any of these, interviews, the person who's conducting the interview isn't speaking to the person that they've on. They're speaking to the persona of the person they've on. And I don't want to speak to the persona of anyone. I want to talk to the fucking...
I think you've done fairly well. Like, you have done fairly well, and I don't think it's come across in any of the ones that I've listened to that you interview. Yeah, obviously, people that you might know as well. It is always going to feel probably a little bit more interview, because you don't have that any fallback, any seatbelt, as it were, to a fallback conversation to have, because you might know them that well, so the only kind of common denominator is the thing that they're obsessed with, because they'll talk forever about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But in contrary to that, look at Ivor. Myself and Ivor, was it 3+ hours?
Yeah, I didn't actually get to hear Ivor. There's so many I didn't get to hear. I didn't get Ivor. I don't think I got to Oisin. And who was the other one? I only got the first couple of minutes of Kevin Riley banging on about the cars. Good lad, Kev.
Oh, the boy racer.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus, don't call him that. I even know that, and I didn't even listen to the podcast. I'm calling him a bike fucking racer, because there's massive divisions in that sport as well.
Oh, there is.
It's crazy. Look, that's a 3-hour conversation. Yeah,
and a great one.
And it's been had. Yeah,
a great one.
But
on Ivor, without you having listened to it, or anyone that's listening, you don't need to listen to it. You don't need to have had listened to it to get what I'm saying. Myself and Ivor spoke for 3+ hours. Like we've been,
and you wouldn't know Ivor that well, would you?
Don't know Ivor from fucking Adam.
Well, you do now.
I do now, absolutely. But again, just to give people who have or haven't listened to it an idea where I'm coming from, I did know Ivor, but the last time I spoke to Ivor, I think would have been under 13 hurling for the Tongues. So it would have been 20 years since I said, "Oh, good game, Ivor."
Yeah,
and like that would have been the height of our conversation back then. And I literally
so on the lead.
Literally haven't spoken to him since. Like, I was just, up until he reached out to me. He sent me an email. I don't know how he had heard of the podcast, whether somebody, I think a mutual friend of ours, Kevin Booth, who'd be a great man to get on actually. He, I think, put Ivor onto my podcast to say, "Listen, give it a listen." Ivor sent me an email then saying, "Listen, man, I heard what you're doing, fair play to you." And I wrote back to Ivor saying, "Hey man, cheers for the words of encouragement.
Come on down."
Well, what I said to him was, a little birdie had told me that you were, quote, into ayahuasca, because I had heard a rumour that he had gone and done drugs in the Amazon, basically, is the way it was phrased to me. Little did I know that the path that he was on, and like, Ivor's a fucking
journey. Yeah,
Ivor's a great lad. And
I went to school. Ivor was saying to you before, we done economics together in Colin O'Rourke's class. I think we spent most of the time talking our way through economics in the class, but not really listening too much. But lovely lad.
Ivor will be back on now after our trip to Holland, which is happening very, very soon. So I'm really looking forward to that. But again, look, there's like I would consider Ivor from the podcast that we've had and the little bit of interaction back and forth that we've had since. Like, I can see Ivor being like a lifelong friend of mine.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, big time, yeah. And that never would have happened if it wasn't for this.
Well, there you go. So, like, if nothing else came out of it, it's obviously working. Like,
no, it is, and I've heard from loads of people.
I've heard from loads of people too. Yeah, great reviews. Like, well, it's great. That's why. And then you asked me to come out and do one or whatever, and maybe talk about off the lead, and I was sort of more comfortable about doing that, because I'd be one of these people that say, like, everyone thinks they don't have the personality. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. Everyone has a personality, and it's, as you said, some of the people that don't think they have a personality, it'd be the best ones to come over. And then I'm after saying that, and then I kind of go to you, yeah, but I don't really have the personality for that. But I have to come out because I'm after saying the fucking will. But I was talking to people there during the week, and I was asking them, like, a couple of interesting guys again, but they were like, no, why would he want me out there? For the very reason why you think he wouldn't want you out
Absolutely,
there.
Yeah.
I'm too normal. No, you're not normal. The things you're saying to me, you just think everyone does that, but everyone doesn't do that. Do you know what I mean? I was saying to different lads and from different walks of life, and they just couldn't believe it. I was actually talking to someone recently who has her own business, and I think she's employing 8 people. And I think she's only in her 20s. And I was there. I know a chap that would love to have a conversation with you. And
can you name her? Do you mind?
No, I don't. I don't actually know her name.
Okay,
I was only talking to her briefly in a very loud pub. But just got, I don't know, she was asked us where she didn't believe where I worked. That's how we got talking or whatever.
Right.
And she was saying that she has a beauty salon in the town, and she was saying that she's employing 8 people. And I was there. That's fascinating. You're young and you have 8 people working for you. What's that like? Blah blah blah. Because I thought she was with a couple of girls. I said, these are the people that work for you. She goes, no, I have 8 people working for you. I said, fucking hell. You'd be interesting to talk to. How did you get started? Probably went to beautician school, but like, I mean, that's some achievement to be only that age and have 7 livelihoods, depending on you. Like,
absolutely.
These are the walks of life you want to get, and people go, nah, you're just a beauty petition. Who care about me or whatever? Like, but
well, Roger Dardis, I think, put it exactly the way you said it, and I think I can quote Roger for having said, "I don't think I have the personality for it."
And a big skeptical hell's head now.
Yeah,
I love that bit.
But like Roger had what? 200 fucking people listen to him within a day or two.
Really?
Yeah, massively popular.
Yeah, well, I was one as well, but fascinating dude. Like,
and another thing that this podcast is, I suppose, exposed for the world to see and for me to be aware of is I don't know many girls. I really don't.
Your wife. I was going to say your wife, but your long-term partner will be probably glad to hear that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but
I don't know any girls.
It's mad. Like, and it's got me thinking of having gone to an all-boys school. Didn't help.
Yeah,
it's made me think that I don't want Fionn going to an all-boys school.
Yeah.
To think that like segregation is still a thing, like that's like a fucking 1930s type thing.
Yeah, a friend of mine actually said it that he had, and again, you wouldn't think it to when you be talking to him, but he was saying, I have low confidence and I want my kid going to a mixed school because I went to an all boys school and I had no confidence with women when I was growing up. Now he's a married man, a couple of kids, like, but he had no confidence talking to women, and that's another life skill, But imagine not being comfortable talking to the opposite sex, like that's a bad start to life, isn't it? Like,
no, absolutely. And look, I'm not that bad. It's not that I'm not comfortable talking to the opposite sex by any stretch of the imagination. I'd have a woman in here in a fucking heartbeat, but realistically, I'm going to get, I don't know, let's say I've gotten 0.5% of the people I know on. I know, 1,000 men. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
And that's why it's been pretty much all men, because I don't know that many women.
Yeah.
Like, the overwhelming majority of people. Like, if you were to look at my WhatsApp messages, it's
exclusively men.
Jesus, I'm trying to think of another girl that I've texted other than like my mother.
But you see, would you get
sister.
away with that? Would you get away with that? Like, can you have female friends when you're in a relationship with a woman and have kids with a woman? Like, can you have, like, who was that? Oh, that was just Dorothy ringing me, just seeing how I was.
Yeah,
don't think it'd go down too well.
Fucking, I guarantee it wouldn't.
Something of that's women, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy bitches.
I didn't say that. I did not say that. That was Frano, just in case it was any doubt where that came from. I did not say that. But yeah, it is mad because I don't think you get away with it. Not kind of way, like, I don't think my missus, if I was getting text messages, I actually got a text message off of bitch. She's a lovely girl. She works with my wife, but she was winding me up. She got my number off Roisin, and she'd be winding me up about dancing. I never dance at weddings or any of that crap.
I'd be the same, yeah.
And she fucking got a hold of me one of the days, and she dragged me onto the dance floor, and I done a little manoeuvre and legged it and ran into the jacks. It was down a big corridor. I was actually in Trim Castle Hotel, and I legged it into the jacks and waited there for the song to be over. And just for good measure, I waited again for another song to pass. I'd be long off the dance floor now, so I walked back out, and I could still see 2 or 3 of them laughing at me, pointing, looking at me coming out of the corridor. It was right beside the dance floor, and I looked around, looked left, looked right, no sign Ash. It'll be happy days here. And walked out there. She is hiding behind the wall, grabbed a hold of me and dragged me back up again. But the following wedding, I think she was at, I started dancing. Don't ask me why, but I started dancing for a couple of songs, and she found out about this, and she's got Roisin's number, or got my number from Roisin, should I say, and started texting me then. And Roisin obviously knew what was going on, and lucky enough, I didn't fuck, because I was there. It was like, oh, I hear you have a new lover in your life or something. I'm disgusted with you, Peadar. How could you do such a thing to me? And after all we've been through, blah 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 blah. And sure, of course, now I could have been found out if I had been secret. Well, I don't know who that is, but if it was up to no good, you'd kind of burying that phone in your pocket. But instantly, being the innocent person that I am, would never do anything like that. I showed it to the wife straight away, like, what the fuck? And she played dumb, didn't know, and then another text message come in. I thought we were special. I thought we had blah, 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 blah. But I showed it to her straight away, you know. But just imagine, like, if you were, if you, could you have female, can you have that close? There is lads, I actually do know lads, especially musicians and that are the friends that, the girl friends, we'll call them in inverted commas. But just the general consensus, I think, is you can't be too close. I don't think you're allowed to get text messages from a female of around the same age as you if you're in a long-term relationship.
I'd agree with you, and it's a fucking sad state of affairs. But it's in no small part, for me at least, I can only kind of speak for myself, for me at least, it's in no small part due to the fact that I went to an all-boys school. Because I don't have, like...
But even if you went to a mixed school, Fran...
look, you might be able to say that you went to school with them, or but you see, the thing
I'd
is...
say your missus would be trying to get them off. Don't be texting her anymore.
Maybe, I don't know is the honest answer. But...
I'd hazard a guess as to say it wouldn't be acceptable.
Yeah, look, I don't know is the honest answer. Now, then again, there are girls that I know that... yeah, look, I wouldn't be texting them. Yeah, they wouldn't be texting me.
Like, I know lads that went to mixed schools and they had loads of friends, but now they're married, I don't think they hang around with them friends. I'm thinking of one lad in particular. I won't mention any names because it wouldn't be good, but it'd be a mutual friend of ours who would have went to a mixed school, who would have known loads of girls, who would have hung around with a lot of girls, but I wouldn't say... I'd be safely saying he hasn't spoke to one of them in years, because I don't think his missus would be too happy.
But like, what is that? Is that like a lack of trust? Do you think, like, put it this way, for your own perspective, presumably you think that Roisin wouldn't be too happy if you were to have met someone on the Christmas party and he's kind of hit it off and she's into
wholly unacceptable.
Right, listen, hold on, right? Let's say hypothetically you're mad into tin whistles. You're obsessed about tin whistles, and lo and behold, you're out fucking on your Christmas party. You get chatting to some young one that, you know, accidentally spilled a drink on you, and she has a tin whistle in her hand because she's part of the band. Or I don't fucking know. You get talking, and you end up exchanging phone numbers, and you know, all of a sudden you meet up once a month to discuss tin whistles or whatever the fuck it happens to be of an interest. That's not going to fly with your wife of, you know, like, how long are you fucking with Roisin, like, exclusively, you know, not just married?
17 years or so.
17 years, you're only, what, 30 fucking 4 or 5 or something?
Yeah.
So half your life and all of your life that, you know, matters, really.
I'm 35, by the way.
Right. But, like, all of your life that matters, because, I mean, when you were before 15, how relevant is any of that?
You get together at 18, so yeah, 17 years, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Jesus Christ.
I know. But, like, is it a lack of trust? Is it
I don't know. I'll ask her to go home,
like?
But she'd probably, you know, give the diplomatic answer. That'd be cool with me.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't. And you know that, and I know that. And if Roisin was listening, deep down, she knows that too. It wouldn't be acceptable. But it's the same. Well, I suppose. But having said that, like, Roisin's a union rep at her workplace, and she gets text the whole time. She goes, "It's Gabriel to ring me again," or somebody. But it's union matters or work related matters. I think that's different. If you work with the person, you might get a little bit away with. Like, I wouldn't care that Roisin does be constantly chatting with 3 or 4 lads late at night.
but that's work related, and that's okay. But what if
they're telling me it's work related?
But what if it wasn't work related? What if it was some dude that she bumped into and he had a tin whistle in his hand?
Fucking tin whistle.
But you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. It wouldn't. I don't think it'd bother me, but I think it'd bother women more. Are women more jealous than men? I don't know. Maybe some women are, maybe some women aren't. But I don't want to come across as sexist, you know, but I don't know. I just don't think it'd be acceptable. And it's not that I don't think it... I kind of wouldn't... I don't think I'd do it either. You know, that kind of way I don't know what it is. It's an unwritten rule that you don't be texting people, especially from your phone.
But why, put it this way, why would you have a problem with Roisin if she was to have met this kind of tin whistle friend and they went off tin whistling together? Like, what is it? Is it paranoia? Is it jealousy? Is it distrust?
I might think she's more interested in his tin whistle than mine.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't. But when it comes to my own relationship, rock solid. It wouldn't be trust. Could be jealousy.
Probably, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it wouldn't be trust, like.
Yeah,
I wouldn't, like, if she was going out with Mr. Tin Whistle, I would have no trust issues there at all, but I might be jealous.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, don't ask me why. Probably because...
What does that highlight in you, though? What inadequacy of yours?
Well, I'm saying it might be, but then again, it mightn't be, you know, because it's never happened to me, like, but... I don't think she, again, is it not an unwritten rule? Like, you don't fucking see how one, that weird or whatever one was with Wayne Rooney or something. She knew he was married as a big footballer, and she still went off with him in a car, and they got found out because he got arrested for drink driving or some bollocks.
Yeah, you have to stop reading the tabloids.
Yeah. But no, it's a good example, you know, to give that, like, she knew, and then all the women are getting around and going, you never go near a married man. So never go near him, it means you just don't start a conversation early in the first place, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah, but I mean, Jesus Christ, there's a difference between starting a conversation and building a friendship with somebody and then going off and fucking them.
Yeah, I think is it like, you can't be friends if
like, you can't be friends with the opposite sex?
No, I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying, is that where it comes from, that you can't, there has to be more to it. You can't be friends. You can't just have a mutual interest, shared interest with somebody of the opposite sex, and it just stops at that, because then you could have just found somebody of your own sex that has that interest, and then there's no problem.
Well, I was actually just going to ask, do you think, not that, you know, I'm in a position to even ask the question, never mind you in the position to answer it, but do you think gay men, or women say, can't, like, can gay men not have other men friends?
Oh, I doubt. Well,
do you know what I mean? Are gay men only allowed to be friends with women?
I'm gonna.
Or have I just, am I going to get lynched by the gay community tomorrow?
Well,
I
was going to answer that, like, as if I knew the fucking answer there for a minute. I went, whoa, hold on. What the fuck do you know? I was going to say what I was going to say. Maybe I'm right, and maybe I'm 100% wrong. But what I was going to say was, would it be the same as it doesn't? It's not actually a sexual. It's the sex of the person. I could be wrong. You need to ask somebody from the LGBT community about this, but I'd imagine it's something similar to what we were just talking about. I think if, say, it was two lads, for example, two homosexual men, if they were having a relationship together, yeah, I'd say there'd be issues if either one of them had a friendship with another homosexual man. Not another man.
Yes. No, yeah, well, fair enough.
That's what you meant, is it? Yeah. And then I think that'd be wholly unacceptable again. So it's not a woman thing, probably. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it is. Maybe the gay and are more clued in than the straight people. But I would imagine there'd be a bit of fucking aggro there. Would you not think as well? Like, if you hang around with Tommy, like if Tommy was just married with 2 kids to a wife and 2 kids, and well, then that'd be probably all right. But if Tommy's in the gay community as well, there'd probably be a bit of tension. I'm sure he's up. I'm at work, and you have him on the sofa with you.
Yeah.
Not having that.
Yeah, no, true, absolutely. But again, these conversations, the conversation that I'm having with you here now, this is where it's at, as far as I'm concerned. This is where it's at, because you're figuring stuff out, I'm figuring stuff out. The people listening,
you're learning as you go along.
Yeah,
it's a little bit daunting as well, because you don't know what you're going to say next, and you don't know what
it is. But I genuinely think, and I was sickened. I was listening to Blindboy's podcast there last Wednesday, and he fucking sickened me whole, because he said something along the lines of, we're all a little bit racist, and we're all a little bit sexist, and we're all a little bit homophobic, and that's all right. The important thing is that we make ourselves aware of it, yeah. And we try and, you know, educate ourselves and move past it. But this idea that, you know, you're not remotely sexist or you don't have a racist bone in your body is ridiculous. And he went on and discussed that. And the reason it's sickened my hole is because I've been thinking that and saying it to people for fucking a decade. Yeah. And he kind of
half of what Off the Lead is about.
Yeah, it is.
Recognising. I mean, you said it in the piece I read out at the start there, that you don't claim to be blah blah blah, and you might come across, and there's a chance that you'll come across as racist, you know,
sexist, bigoted, whatever.
The whole lot, because it's free flowing and it's taught. And don't think, as you said, there's no such thing as person that's completely, like, I remember having a conversation with you a while ago with another chap, and he was openly admit, I'd be a little bit racist. He said with a laugh, but he was being genuine.
Yeah,
and maybe it was all right to say it in the environment he was in. Maybe that wouldn't be something to say at, you know, mixed race wedding with a microphone. Do you know?
Yes.
But it depends on what you're saying. They're not condoning that thing, but it's honesty, I suppose, as well. And at least he's aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it was coming from a genuine place, that he was saying that, you know, probably if certain individuals walked into his shop or whatever, that he'd be kind of just, something triggers in his brain that he doesn't even realise why, but he'd be, you know, maybe watching them more, or maybe something.
It's just something. And how could you expect not to be, a little bit racist when every, bad guy in a movie is fucking either brown or black, or do you know that kind of way? Like anytime, and I'm trying to think, did I say this with Des? I think I did, but I'll repeat myself here again because it's part of the same kind of story. This idea that whenever you see a guy in handcuffs, this was more for American TV now, but anytime you see a guy in handcuffs on the news representing a, in quotes, criminal, 95% of the time it's a person of colour.
Yeah.
Whereas it's far less than 95% of inmates who are people of colour. And little things like that.
Skew.
They do, of course they do.
Opinions,
you can't help but be influenced
the
by
media
this stuff.
again.
It's like advertising, and like with advertising, even if you're aware of that, even if you're sitting there watching it going, that's disgraceful, it's always a coloured guy as the,
it's still
inmate.
happening.
It's not only is it still happening, but you're still being negatively affected by it, even if you're aware of it. Just like advertising, something's been sold to you, but you're still going to want to buy it that little bit.
Oh, that's
more.
it. Remember, you said the chap, I only met him once, but a good friend of yours that was saying he wasn't influenced by advertising, named 3 colas and he names them off, and you could guarantee you that's by revenue of advertising. How much the first one you named was Coca-Cola, the second was Pepsi and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, in order of their revenue spent on advertising.
Yeah. And he was saying he wasn't affected, and he just threw them 3 names at you. But make no mistake about it, it's to do with that. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And again, this off the lead thing, for want of a better word, is number one, it's going to make you aware of certain advertising kind of tricks and things, okay? And that's going to help. It's not going to inoculate yourself completely. You're still going to be influenced by it. But more to the point, if you can see the nonsense of consumerism, if I can get that across, if I can show people how, I don't know, how stupid it is to kind of buy into brands and different things like that, and if I can help people to stop being so kind of commercial is probably the wrong word, but do you know that kind of way?
Yeah, we had to chat about this. Yeah, we had to chat about this as well. Remember, I think it was on the failed recording as well, that the whole, I think it was you that gave me an example, was it of some, I don't know if you remember his name, or some chap that basically gave away all his clothes of a certain brand because they didn't care, or was it for larger sizes or something?
Yeah,
so
I think it was Abercrombie and Fitch.
He gave them all to the homeless.
Yes.
And that'll do great things for their brand, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think
it was basically devaluing their brand as a protest that they wouldn't make clothes for larger sized men or something like that.
Yeah,
because they didn't fit their image.
Of course.
And he goes, how will this fit your image? And gave the whole lot to the homeless.
Yes,
Brilliant.
absolutely. I'm
Absolutely
fairly sure it was Abercrombie and Fitch.
Right.
And a lot of these crowds, they're openly, they'll openly admit, that for example, they're not going to make extra large or extra large, because the way, in their words,
doesn't fit there.
But they won't even have that much tact. They'll say,
I
don't want some fat fuck wearing my clothes.
Yeah.
That'll ruin my image.
Yeah.
Smelly fat people wearing my fucking clothes. Like, they'll be that fucking blunt about it. But yeah, people still buy into the fucking brand. Yeah. And I've nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with buying into brands.
If they're good brands.
I'm creating a brand. Off the Lead is going to be a brand.
If it's a good brand, and one, that promotes fair wages, not manufactured in sweatshops. There is places you can check up now. It was only after the conversation I had with you, and again, this is probably what I feel Off the Lead can achieve as well. It makes people, it provokes, conversations, and not just in here, outside of here. Because I actually went home to the wife and I was saying to her about, Fran was on about Fitch or whatever clothing label it was, and she goes, oh yeah, they're bad, but there's worse ones than them out there. You can go online and log in, and it'll give you a score, a rating of how decent, bad or good they are, yeah. And it'll say, don't buy that brand. They're that's manufactured in the yoke. They have there's a term on it, like I can't, some sort of rating, but it's kind of like so I can't, it won't come to me now, but it's some sort
I get
of
the sentiment, yeah.
Like where it came from, basically, is a source, a base of where they get their stuff manufactured, who they buy, who they pay, how much they pay, and it'll give it like a credit rating, like it's only a 4 out of 10,
like a morality credit rating.
Yeah, that's nearly essentially what it is. Yeah, it's basically that's what you're buying into, lad. That's the brand you're buying into if you buy that stuff. That's what you're saying you want for this world. As you said, with every euro you spend, make a conscious decision of where you're spending it. You know?
Yeah, I don't
spend an extra tenner on the Slane whiskey. Bad example, probably after what happened to you in Slane whiskey, but you know, spend it on a local product rather than, or a craft beer rather than Heineken.
No, absolutely, and again, I don't know who to attribute the quote to, but every time you spend your money, you're voting for the type of world that you want to live in.
Yeah.
Like,
in the future, yeah.
Fucking stick that on a t-shirt. Every time you spend your money, you're voting for the type of world that you want to live.
And it does, and sometimes I'll still go in and buy something a bit cheap, but it's kind of, even if I haven't stopped doing it, I'm thinking of it now. Do you know, I'm thinking of it like...
Listen, if you're fucking constantly worrying about your bills and constantly worrying about this, and you don't have a pot to piss in for fucking whatever reason, you know, buy the cheapest stuff. Look after number one, you and your fucking kids.
But if you have the luxury of...
We'll put it this way, if you're spending fucking €100 on a fucking t-shirt...
Yeah.
You know, you're not worrying about shit. If you're buying a coffee for €3 twice a day or three times a week,
at least make sure it's ethically, sourced reliably and responsibly, and
well, look,
nobody's getting had over.
Here's a classic example, and it's an example of where I am a bit of a hypocrite, I suppose, to a degree. When I met up with Simon, we met in Dublin city centre, and before we started the podcast, Simon said, "Will we go grab a coffee?" And I said, yeah, fucking happy days, you know, fucking, you know, make me that bit more alert or whatever else. And he goes, there's a Starbucks around the corner. And I thought to myself, fucking Starbucks. Like, there's probably a kind of a local guy selling coffee closer than Starbucks. But I said, oh, look, I haven't seen Simon in years. I don't want to be that
off the wrong
that
foot.
Guy.
Don't be that guy, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to be that guy, whatever that means. And I just went off in and, you know, we paid fucking €18 each for our fucking black coffees, like whatever the fuck it was. Or he got a fucking Mocha Choco skinny latte and I just got a black coffee, and it was an extortionate fucking price. But you're voting for more Starbucks.
Oh,
and that's what I did. And I didn't have, I suppose, the moral fortitude to say, do you know what, Simon, I'd actually sooner not spend money in a big global conglomerate.
Yeah, and he probably would have no problem with that, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
He probably would have. And maybe if I had fucking had the fortitude to say it to him, maybe he would have stopped going to fucking Starbucks and started using the
you know what, you're right, yeah.
crowd around the corner.
We've got a Costa. Did you see that in Johnstown and Avon now? The Costa Coffee is after opening up.
Okay.
Beside the Super Value. And I feel sorry for that little tiny shop beside him that sells coffee. It's been there for years.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name, but they sell little, you know, breakfasts and sandwiches. But, like, I mean, they must be feeling some serious pinch. You want to see this Costa Coffee, man. And they're only after doing up the Super Value. And somebody was saying to me, because I was like, a Costa Coffee out in Johnstown, we don't even have any amenities for the kids or whatever, like, and you've got a big Costa Coffee now, and the Super Value is lovely. I don't know if you've been up there recently.
It's class.
But somebody was telling me that, I don't know how true this is, but Costa might tag along with high-end Super Values and stuff like that, so if they can find a retail space that have getting a brand new injection of cash from a place like Super Value or an M&S, they'll plonk their Costa, which would make sense right beside it.
It's a sign of how well the unit is doing if someone's after ploughing a load of money into it.
Yeah, so the footfall, and you just feel sorry for this tiny little cafe beside it, and this monster. I think they knocked, because there was, I think, 2 or 3 retail outlets in Johnstown, and then the little cafe, and the next thing it all started getting knocked out. And they smashed all the little into one big Costa, and then you've got this tiny little yoke. And I hope people are still,
That's
and
gone.
I think people are.
It's gone.
I hope people are still.
It's dead.
Yeah, but they don't do rashers and sausages in Costa, do they?
No, I don't think they do, and maybe it'll fucking squeeze by, and, you know, fingers crossed it does. And anybody who's living in the Navan area, if you're ever thinking of getting a fucking sandwich or a coffee or anything,
go into the little place
to fucking Super Value in Johnstown and spend your money in the little fucking cafe place,
big time,
and fucking protest outside the fucking Costa. Now again, who are Costa or what are Costa?
No,
they're not Starbucks. I don't know. Like, for all I know, they could be a fucking Irish company. I doubt it. But
I doubt it, no, because your man from Dragon's Den was the Irish company. Was he Insomnia Coffee? Is that him?
Yeah.
Or did they even have outlets, or did they just sell petrol stations?
I think they might have started maybe the route of having the kind of little shops. I don't know.
Well, all I know is Costa's massive, and I hate to see them going in and destroying a little business that might be actually putting money. And again, it's the money that's going in. Like, I mean, a fellow union rep was on the course there not so long ago, and they were on about basically this stuff like Aldi, and they're Aldi and Lidl and all them. As you said, if you're to the pin in your collar in your shop there, and don't get me wrong, you see the amount of luxury cars that's coming out of Aldi and Lidl. It's phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
17 Jaguars, Audis, BMWs, they're all in there.
Oh yeah.
But they were basically saying, you know, you are giving a little bit, they are buying stuff from local producers, tech, they are giving their employees wages, tech, and they pay reasonably well compared to a lot of them. I believe Aldi in particular have decent enough wage. You know, their staff work hard, and you do see them, and they're very they're good people, and I think the ones that are good at it stick around, and there is progression in it. But you have all these things, but at the end of the day, the majority of it is profit, and that profit's just leaving straight for Germany.
Fucking right it is.
And that's the world you're voting in, you know.
Here's another con. They'll have an ad campaign to say 90% of their fresh produce is bought in Ireland from a company who imports it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That from the company that imports it is kind of left off the fucking billboard.
I've even seen Irish stickers on them, and if you read closely, it was what did it say? Packed in Ireland. And they have a little Irish fucking sign on it, or flag, yeah. And people are just going in, and you can't blame people. It's an Irish flag. I'm doing my best for them. Ridiculous. And you realise it's German ham cut in Ireland and slapped into a yoke.
Yeah, probably because it makes packed in Ireland. Oh, fucking brilliant. Or produced in Ireland. Oh, fucking brilliant. Yeah. French potatoes. Yeah. French potatoes being sold in an Irish fucking supermarket. French broccoli. English fucking carrots.
Mad, isn't it?
Packed in Ireland. Little Irish flag. They should not be allowed to have the Irish flag on it.
I'd agree with you there.
They should not be able to have the Irish flag.
Because it's a con as far as I can see.
It's a proper con. Do you know what else is a con? What's their fresh produce? Egan's? Is that the brand?
Sounds familiar, all right. Yeah, that's Aldi, is it?
Yeah, I think Aldi. I think when you go in and pick up a bag of carrots, it has Egan's on the front of it.
Sounds
and
right.
When you go over and you buy their butter or their milk, oh fuck, I can't think of the name of it, but it's Phyllis's Dairy or whatever the name of it is. They're imaginary companies. They're brand names created by Aldi to give the impression that it's coming from Egan's.
I think they have all our meat products or whatever is Brannan's, and I'd say that's a made-up company, is it?
Of course it is.
I'd imagine that. Yeah.
Brannan,
sounds a bit like Brennan. Sounds a bit Irish, doesn't it?
Of course it does. Of course it does. And that's from every
that company's probably just a packing facility somewhere in an industrial.
It's not even a company. It's a word on a bag.
Yeah, to make it look family orientated.
All those things are. That's all they are.
It's
and
crazy.
People aren't aware. And look, people don't have the fucking time to be
aware. Or people,
of
as you said, mightn't be able to afford it. And that brings me back to what we were saying. Just it's kind of contradicting what you were saying in one sense, but I know there's different parts of it. But remember, you were saying if people are shopping in Aldi or Lidl or wherever, and then you're going to Marks and Spencer's, chances are you did qualify with saying chances are you're getting a better quality of food. But I also remember, and I think it might have been you that was telling me, but when you go into, you can get ripped off in places like, as everyone knows, in Marks and Sparks and places like that, for the same product for much more, because it's got a different label on it. It's got M&S on it. Because I think it was you that was telling me, even when it comes to lemons, they all come in on a big boat. And they all go shooting down a thing, and they get split in two. One goes into a Tesco bag, one goes into a Lidl bag. One has €2 on it, the other has 99 cents on it. It's the same fucking lemons.
100%.
So that's where there's a bit of...
that happens. That happens.
Yeah.
I've seen
there's
it
another
firsthand.
con.
Oh, completely.
And people will actually think them lemons taste better because they came from Marks and Spencer's.
Or they cost more.
Yeah, because they cost more, it must taste better.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are suckers for that. They really, really are. And here's a good example of how much suckers we are, and myself included. And we can't even. And again, even when you're aware of these things, you're still a fucking sucker. It's just they're psychologically mind fucking you with this stuff. Here's a good example. Oh fuck, what was it? I can't even remember what I'm getting this off, but you'll get the gist. So you walk down the street and you have a bag in your hand. In your left hand, you've got a bag, like a non-transparent or opaque bag, or whatever you want to call it, in your left hand. And in your right hand, you've got a bottle of, champagne. And you stop a randomer on the street and you ask them to pick out a ball out of the bag. And the bag is full of balls with the number 10 written on it. You go, randomly put your hand in there and pick out a ball. They see the ball has a number 10 on it, and you ask them, what number's on it? They go, 10. Okay. And you hand them the bottle of champagne, and you go, how much do you think that'd cost?
€10.
Well, they won't say 10, but they'll say, 15, 12, 10, 8. Some people will know more than others. Some people will go, haven't a clue, and they'll just guess 100 or whatever it is. Yeah. So you do that 100 times, and you average the bottle, or you get the mean, or whatever the term is of the bottle. And the average will be, let's say, 15 if the number is 10. You do it again, but with a different sack of balls and the same bottle of what you call it,
Prosecco or champagne,
whatever it is, yeah. And you have 2,000 is the number on the ball, and ask people how much do they think it's worth. They'll think it's worth about the average again, or the mean of all your answers will be about 10 times more
because of the number.
Because they've just seen a bigger number, and that's literally all it is. And people's value of a bottle of fucking some nondescript champagne or whatever it is. And here's another sales trick, because again, my background is in sales. I would have came across whatever I saw that on some sales fucking thing in the past. Just moving on from that example, when you come into a shop, let's say back in the day I would have been working in a white goods place selling washing machines and dishwashers or whatever. You come in and I'll get chatting to you. And any salesman, if they're any use, they'll get chatting to you. They want to get talking to you before they get down to the nitty-gritty.
Find your price range and then get you to buy the one up above it.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. Yeah. But if you start off the conversation with like they ask you, how much are your washing machines? If the salesman knows what he's doing, he'll say, "Oh God, you could spend €1,000. Jesus, you could spend €2,000. I know a brand of washing machine that's available on the internet. You can spend €5,000 on it." And they're just looking at you going, "This lad's fucking cracked. Thousands and thousands of euro on a fucking washing machine."
But I've got a great one here.
But then you tell them your most expensive one is only €800.
The one
and all of a sudden, no, but it's not that they want that one. All of a sudden they go,
"You're a good guy."
You've got reasonably priced washing machines. You've just told them one of them cost 800 fucking euro. Just
slip that one in.
But they're in their head.
It's all relative from where you're coming from.
You're hearing thousands, then all of a sudden you're hearing 800, and then all of a sudden they're walking out there having only spent €400 on a washing machine. The same washing machine only is worth €300. But you've added €100 to the price of that washing machine just by mentioning big numbers early on. That's the only difference you do. And that kind of psychological shit.
And do they do that in shops, like the likes of Curry's and all that places? Surely they have a set price for the thing. You can't just add on money to them, can you?
No, you can't. The person who walks into the shop doesn't know your price range. But if he walked around, he'd see it. But you hit
Catch
him
with
before
thousands.
He gets in. It's like the ball out of the bag. Doesn't make any sense. What difference is reading a fucking number off a ball out of a fucking bag make?
But it works.
Fucking right, it does.
Yeah, it's mad.
And if you don't think that the lad working in, or the girl working at the makeup counter in Brown Thomas or whatever, they might know that, but they know they're told tricks. They get trained once a week, once a month, whatever it is. They get trained these tricks. They're taught how to sell, and they mindfuck you every fucking day.
You did have this conversation with somebody else, so I won't go back into it, but I think it was on one of your podcasts. I don't know who was it. It was a guys even on about, because I was saying there's a couple of lads at work. Even the tiles on the floor bounce your trolley at a certain thing, and all these things. Somebody actually came in to me and they were fascinated, going, "Do you know that some places put the smell of fresh bread in?" Well, I've heard it fucking 20 years ago. I was here. It gets more sinister than that, lad. You know how the doors open, how slow them doors can open twice as fast. You know that your trolley bounces to stop you at different places, to change the shape and the size of the tile, to slow you down deliberately, like at the places they want you to slow down. Fucking fascinating shit. Like, it's scary though as well. Like
it's unreal. And here's a real kind of bigger picture kind of example, I suppose. You take a country shop, like a local shop, and I think there's an Irish TV programme about this. Is there a hotelier? Is there a famous hotelier that goes round and jazzes things up and stuff?
Your man Francis Brennan, I think, does that. Yeah, I don't know if it's Francis Brennan. He does hotels, but I think he might have had a series where he goes round to pubs and gets their B&Bs, or there might be a pub with rooms over it and haven't been rented out for years, or a country shop, as you said, that hasn't been doing well, and he changed the whole line. Now, doesn't that look really good now? Is that far better? That's brilliant now. Do that and carry that on.
I'm not overly familiar, but my understanding of the idea of it is he knows what he's doing. He walks into a place where they don't know. Let's say it's a restaurant.
Yeah, it's in bits. Or the food is shit.
But to take a really kind of, if you look at that from afar, like a really broad angle on it, you've got a restaurant and it seats 50 people and you're doing X amount of business. He could change the seating or maybe change the colour of the outside of the building, and he'll change your turnover from 200 grand a year to 300 grand a year by changing the colour of the front door of the fucking building or something like that. And shit like that works.
Generally now he goes in and revamps the whole place.
Right, well, and of course that's going to make a difference. But when you look at like especially a new super value or a new Centra or a new anything that's got money behind it, that thing has been engineered. Like
there's nothing left to chance.
Nothing, absolutely nothing, because it's all profit. It's all fucking money in the register. Every last bit of it.
I've noticed now, and I don't know. I'd imagine it's the first one I'm going to give you. There's a centre there beside where the old swimming pool is in Navan. It used to be the food basket, I think.
I know the spot. Yeah, beside the railway tracks.
Yeah. So if you used to go into it, it's just shop or whatever, but the centre got a hold of it. It's all done up now, and it's nice, it's snazzy looking and all that. But you can't. It's the old chestnut putting the milk one side and the bread the other. But what they've done here is when you walk in the door, I don't know if you've been in it recently, but when you walk in the door now, they've got a one-way gate.
Okay.
So you have to walk around the whole shop to get to, because a lot of people be going into that shop for beer and cigarettes.
Yeah, or the paper or whatever it is.
The things that are just right beside it. And what was happening was they obviously twigged, because of the layout of the shop, the cash registers are right to the left of the door, so you walk in. So probably 50-60% of people were never leaving the, say, 3 metre square around inside the door.
Yeah.
And they want to push everybody up. Now, the usual customers are kind of getting to grips with this one-way door, and they just pull it that way. Do you know, walk in, buy it, because they're not having any of that shit. I still walk around it because I won't be in there that often. Do you know what I mean? I'm not one of the locals, but that's what they do. Don't give a fuck. But it's all as you said. Nothing's left to chance. Like, and people might be thinking that's just the way it was designed. No, it was designed like that for a reason.
And people think that they're too smart for this as well.
Yeah.
So what people will say is, look, if I'm going into a shop to buy 20 fags, I'm going to walk out of that shop with 20 fucking fags. They can make me jump through hoops and fucking do all sorts, and they can lead me around, and they can give me a fucking 15-minute walk showing me everything they sell. I'm walking out with me fucking fags, and I'm not buying anything else. And they're right. They will just walk out. But you know what else? They're going to know that shop sells, you know, J-cloths and plastic bags and fucking shoe polish and whatever else. So when they're at home and they've got, oh fuck, I don't have a woolly hat. Oh, they sell woolly hats in that shop down the road. Yeah. And then they go to fucking get them.
Yeah, they're showing you their wares, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's where it brings me back, Fran, to the yoke. And again, off the lead and talking about this stuff is probably a good example of talking off the lead. But when you're on about, you know, we were saying at the start of it that it's society or whatever. I was sort of blaming corporations and shit for a lot of the problems we have. And you were saying, like, it's society, you vote for that. But you see this sinister side to corporations and big places like this that do these things, and people don't know about them. Now, you're educating people and telling them, well, this is what they do. But, you know, people don't know this is happening, so how can society prevent what they don't know is happening? That's why I blame corporations to a certain degree as well, because people actually aren't aware. Like, they're not going out to tell you, by the way, we changed the size of the tiles there to make you stop at the more expensive goods.
No, and even if I got that word out to everyone, it's still not going to make any difference.
No. But they're doing it for a reason, because as you said, they pay the best of the best people to trick you into parting with as much money as you can, you know?
No, and look, to a degree, they're always going to win. Because they're better backed than
the average Joe.
Oh yeah, Jesus, they're better backed than most governments. Do you know that kind of way? Never mind the regulatory body that's supposed to fucking keep tabs on them. Hilarious.
That's why I'd be saying government are kind of tied to cooperation as well. You know, you're saying, oh well, they're not, but they kind of are, because these big boys fucking do have a lot of clout.
And you're not going to save people from them, because they can't be saved. Now, you can do a bit of damage control, but the real one is, the crucial one is, and I touched on it earlier, the crucial one is, if we can make, or if I can help people be more aware of how materialistic they are and how pointless materialism is generally. Like, if you can stop someone from getting the new iPhone the day it comes out, and maybe get the fucking second or third
generation,
do you know that kind of way? Little things make,
because it's still a good, it's a damn good phone, like.
Oh yeah, man, I'm not going to be without a fucking smartphone. Fuck that shit.
But that's what I'm saying. But you don't need, like, I mean, look at it was only a couple of years ago you were on about the, I think the S4 came out or something. I got the S4, and you were saying, oh yeah, they're lovely, and is there. To be honest, I had the S2 before that, And it was just playing up on me, and I think that's why I went for the S4 or whatever. I said, for what I do with it, you know, I wasn't big into fucking doing too much on them. I was there, for what I do with it, camera might be a bit better, but it doesn't really bother me. It's the same as the other one. You're saying, but it's got a quad-core processor. Now, the S4 still has a quad-core processor, but it's peanuts now. It's still a good phone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
It's you know what I mean? If that was the dog's bodies fucking 3-4 years ago, it's still all right. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
So as you said, if people can stop going out and spending money, as you said, on the day, because they're probably cheaper after a couple of weeks. Never mind, but people have to be the first one with it, you know.
Yeah, and look, I think phones are maybe a bad example, but if you look at even clothes. And getting back to this idea of supporting what you want to see more of. If you're like, what do you want to see? Like, people out there, I think people generally, if you poll people and ask them, would they like to see more people being employed by local companies making, you know, T-shirts or something like that? Would they like to see that?
Of course,
most people would say
yeah.
And the same can be said for, like, would you like to see more local jam in your local supermarkets? People will say yeah. And if you ask people, should we rely less on imports? Everyone's going to say yeah. But saying yeah to a poll isn't worth shit. What you need to do
vote with your euros, yeah.
Vote with your euros, man.
Well, that's the thing. You see, people might say, as you said, a poll means nothing, because people will say, they'll give you the answer, yeah, I would like to see that. But at the end of the day, you tell them that t-shirt's going to cost €8 and they can go into pennies and buy 4 of them for €5.
Yeah, but you see, the people who are buying 4 pennies in Tesco or in pennies for €5, keep doing it, lad. See, I genuinely mean that, because if you're only paying a couple of euro for, you know, a t-shirt, it means that you probably don't have a lot of disposable income and you should be buying the cheapest thing. But if you're listening to this and you're accustomed to spending, you know, 80 or €100 on a fucking shirt because it's got fucking Tommy Hilfiger written on it, you can spend fucking the same money. Like, if people were willing to spend €80 on an unbranded shirt, there'd be shirt companies in every town in fucking Ireland. But people won't. People buy into the brand. And they buy into the fucking brand for the wrong reason.
It's to impress other people, isn't it?
Yeah, but what better way to impress somebody by them asking you, like, oh, that's a nice shirt. What's that? Oh, it's fucking, you know, Tommy Hilfiger. Oh, yeah, whoop-de-fucking do. No, it's, I actually got this.
Call unbranded.
I bought this online. It's from some crowd up in Donegal. His name's Dave. I'd sooner support Dave and the 3 lads he employs than, you know, some $1 billion fucking t-shirt.
Make that the trend.
Well, I think so, yeah. And getting back to monetizing this podcast or movement or whatever else, I intend to have merchandise for a start. You know,
off the lead shirts.
Yeah, pretty much an off the lead shirt, an off the lead hat.
I'll buy one.
An off the lead mug, whatever the fuck it is.
Put me down for one, right?
Definitely, 100%.
One of everything. What have you got? Cups.
We'll put it this way: I've already put in an order for patches. So a patch that I can then get sewn on to basically whatever I want. So I have to find a hat manufacturer. I'm sure there's someone in Ireland selling hats. And I'll get either them or I'll do it myself. I'll get the patch.
And what is the patch with your logo, with a logo for this podcast?
Off the lead, provoking conversations.
With the hand on the mic and the lead.
Yeah, the one, the logo that accompanies whatever you're listening to this podcast.
Very good.
And that's like a flag. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah, car stickers.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a bumper sticker. Yeah, absolutely. But the idea is that it'll be sewn onto something that's, you know, bought in Ireland, or maybe they'll
something
have the patches themselves.
Something you know, ethically sourced or whatever. Like.
Yeah, no, of course. And
you don't want to be slapping your off the lead onto some
a Nike t-shirt or something. Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't that the crack with Donald Trump during the election? He had all the "Make America Great Again" hats, and then when you flipped them over, it was made in China or something.
Hilarious. Yeah, no, it certainly won't be that fucking hypocritical. But another idea that I've had, and again, these are all just fucking ideas, but it's you know, that's what everything starts with, an idea.
Big time, yeah.
The first step to doing something, I think, to a degree, now I haven't put much thought into this, but just thinking out loud, the first step to doing something is an idea. And I'm a big believer in the second step being telling someone about it. Mm-hmm. Because once, like, I had the idea of doing a podcast, but I started telling people I was going to start a podcast before I did the podcast.
And then people will ask you, did you ever do any more than a podcast?
Well, yeah, it kind of normalises it. It's not as insane as it used to be. Yeah. And like I told you there, I'm going to reenact the Great Dictator speech from Charlie Chaplin, and people will know it from what's the line that people would know? You know, you're not machines, you're not cattle.
Yeah.
If that resonates or rings a bell with someone, that's the speech. If you go and Google The Great Dictator speech by Charlie Chaplin, you'll get a black and white video of Charlie Chaplin
giving it in his posh BBC accent, as you said.
Exactly. And have a listen to that and know with absolute certainty that I'm going to
do that.
Basically
in an Navan accent.
In my Navan
accent.
Yeah. Exactly. With the same fucking, fervour and fucking rousingness, if that's a word, that he did.
It sounds great in the accent, but that's, as you're saying, but back to the accent as well, it does make it more, I suppose, reachable and relatable, to people. Obviously, people in Cork have the same accent, and reminds me actually, I had an auntie years ago, and she'd be laughing at us because she's from Navan herself, but she lived abroad for many, many years, still does, and she comes home quite a bit now. She's retired, but I remember like we as kids or something, we want to drink a water, and she'd go, "Oh, do you want a drink of water?" And she'd exaggerate it even more, it's a joke. And I remember even my mother would be kind of, sometimes she's saying to the kids, "Oh, the noise of the accent," or to say something or whatever. I said, embrace it. What's wrong with it? You think because, it's not a BBC accent, everyone has a different accent. You know what I mean? Like, it nearly frowned upon, don't have that strong Navan accent. Why? Why be ashamed of where you're from? That's the way we talk. That's what you're saying to me, man. That's the way we talk, man. So I'm not changing. I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed as well, I don't think I've done it, but maybe I have. But I've noticed a lot of people at the start of the podcast are, I think they're very...
they cross their T's and dot their I's.
Yeah, at the start. And then it's sort of
understandable.
Yeah. Oh, you're just better off not doing that, I think. Just start off with your flat Navan accent, then you don't have to fucking change. Like.
Yeah, but it's not that they don't change.
It's nerves as well, I think.
It's nerves, and it's a human thing to try and, pronounce every last syllable of every word. Fuck all that, spit it out.
Yeah, get out, you can't you?
And that's what people want to hear, too, because that's not in kind of media. When was the last time you watched, RTE and some fella said, and now on 6 o'clock news we're going to chat about this, that, and the other, or whatever. It's always, oh no, and like, priests are the typical example. When was it like? And it's fucking hilarious. Like, priests have almost stage voices.
Yeah, big time.
Is it Bishop fucking Smith? Is that his name?
Oh, he's some voice, man.
That's hilarious.
I heard him years ago at a football match. Oldcastle were playing. He's from Oldcastle, and I heard him roaring and shouting or whatever, and getting well into the football, and completely different accent than the Lord Jesus Christ. It's funny, like no one ever said it through him. Here, Mickey, what's the story with the stage voice? Did you learn that? At preschool or something? What's the story there?
Yeah, no, fucking madness.
It's mad, isn't it?
But again, and like with the lads that are coming on here, the lads that have come on so far, I'd say more of that is nerves than anything else.
Yeah.
It takes a while for them to kind of...
Oh, it's not everyone. There's only a couple of people who know, and it does go very quickly. Like, most people just hit the ground running and just say, "Oh, I am what I am," and I talk what I talk, But it's there's nothing. Be proud of your accents. Don't care if it's mad because if you go away to America or something, Ireland has such a diverse amount of accents. When you think about it, it's for such a small island, like from Donegal down to Cork, you put them two boys in a room, they won't know. I've seen it at work. Like, you've got different delivery drivers coming from either end of the country, and the two boys don't have a clue what they're on about.
But you're even closer to home, like from Nobber to Navan is what?
Yeah, or RD.
10 miles
or RD, and it's completely high. Yeah. But it's mad. It's such a diverse amount of accents, and then if you go to America, should we all sound the fucking same?
Yeah, the Irish accent.
Yeah. Or if you even go down the country to think I'm a dub, I sound nothing like a bleeding dub. Do you know what I mean? But to them, it's so distinct to us that we can hear that. But even 30 mile down the country, you from Dublin, are you? No, I'm not. But it couldn't sound any more different as far as I'm concerned than from a dub, like. But
yeah, well, the differences should be embraced. Do you know that kind of way? But getting back to the kind of the commercialization of this and the branding and that, before I forget, because what I was saying about
the speeches.
Yeah, but the speeches, but even before that, when I was saying the first step is thinking about it, the second step is telling someone. Like, I've thought of kind of reenacting stuff like that 10 years ago.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's only now, sort of, I suppose, you get braver, like.
Yeah, you do. You get braver. I've gone a lot fucking braver. A lot braver. Like, big time. And it's that bravery. It's that bravery is the lack of the fear that I mentioned earlier. And granted, it's easier for me in many respects because like my income is kind of secured, and I make that myself, and that's on my own terms, and I'm not afraid of kind of pissing anybody off. I've more time. Like, I've got the martial arts background. I've got my own business. I've competed in triathlons. I've the podcast. I've done a lot, and I've achieved a lot, and whatever else. So if I fuck something up, I don't give a fuck. I've so much to kind of fall back on. But I think a lot of people haven't had the opportunities that I've had, and they haven't really. They mightn't have anything to kind of list as an achievement. And if you haven't anything that you can kind of proudly stand up and shout to a crowd that you've done and you're proud of, the odds of you ever doing that are slim to fuck all, because you just don't have the confidence of having done things previously.
And you build on it as well. Once you do something that's,
It works both ways. That what you're saying works both ways. If you do a bit and you do another bit and you do another bit, you get bigger and bigger and stronger, and you reach higher, and you do more and you do more. But if you never really got that, kick out the door, maybe your dad was a prick. Do you know that kind of way? And maybe he didn't encourage you to do anything, or maybe he told you you're always fucking useless, lazy cunt, or whatever it was. And maybe you never, if you can't build on something that you haven't kind of started, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you're never gonna paint the ceiling in the Sistine Chapel before you fucking dig the foundations of the building.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah, it does. I have to agree. It does build on itself. Like, and if you one small thing, I achieved that. Well, if I could achieve that, then maybe I could do this. Then when you've done that,
it snowballs.
Yeah, massive snowball effect. But you have to do the first little thing, regardless how small it is. And that mean different things to different people, because I'm sure there's an awful lot of people out there that love to do something, and they probably could do it, but they don't have the confidence to do it. But I mean, even this, what you're doing now, hopefully gives somebody out there confidence to do something, because they go, well, look, fucking Fran is doing that. Like,
yeah, well, look at Paul Webster. He was thinking of doing a podcast for ages. He's involved in this thing. I think he set it up. Film Network Ireland,
right?
FNI. Yeah, I think I have that right. Film Network Ireland, and so this is an organisation that he, I think, has created.
Right.
And it's been going for a couple of years. I think. I hope I'm not doing him a disservice by saying this, but it's been going a couple of years, and he's had the idea to do a podcast for ages. I don't know how long, but for ages. And then he was.
You do one.
I think so. Yeah, or even I think he might have heard either me say or someone else that I was going to do one. And he kind of went, fuck, Fran was going to do a podcast. I've been meaning to do a fucking podcast for fucking years. I'm going to do a podcast.
Yeah.
And he has a podcast.
Whereas if you didn't do it, he might be still thinking about it.
Yeah, of course. Maybe it'd be on his to-do list. And it's FNI Rap Chat, it's called. It's well worth a look or a listen if anybody's...
And has he done many of them, Paul?
Yeah, I think he's doing one a week, and he's on, if I'm on 11, I think he's on 15 or 16.
Really? So, yeah, he's flying along, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's doing one a week, and he started a couple of weeks before me. But again, I think I have that right, that he heard either through me or someone else that I was going to do one.
There and that go.
Gave him the kick up the arse to actually do
just it. Lit the petrol that was there already, and just
exactly. And
off he went.
Listen, that's just one example of somebody who's heard something that I've said.
And this is again back to off the lead. This is encouraging conversation and encouraging people to think outside the box, and whatever you're thinking of doing, just do it, because nothing to fear.
No, absolutely. And again,
fear itself, as I say, like.
What I'm doing here, I'm not trying to encourage people to set up a podcast. I'm not trying to encourage people to go swimming in a fucking half-frozen lake. I'm not trying to encourage people to do anything extreme. What I'm trying to encourage people to do, I think, is to just push the envelope a little bit further.
Just a little bit more, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe they're running 5k a day or a week. Maybe do 6. Maybe just push it a little. Like when I do the reenactments, I'll record that, and I'll have to take a big deep breath and close my eyes and hit that big fucking upload button. But look, I will, and that's absolutely what I'm going to do. Yeah. And I'm going to fucking, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the same thing that I did.
Close your eyes and hit the button.
when I uploaded Beefs, I hit upload. And like it takes hours to upload my shitty broadband here, but when everything was ready and I pressed saved, I had a button to press, which was not upload, publish. I had a button to press.
Once you hit that,
I was in my shorts with a compression top on me and runners
straight out the door,
with the headphones in and the button to play the music on, and I hit the two buttons at the same time and literally ran out of the building.
Shit. Yeah, because it takes balls, man. It takes balls. And it takes balls to come on it as well. Do you know? It does. Like, all them lads that are after coming on, you've got 10 people on it, have you?
Yeah, I think you're 11. Yeah,
because you're into uncharted territory for a lot of people. You know, they might have been doing it and they might be brilliant in their field, but there's one thing coming in, and again, you're not. It's not more in Ireland. You're not going on to something that you know there's a certain amount of people listening to it. You might have nobody listen to it, or you might have fucking 100 people listening.
And it's not for 5 minutes.
No, it's a long old time. And if you can't, I suppose you could go right and wrap that up. I'm done. But like it's a long old time, as you said, especially if you've never done anything like it before.
Yeah, which most of the lads I don't think have. Like,
yeah,
like they're not media people. They're not celebrities by any stretch of the imagination.
And it's not an easy thing to do. I'd imagine for a lot of people just to come in, and even though it's only a chat, if you see it as a chat, but I've been thinking about it all week. Going, oh, for fuck's sake, let's go and do this podcast. Now I don't give a fuck. You know, I didn't really, as soon as I came in, I didn't really care. Not that I don't care, but I'm talking to you, like.
But again, from your perspective, okay, you've the house sorted, you've the job sorted, you've a wife, you've got kids. You're not worried about your fucking mortgage. You know, fucking 24 hours a day. You know, if no one listened, or if you said something stupid, or you know, if you came across poorly, or you know, if any of the worst case scenarios happened. You know, what about it? And you're a kind of confident guy, so you can just, you know, if for whatever reason this conversation deteriorated and it was a terrible conversation, and maybe I didn't upload it was that bad, or something to that effect.
That could happen.
if worst case scenario happened, you're kind of strong enough in yourself to kind of move on. And there's people out there listening to this who aren't strong enough to come on, and that's all right too.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to do, getting back to kind of pushing the envelope out, I'm not saying, you know, jump 10 steps and come on and have a fucking conversation for the world to hear. What I'm saying is maybe text that lad that you're best friends with, that you haven't seen in ages, and ask him, is he around for a pint or a run or a fucking whatever. Just kind of push yourself out a little bit more. And the reason that what's really pushed me to do the super cringy stuff, like the reenactment of the speeches, like that's going to be fucking super mortifying. Cringy. It is. It's super.
Yeah, but fair play to you for knowing how fucking cringeworthy that would be for an experience, and still going to fucking do it.
Like again, anyone listening to this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you hit play on YouTube on The Great Dictator Speech by Charlie Chaplin. I'm fucking not terrified. I was terrified. Again, as I said, I've had the idea.
We're not afraid of nothing anymore.
I've had the idea of doing it 10 fucking years though.
Yeah.
And I've committed to it a couple of ways. By telling you know, a month ago, by telling herself, you know, a week ago. I've only told fucking 3 or 4 people, and even when I told you, it was kind of right, here goes, I'm going to fucking tell them. But now
you actually sent it to me and go, I'm going to do this in a yoke. You should do it too, you said to me. But
I could have backed out of that for whatever reason. I could have said, oh no, I've decided to go in a different direction, or you know, something. But I've committed to it now, and I've published it in front of how many people are going to listen to this. So the people essentially expecting it now once this goes live.
Makes it a little bit easier.
Of course it does. Of course it does. But when somebody, like, I reckon that that podcast will only be, like, the speech is, let's say it's 4 minutes. So I'll probably give it a minute intro, and then maybe a minute after it, if even, or I might have the original stitched on once I'm finished. So it'll start something like, you know, this is the first solo podcast from Off the Lead. What I'm going to do now is reenact this, and I'm doing it because I think it's something that people should listen to. Here goes nothing. And it'll be, you know, the 4 minutes or whatever length of it is of me reenacting it, and then it ending, and now for the original, and I'll stitch in the original. So I reckon, purely because it's only going to be 5 or 6 minutes long, it very well might be listened to more than any of the others. Now maybe no one will fucking listen to it. Maybe it'll get 5 listens when everything else is getting, you know, fucking 30, 40, 50, 1, 2, fucking 300 or whatever it is. Maybe no one will listen to it. But if somebody was to listen to that, I'd like to think that would really encourage them. Fucking hell, like, if that guy can do something like that insane, I can do my thing, which isn't nearly as insane in comparison. Yeah. And again, that ties back into the swimming in the frozen lake and the doing all the mad shit.
You don't have to copy it.
No, you don't, but if it inspires you to do something. Like another thing that I do that you could call off the lead is I run every day, which isn't particularly off the lead, but let's say this time last year, I wasn't doing a whole pile of running. I wasn't doing any running, really, because, look, it's fucking dark at 4 o'clock. But I'm out running every evening in the pitch black and the pissing rain through the fields.
Cross fields
with a lamp on my fucking head. Yeah.
That's what I was saying to you.
You're not going to get locked down running through a field, like.
Imagine what the farmers think. That's what I was saying last week. Yes,
but there's no, this time of year, there's no one in the fucking fields, especially at night when it's pissing rain.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
if there was somebody out there,
fucking lock that fucking lunatic up, like.
But if you're doing that again, yeah, I mean,
it might encourage someone to go for a walk.
Yeah,
I'm not going to. I'm not.
You're not asking people to traipse through the fields, but just do something a little bit more for your fucking mental health as well. Like,
look, man, it's. I suppose being off the lead, as I put it, it's given me the kind of the courage to do these things and the ability to do them. And like, I've been in fucking dark places, like up to and including being suicidal on more than one occasion. One really bad time, but like, I've been there, and for anyone who's been there, it's not fucking nice. Like, it's like, you know, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
And are you following Peaky Blinders at all?
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it.
I love it too. Something resonated with me in it, and your one is it Peggy? Is that her name?
The sort of kind of matriarchal, yes. In the noose, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, and then once you get to there, everything is just.
She died.
Yeah, in the noose, even though she didn't
as she
die.
put it. Yeah. And your man Tommy, I think, said at the funeral that him and all of his like battalion that were definitely going to get killed and then didn't.
They were already dead.
Died. They were already dead.
So then you have nothing to fear.
Yeah, and I listened to that, and I had never that thought process or that mentality had never been in my head. But since then, it's kind of made me think, I fucking nearly ended it, like.
Really?
Like, I said goodbye to people. I could say goodbye to family and friends, like.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
2009, shortly after the crash, lost everything, lost the job, you know, everything that came with the job, the flash car, the fucking wearing suits every day, you know, your livelihoods, your sense of identity, you know, all the fucking rest of it. Yeah, so like, it took me fucking, I don't know what it was, 5 or 6 years to even mention that to anybody, let alone speak as openly about it as I can now. But listening to that mentality on Peaky Blinders, this idea that, you know, you're on, it's like the opposite of borrowed time, if that makes sense. Like, you've already died, so this is all kind of endless extra time, if that makes sense.
And that's what she says in it as well, doesn't she? Is it Mal or Peg or whatever her name is? But that's what she says. Like, this is all extra. This is all extra now.
But bonus material.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a good way of looking at life. So if you can view your birth as a death, do you know, that kind of way,
and then everything's a bonus afterwards.
Yeah.
But I mean, saying that, especially saying that in a podcast, like that, you were feeling in that state that you were saying goodbye to people and all that crack, and like, I mean, that's fucking golden for you to be able to say that, especially on a podcast or whatever, because I didn't even know that, and it has to give, again, anybody that's listening to it, like, because there's an awful lot of people like that out there, man. You know that, and you know that.
Scary,
you know that, like, better than most people. But it must give them a lift, because I can guarantee you, for the last 10 or 11 episodes of this podcast, people are just going, this fella's a fucking, just so, do you know what I mean? I don't know what to be, so confident and so, do you know what I mean? It's them type of people that you'd never, you know, you'd think, he'd never have suicidal tendencies or thoughts or even depression. Because I remember, actually, it must be a year or two ago, I asked you, we were after being out now, I think we were out with Big John at the time, but we came back and we were in my house, and I think, and I was asking you, I asked you out straight, I think, do you suffer with depression? Because you'd never think it, like, and you said yeah, but I thought, you know, there's varying degrees of depression. And I always thought that, like, because I suffer bouts of it on and off. I think everybody does, like. But again, it wouldn't be spoken about too much. But I remember you saying, oh God, yeah. You just kind of pass it off like, a God, yeah, I would, yeah. And I was
obviously kind of.
Yeah. And I was fascinated, and it actually gave me a bit of fucking relief, nearly, if that's the right way.
Or solace, maybe.
Yeah. Going, oh, well, if he can fucking feel like that, because I always thought you wouldn't really be like that. Like, now you're after taking it another level by saying what you said, like, because I didn't think I thought you might, everyone gets down or whatever, and the way you sort of said it, nearly fucking flippant, it was just like, oh yeah, of course I do, like, and it's like, right, he's the same as me then, kind of thing, he's the same, he gets down, but I never knew it was that severe, and that for a lot of people might be the best thing to come out of this podcast, to hear somebody that has the confidence and do you know the abilities and all that you have to come out and say something like that? Like, it gives so many people that might be out there listening to it that might be feeling like that. And again, a lot of people, that's really brave shit to be saying, because a lot of people wouldn't ever be able to say that to their best friend, never mind to a fucking audience that is as of yet to be determined, like.
Yeah,
but and there's more off the lead shit, you know what I mean? That's not, well, did you see the game last night? You had a fucking shit in defence over a pint,
Yeah, and it's not, and again, getting back to me not wanting people, or me not expecting people to, jump into fucking lakes or whatever it is. I don't expect people to listen to that and then all of a sudden be able to, tell, their friends and family or whoever else that, they've been suicidal or they are suicidal or whatever. But if it can encourage people to say, that they've been depressed or ask the question. And like, it's funny, they say in kind of mental health circles that if you think, if let's say a friend of yours, if you think that they're suicidal, you should ask. You should ask outright.
Do they say that?
Are you suicidal?
Do they say that?
Yes.
Because I would have actually thought, Jesus, if you say that, you might be somebody might be kind of going, no, but now do you said it? Do you know, should I be kind of thing? I was like, oh, fuck, I wouldn't be.
I nearly want to retract it because it's not the type of thing that you want to get wrong.
Yeah. But no, is that the given? That's that you should, because I listen, think I know.
Let me rephrase it. I rephrase it as this. I think.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to say I think that it's the recommended thing. Maybe Pia House will fucking go, Jesus Christ, no. And they'd be the people to listen to. But I personally think that if you think someone is suicidal, you fucking owe it to them and yourself and everybody fucking else to ask them outright, are you suicidal? Or, right. Fucking, even if you can't stretch to that for whatever reason, ask, are you depressed at the very least? But, so, as far as I'm aware, I stand to be corrected, but as far as I'm aware, the general consensus amongst the mental health community or whatever you want to call it, you should ask the question, are you suicidal? But I've kind of jokingly thought to myself before that a better way of asking it would be almost flippantly in passing to a friend who you don't think is depressed. Like, I could ask you now, not have you ever been suicidal, but almost ask, have you been suicidal much? Do you know that kind of way? Yeah. As in not just once.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know that kind of way?
Because
then
it
takes
opens
the edge
it up.
off,
Yeah, it opens it up. It's sort of like, it's nearly making it fucking more normal. Because that's another thing. I don't want to be fucking getting away from what we're talking, but it's still on the same thread. But this, I really don't get, these ads that they have on about, it's, especially on RTE, because there's an awful lot of young men, especially fucking committing suicide or whatever. But the one that have, it's your mental health, learn to look after it. Do you know that ad? I'm not familiar with the ad.
I'm familiar with the kind of the saying or the quote.
Yeah, and it's on the radio as well, as whatever, but it's your mental health. Learn to look after it, right? So you got my attention, but the question that keeps on coming, reoccurring to me is, you gonna fucking tell me how? But they keep on saying,
or direct me somewhere or something.
But they say it's your mental health. Learn to look after it. All right, nice one. Must fucking look after that mental health. What do you want to do? Get it out and fucking give it a wash and polish.
That's like, to everybody's listening, you should
look after mental health.
But not even. I'm trying to think of an analogy. Like, here's a message from your government: be healthier. Do you know what I mean? Or
and that's it.
Eat, this is a mess. This is an important message that everyone should hear. Eat more nutritional foods.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fucking nice one. What the fuck is a nutritional food?
It was like, but what I took away from it was nearly like a piecemeal effort. We've got fucking 500 million to spend on mental health agenda this year because there's an awful lot of people committing suicide. We need to spend this money. We need to get a radio campaign. Right, get a campaign. Look after yourself, you hear? How? Like, they don't even say, it didn't even have any direction, I think, at the end of it to go and talk to this or do that, or exercise is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. Exercise. Yeah.
Like, I didn't exercise for years. I only started trying to do a bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the last few weeks, getting broken up every time I go down. It's getting, I was actually saying to one of the lads who was trying to get him, encourage him to do it, with the other chap that does it, he's in his 50s, I was saying to him, get down, I said, the hardest thing is walking through the door.
Oh, 100%. Without a fucking shadow.
It's walking through the door. And I said, use your kids as an excuse. That's what I did. I brought me little one down.
Nice.
And threw her in.
Nice.
Yeah, taste that out. And then I could see what he was doing with the kids. And I said, I'd imagine it's going to be something similar with the adults. And then he made us fucking run around in a circle. Roger, you nearly killed me the first day. But he, after I think I was just getting to the end, because it's only meant to be a warm-up. But sure, I was unfit. I haven't done anything in 20 odd years. And I started running around. I was saying to the chap at the weekend, it was just when I was getting to the yoke, I can't take much more of this. I'm going to run out the door and never come back again. And he stopped, and we started doing more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rather than, just running around.
Yeah.
But I got there, and I knew then the next time I went down, it was going to be easier, because I knew then I could actually complete the warm-up. And that was grand or whatever. But I was saying to one of the chaps, the hardest thing is actually stepping over the threshold. But after a couple of weeks, the second hardest thing is going back. Because it nearly feels like I'm regressing rather than progressing, that kind of way. Everyone's better than you. It's nearly, I think it's more of a challenge nearly for me to go down after a month and a half, 2 months, than it was to go down after 1 week, 2 weeks. It's just because you're in for a tough time, your inadequacies, how bad. Maybe the people aren't taking it as easy as they were in the first week. But sure, I went down. Again, it's a weird one with jiu-jitsu. I know we're going off on a tangent.
No, that's the whole point of this.
Mental health. But the weird one is you've grown up all your life to kind of respect people's personal space. And what I'm finding down there is there is no personal space. Like, you get your head rammed into his chest or rammed in. And I just have to laugh, because I'm still tentative, getting that close to another man. Like,
yeah.
And I can see the boys sort of smiling at me the first day I was down there, like, going, well, because
that pulls you into fucking closed guard, and it's any closer and you'd be inside him, like.
But one of the chaps, Roger was after showing us how to do some arm pull or whatever. I had to sit down on the floor. A lovely chap called Sean, and I went to grab his arm as I hear this, and I'm mortified. I don't know what I'm doing here. So I went to tentatively take his wrist,
Yeah.
And he kind of grabbed me wrist and made me clench him a little bit harder and grab his elbow in the right place. And he sort of started laughing. He said, Peadar, you have to be a little bit rough, And I'm not, I know you have to be a little bit rough. I'm aware of it's a fucking combat sport, but at the same time, I'm so unused to it and so unfamiliar with putting myself that close to another human being, apart from my wife. Like,
yeah.
It's just a foreign thing, and I'm still tentative when I get down, and still I have to remember. I might have my head on someone's chest, and I forget. I'm meant to be driving myself, with full force into them. I'm there touching me ear off them and kind of looking at them going, is this okay?
Yeah,
and they're going, you'll fucking never get this, will you? But it's so sooner or later, I suppose. I said it to Roger the last night. I said, I feel I'm getting worse, not better. And he goes, we're all like that from the start. But I'd love to be able to go to more. But exercise and mental health, big thing, man. Get out and do a thing. But especially the jits, I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a brilliant one. And I was having this argument. It was actually with my mother at one stage. We were talking about, I said it's great for your mental health. And she was there, but it's violent and all that, And it's not violent. You can go full tilt and you don't get hurt. And as soon as you do the little tap, the person lets you go. No one's going to hurt you, because then nobody come back. It's not like that. But I would say, she was there, but sure, you can go for a lovely walk in the woods and clear your mind that way. And that's good for your mental health as well. And I said, I agree, yeah, you can. I said, but it's not going to be as good for your mental health as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because if you're doing BJJ, you're and from doing it, and a few of the boys, guys on it, and a few of the lads, yourself, when you're doing that, there's somebody, your opponent's trying to choke you or break some of your limbs, which is not a nice prospect. Now, they're not going to do it, but that's the object of the game.
They want to get to a position whereby they could do it.
Yeah, they could severely choke you and make you fall asleep. And when you're struggling, even though it's not, and it makes no difference. Like, it was actually my sister was saying to me, but you'd be different in real life. I was saying, I'm getting battered down there every week. My sister, and she's like, but you'd be different in real life. You'd have that instinct. I was there, no, I'd be no different in real life. It just it humbles you. It realises that you are a complete useless tool when it comes to combat, especially on the ground or in close quarters. But when somebody's trying to choke you or get in a position to choke you, your mind is cleared very, very quickly of anything else that might be going through. Whether it's a mortgage, whether it's suicidal tendencies, you're fighting to survive, and it's that rest that your brain gets.
It's a break from yourself.
Yeah, it really is a break from yourself.
Yeah.
You're giving your a holiday from your own head, I think you put it before. And you really are, because for a couple of minutes, every few minutes, if you're doing a few rounds, you can think of nothing else but trying to survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
The opposite of what you might be thinking if you were at home, you know, moping around on the couch. And my point to my mother was, you can get that woods. I said, you can't really, because you can be walking through a woods with a lovely fresh winter's breeze on your face, looking at the bare trees and thinking about all the things that are still annoying you at home.
Of course, yeah, fucking right.
So don't tell me that any exercise is exercise. Running fast or hard or trying to avoid being choked unconscious by somebody.
Yeah.
Definitely clears your mind a lot more than walking through a wood.
Well, here, put it this way. And I know I can speak of this with a certain amount of fucking first-hand experience. Walking through a wood, I would have avoided walking through a wood at certain times in my life, because I know myself, I'd be eyeing up the branches.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
100%. So, you know, don't get me wrong, any kind of exercise, if you can get it, is good. But this idea that, you know, go for a nice walk through the woods, that'll clear your head.
Might be putting things into your head.
Fucking right,
Yeah.
Jesus. And
lonely, isolated, not many around.
No, do you know, like, oh fuck,
Yeah,
it doesn't bear thinking of. And on that note, I'd love to get into shooting. I'd love to get into clay pigeon shooting. I won't have a gun in the house. And you know,
just bring one with you. Yeah.
No, but I wouldn't.
As in, get one, rent one when you're down, if you're doing it, like.
But I wouldn't get into shooting, because if I get into shooting, you kind of have to have your own gun. And
sorry, I'm with you. Sorry, I thought you
like
would.
the prospect of having a gun in the house.
Really, yeah.
Do you know that
even
kind of
now, even to this day, yeah.
Yeah, even now, yeah. And it's kind of
because it'd be too accessible if you did take a bad turn. Is that why?
Yeah, I think so.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I think that you know this. How long are you off the fags?
Year now.
Yeah, you're never going back in the fags, are you?
No.
You've heard of people who've been off them 20 years and who go back on them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
so there you go.
I'm off the fags. I'll be off the fags 3 years now in February, say, and I'll never go back on them either. But
you can't say the same for your mental health.
We'll put it this way: I'll be off them 3 years cold turkey in this coming February. Okay, but I don't have fags in the house.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you don't either, do you?
No.
Would you?
I have no reason to. But if they were there, I don't think the temptation would be there. Even if I was drunk, I don't think I'd pick one up.
You don't think you would, but you know people who've been off them 10 years and...
Well, one of the lads at the Christmas
party
there, he actually one of the lads that inspired me to get onto the vape, and he was out and he had this box of cafe creme cigars, little tiny things with a plastic filter on the end of them, and he offered me one. I didn't have one because I'd be afraid that I'd one. And he goes, "Now you don't inhale these." And I said, "Even the smell of them, even the taste of them, no." And I don't get me wrong, I still love not. I wouldn't be hanging out with someone smoking a fag, but I have no problem with, especially if I'm drinking in a pub sort of atmosphere, in a beer garden. I'd have a vaporizer with me, and I would have no problem standing there. I kind of like the smell of tobacco, but I always loved the smell of tobacco, even as a kid. I remember my mother be running by the pubs.
There's something dangerous about it, isn't there? Or, mother, forbidden.
Yeah, the mother would always run by the pubs, and I'd be sort of lingering, walking by them, going, I like the smell of tobacco, like. But it's a fair point. You don't think you would, but then you do hear, and that's what I'd be afraid of, because I've often heard of people that go on. I was off the fags for 20 years, and I had a cigar at Christmas, and I'm back on 20 a day.
Yeah.
Going, how could you do that? No, a delivery driver comes down every night to the Chronicle, and he buys. He was off the fags for 3 years, and he was always chewing them, and I didn't realise it was nicotine chewing gums he was on, and he's eating them. And then one day he got out of the van there a while ago, and he opened the back doors, and the smell that hit me just of tobacco, like, and I was like, "Are you smoking?" And the big guilty head in him. He's about 6 foot something, like. I swear his mother caught him smoking around the back
when he was 12,
like. Yeah. And he was like, yeah. But he hasn't even told his missus. And he goes, I'll get rid of them before I go home. I said, 20 fags? Yeah, well, I had 11 on the way down. I've only 9 for the way back. That's only 3 or 4 hours. 20 fags in the space of 6 hours.
Yeah, you see, we have there's an accompanying shame with addictions, I think. And in a weird way, and it's partly why I wouldn't have a gun in the house. In a weird way, I don't know, because I was kind of depressed on and off for so long, and then had it intensely for so long. In a weird way, I was addicted to depression.
Yeah,
if
I
that
can
makes
understand
sense.
that. Yeah,
because it's something that I did all the time, 24 hours a day, for God knows how long. And if you do something repetitive enough, it gets ingrained in
it's
your
like
brain.
what you were telling me about before about the gamblers. It's not the money. It's the it's not the winning. It's the losing. They get addicted to it. Was it you that was saying that to me, or someone was saying it to me? Gamblers very often are addicted to losing. Like,
yeah,
they want to
absolutely,
be.
Yeah,
they don't want to be. It's a subconscious thing. That
it's a weird one.
losing.
Fuck, I'm not as fluent in it as I used to be. I've forgotten a lot of that, but there is an element of that in it, that they're addicted to losing, because
why else would you do it? Because
they're not addicted to making money.
No. Well, most of them aren't. There is some people that do it for a living and make very good money, but they are the 1%.
Yeah, if even. Yeah. But they're like, for the most part, for the overwhelming majority of people, they're certainly not addicted to fucking making money.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? So, like, you'll get addicted to whatever you do enough.
And as you were saying, even the spin of the thing, these, what you call them, the machines and the
slot
pubs,
machines.
Yeah, or the things that spin the numbers, the sevens.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's people aren't addicted to seeing the numbers. They can flash them up in a second. It's the spin, and as they're revealed.
Yeah, it's that want. It's that anticipation. They're addicted to anticipation.
And you reckon you can get addicted to being depressed?
I think you can get addicted to whatever you do enough of.
Really, yeah.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thought. Yeah.
I think so. I think if you, like, look at habits. Like, if you made
humans are creatures of habit.
We really are. Like, if you made yourself, touch your nose every fucking 2 minutes, and you did that for fucking 20 years,
nervous tick.
And then I said, listen, the way you have to fucking stop. The way I've been asking you to touch your nose every so often. Well, stop. Yeah, see if you'll stop.
Yeah.
You're addicted to it. Like, it's just it's habit, and like, okay, maybe there's obviously a difference between habit and an addiction, but there surely something is a habit before it's an addiction. Do you know that kind of way? Is habit a precursor for addiction? I don't know. I'm talking, freely here.
Yeah. Well, that's off the lead again, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. The conversations themselves, in an ironic way, are off the lead themselves.
But it's an interesting thought that you could be addicted to being depressed.
Well, yeah, look,
and for people listening out there,
if all you're doing is ruminating over negativity, fucking.
And how did you get out of it, Fran? Was it when you had that bad bout that you're describing there? Because again, I think this is brilliant, because we've never spoken about this before, as you know, and the first time we're speaking about it is on the podcast, which is very brave, but of you obviously, but. When you were at the depths of the lowest of the low, how long did that last for?
I was as bad as knowing I was going to kill myself for months.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was stopping you? Or you were with Root at the time, were you?
No, I wasn't. No, this would have been 2009. Wouldn't have been far off meeting Root, actually. But yeah, what happened was I was suicidal while I had the job, and it was the fear of losing the job.
Yeah, that's the fear again.
That was worse than having lost it. Because when there was a whole fucking plan made and everything, which I won't get into, but that day passed, and I think this is a kind of common occurrence or theme with people who've been suicidal. When either the attempt fails or they bottle it, for want of a better term.
Definitely want of a better term.
Yeah. Or they, again, for want of a better term, they lose their nerve, or whatever phrase is appropriate inserted there. When it doesn't happen, that can nearly drag you down even more.
Yeah, I know. I could just understand
that you're so fucking useless.
Can't
even
do that.
Kind of thing. So, back to the drawing board, back to just being fucking depressed out of my head all day, every day. And that's, when I say all day, every day, it's like every waking moment. And that's where, sparring or even rolling in jiu-jitsu, as a pure beginner, like, you're at, a week or two and you get that, like, you get that little break from yourself, or a holiday
big
from your
time,
head.
yeah. Go home, you're a nicer person to everybody involved, even your wife, your kids.
It's just a bit of peace, like. Yeah. So, it didn't happen for whatever reason. Then I lost my job. Luckily, it was at the height of the crash, so like
everybody was kind of
everyone was out of a job.
Yeah.
So it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It was me while I had a job. I knew the writing was on the wall for that job.
Yeah.
I knew...
It's nothing to do with you. You couldn't do anything about it. People weren't building houses, buying shit anymore. Like.
Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to last. Because, look, it was a sales role, and one of the best and worst things about a sales role is at the end of every month, there's a little print off that tells you what you're worth.
Yeah.
And for the last 6 months, what I was worth was fuck all.
Yeah.
True, no fault of your own. You know, metaphorically in my own head. So lost the job. I'll never fucking forget, my fucking mum collected me from...
I remember you driving the Audi, was it?
Yeah, I was driving a brand spanking new Audi A4
and Sport,
back,
yeah.
White, Xeon lights, leather seats, you know, all the rest.
Lovely, okay.
I'd negotiated it as part of my deal. You know, I was on top of my game in the sales world at the time, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, to be sitting in the passenger seat in my mother's car, literally looking at my Audi in the wing mirror of her car, just going into the distance, like, that was just a fucking sad moment. But there was a certain relief. I'd lost my job. It was on good terms with my employer. They basically said, look, we wouldn't have taken you on a year and a half ago if we'd known the country was going to fucking fall to shit. So, you know, apologies. Like, they kind of apologised for letting me go.
Yeah,
as
which is nice. You're fired.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't, you know, you're not doing your job.
No.
Get out. It was, lad, we just can't afford to keep people on. You know, sorry. So what happened then? Went home.
You're living here, weren't you?
Hit the beer. I was living here, yeah. Hit the beer hard for... Oh, fuck, the figures aren't fresh in my head now, but I think I had $7,000. I think I had $7,000 in cash, basically, in a current account. And yeah, I got a job straight away, actually.
Aircon, was it?
Yeah, hilarious.
I remember you not being too happy at that time, but I thought it was the job.
Look, I went from being at the top of my game at a, you know, savage wage and all the perks and
driving around the country, to be stuck at a desk,
being my own man, doing what I've been doing for years, you know, the top of my game at the level that I was at. And I kind of panicked when I lost my job. What I did was, I need a job
straight away. Yeah.
So went from what was I on, fucking $60,000 a year, you know, with commission and with the phone and with the laptop and the credit card and the expenses and the car and the mileage and fucking everything else.
Down to low 20s, I'd imagine, was it?
Oh, down to like entry level telesales job in Aircom. Now, a fully functioning me wouldn't have done that. A fully functioning me would have taken a couple of months off and reassessed the situation. I needed to be employed. And part of that was because I knew that if I didn't have something to fucking distract me, you know, what I had planned to do a couple of weeks previous, I'd have all the time in the world to kind of do it, or at least ruminate.
And you always had a job since the age of fucking 14 or 15 years of age. You had a job.
Yeah, never at
weekends,
work.
Always working.
Yeah. So, just applied for the first job. It was a sales job. I got it in a heartbeat. I mean, the lads must have kind of said, how the fuck is this lad sitting in front of us here? He's not going to last, but sure, we'll get him in.
We
can crack if nothing else. Like, and worked there for... Well, I ended up working in Aircon for a couple of years.
Were you there that long, yeah?
Yeah, I was there for fucking 2, maybe 3 years.
I thought you were there for 6 or 7 months.
No, I was there for a couple of years. Not in the same job. I kind of
moved around, moved up,
yeah. But I got that job, so I spent every penny that I earned. So I can't remember what I was getting, 350 or 400 quid a week or whatever. I was getting that, and I spent every penny I earned for the first 2 or 3 months, and the $7,000. In the Palace in Navan for the most part.
Really, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the nightclub in Navan, fucking Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
See, I was getting married that stage, so I probably didn't see much of you because I was probably
you wouldn't
busy
see me because I was out in the fucking beer all day.
Yeah, and I wasn't. I was after getting a house, buying a house 3 or 4 years ago, so I didn't have the money to be going out. Like,
I was, you know, quote unquote, living it up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Hilarious. But yeah, drinking the absolute head of myself. I barely kept my job in Aircom because I was coming in bananas drunk half the time and hungover at the best of times. And actually, while I was there, I met 2 lads, Chris Gleeson and Joe Kelly, 2 dubs, mad cunts, the pair of them, who I'm still friends with to this day. But the 2 of them, and I actually it's weird this is coming up, I only mentioned to Chris there in the last fucking 48 hours this, but the 2 of those guys made me feel like I was worth something. They loved me.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they gravitated towards me. And
That can mean a lot, man.
They thought I was a fucking legend.
Yeah.
They thought I was a legend, and I wasn't used to that. Like, I really wasn't. I was hanging around with a group of lads that slagging was the only thing, like, you know. And like, I was the biggest slagger of them all, like, you know, like, I know. But Chris and Joe, the two lads, I don't know what it was. They fucking, if they saw something in me or what it was. I was a shovelhead. That's what they called me.
Big bogger.
Big bogger fucking shovelhead. But I was well able for them, I think.
Yeah.
I think better than most shovelheads they've met before.
A shovelhead with a fucking attitude like it.
Yeah, like, they'd call me a shovelhead, and I'd say, you know, shut up, Joe, you fucking smackhead, go do some heroin in the bathroom. Like, do you know, that kind of way? And there was great banter between us. And so yeah, they
gave you self-worth.
They gave me a bit of self-worth, yeah. And one of them, Chris Gleason, actually no, Joe said to me, this other lad Chris is a bit weird. He's into this thing called fucking MMA. And we'll wind him up now, you know.
Slag him off a bit, like.
Yeah, exactly. And like, no one had heard of MMA at this stage, really, like. Least of all in fucking Ireland, like. And yeah, so myself and Joe would start talking about wrestling and how the competitors were such athletes and the dedication and all this kind of crack, and how we love the kind of the backstories and how that made it, and you know, it wouldn't be anything without the kind of the fireworks and the chairs, and you can see poor fucking Chris was fucking boiling in his fucking seat, like, knowing that we were winding him up,
but still,
just not being able.
How
to
dare you
it,
fucking
like,
disrespect the sport? Like,
yeah,
that.
Exactly. Like,
by giving wrestling any credence at all.
At any chance we get, we'd be slagging Chris off about, you know, going home and fucking pulling the stomach of himself to two greasy men rolling around on the floor. Like, do you know what I mean? Not even real fighting, we'd be saying that. And yeah, that started off. Chris then introduced me to The Ultimate Fighter, you know, the reality TV show. The one he put me onto was, I presume it was the most recent one at the time, maybe not, but it was who was it? Bisping and Henderson. So he put me onto that, and the cool thing about that was, and for people that don't know, it's basically two teams. The head coach were UFC fighters, Michael Bisping, and the other guy was Dan Henderson, both stars of the UFC at the time. And the premise of the show was there was two teams, an English team and an American team. And Bisping was over the English team and Henderson was over the American team. And there was, you know, 6 English fighters, 6 American fighters, or whatever it was. I think whatever it was. And they compete against each other. And in the finale of the series, the two guys left standing basically fight each other. And then on the same night, I think Henderson and Bisping actually fought. So you get to see the argy-bargy between the two groups and the two nationalities. And then it culminates in a big fucking punch-up at the end, like, savage.
What more could you want?
Exactly. But I watched that, and the English lads were regular people.
Yeah.
So I would have been vaguely familiar with the UFC, like a lot of lads at the time. But I could never kind of
envisage yourself doing it all.
Not even that, but there was nothing tangible there. I couldn't associate with the people. Bisping kinda, because he was English. Yeah. It brought it a little bit closer to home. But the lads that were on his team, they were just dudes,
ordinary Joes.
They were just guys, English accents and all. Do you know that kind of way? And it just brought the whole thing closer. Like, I saw one lad, and I'm definitely misremembering this, but just it'll work for the sake of getting the point across. He was, let's say, 33, and he'd been doing MMA 5 years. And I'm there kind of going, that makes him 28. And I'm only, 25 or whatever it was. And I was like, hang on a fucking second.
If he can do
that, maybe I could give it a lash. And, I just Googled MMA Dublin. Found fucking Kokoro. I could just as easily have found SPG.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. No, I would have found both of them. But Kokoro was closer. Simple as. And Chris had obviously walked me through what was happening and told me the ins and outs of MMA, kind of how it started and how it didn't start at UFC 1, how it started fucking 500,000 years ago.
Yeah, when two boys wanted kind of way, Proper fighting.
Well, yeah, and just the whole, I don't know, as a fucking red-blooded fucking man, I just kind of fucking gravitated to it, I suppose. And Chris spoke very kind of eloquently about it. And another thing Chris did was, not only did he put me on to MMA, and that got me to Kokoro, and that got me sparring. Well, not straight away, obviously, but that got me involved in like a physical activity, and it gave me something to talk about. Because for the previous like year, someone would go, "All right, Fran, I'm on any crack," and I go, "Oh, no, don't fucking talk to me about anything or I'm going to burst out fucking crying or something." Do you know what I mean? You've nothing to talk about, but all of a sudden I found myself training for after 2 weeks. I had something to fucking talk about, and it was interesting. I was learning and everything else. But as well as that, Chris was a very kind of normal dude as well, you know, working in aircom, doing the telesales job or whatever it was. But the man was an intellectual black belt. Like the man was just so fucking. He was a force to be reckoned with. He was the type of guy that you wouldn't dare disagree with,
because he'd vaporise your arguments.
He'd just incinerate you. He just turned around and incinerate you. And unless you had, you know, spent the last fucking 4 years on one particular fucking argument and had it as nailed as it could be, him, you wouldn't. And even if you did have spent the 4 years, he'd still probably fucking tear you to shreds over it. And that brought intellectualism closer to me and more tangible to me. And I kind of saw him and I was like, if that cunt can be a fucking genius, maybe I can not be such a dumb cunt.
Yeah,
not a genius like him, as I would have viewed him at the time. But, you know, maybe I could fucking read up on something. And I just got into MMA, and I suppose he could have put me on to Christopher Hitchens, which, like, Hitchens would be one of the biggest influences on my life. And just got me into, I suppose, education, because at the time I would have viewed education as what you did in school and what people did in college,
rather than life education. Or
rather than, you know, getting smarter.
Yeah. Actually,
you know,
reading a book, you don't need a teacher sitting there to.
No, broadening your horizons, and you know,
which you have done. Fucking
massively so,
unbelievable,
massively so.
Massive. It's not the word for it, like.
And I've Gleason to thank for that. Yeah. But yeah, the two lads, I credit both of them with having saved my life 100%, like 100%, and martial arts as well.
Do they know that? Yeah.
Chris knows it. Joe doesn't.
You might know.
And again, didn't have the kind of fortitude to admit to anyone that I was suicidal for like 6 years or whatever it was, and then kind of dropped it in passing, kind of as if it was, I don't know, almost no big deal or something. Or I wouldn't have been. I might have said that I've been suicidal before. I wouldn't have said what I said to you was, you know, I've said goodbye to people.
Yeah.
And by people I mean my fucking family and my friends. Little did they know it, obviously, but I walked out of several rooms.
I won't see them again.
Yeah,
fuck.
That's that. Like, and you make excuses is the wrong word. You like if I had gone ahead with that, like the fucking devastation that I would have left behind me. Fuck me. To fucking think about it.
Oh man.
And it's mad. Like people have heard people refer to suicide as a selfish act. And in a weird way, it is a selfish act, but it's not done for selfish reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
you've obviously been there, so you know what you're talking about, and you weren't thinking.
I'm just sorry to cut across you, but I do not represent people who've been suicidal. I don't speak on behalf of people who've been depressed or anything of the fucking sort.
You're your own.
Yeah,
just speaking from your own experience.
Yeah, and again, like when I said in what you read out earlier, at times I might appear, you know, racist, arrogant, bigoted, throw in insensitive, and you know whatever else there to, you know, chuck it all in. It's not intentional. It's just it's an open conversation. It's human, and that's again the whole fucking point of these conversations. They're not remotely scripted. They're not edited. You know, nothing. You hit record, and you know, strap yourself in kind of thing, like. But yeah, so the two lads would have definitely saved me life, and martial arts would have played a massive role. And yeah, it wouldn't have been long after that. Like I met Ruth when I was working in aircom, I think, when shortly after meeting those two lads, and I've been with her since.
Yeah.
So I suppose
she's a rock as well.
She would have obviously had her role to play there, and kind of
big time,
keep me on the straight and narrow, so to speak. But
when you sorry, you just know when you were saying like that, people say it's such a selfish act. Like, I presume what you mean by that is like when you were in that space or that part of when you were down in the dumps, you're not thinking of what other people are thinking, because if you or what devastation an act like that would do.
I did.
Did you? Yeah,
I did. Oh, definitely.
And still, that wasn't.
No, again, and this is only like from my own personal perspective. I definitely did. I knew what was gonna. I knew to a degree at least what I would have caused, but better that than the alternative,
which is the pain you were feeling, or
no, not at all. Let's say my youngest brother, who's suffered himself a great deal with depression, Pat, and I suppose he suffered to the extent that he's maybe dedicated his life is a bit strong, but he seems to be on a path to dedicating his life to helping.
He's an inspiration as well, yeah.
Oh, to me, massively so, yeah, 100%, yeah. And he is his own movement or philosophy or whatever you want to call it, which has greatly inspired me into doing my own thing. And I'll have him on in time.
Oh, big time!
I won't even paraphrase his story, because I'd sooner let him
talk
do
about
that
one. Yeah.
But he probably would have been the worst affected in the fallout if I had have fucking done it.
And did that in any small way make you think twice about doing anything?
It certainly made me think twice. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. But I justified it to myself. Do you know that kind of way? Because again, the thing people don't, I suppose, appreciate is if you're suicidal, you're not thinking clearly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So,
and people that aren't suicidal don't think that. Like, they're not there, so they wouldn't know. Like, but you're not.
No,
and of course you're not. Like.
And again, from my own perspective, when you're in that state of mind, every so often someone will tell a joke and you'll burst your shite laughing, and that feels like you're not thinking clearly. Yeah. Do you know that kind of way? There's a really strange clarity you get when you're that deep into depression, and especially I think if you're suicidal, you know, everything makes sense. You think, or at least I thought that I was finally seeing the world clearly as it is, when that's obviously not the case. But again, how do you tell somebody who's not thinking clearly anything? They're not thinking clearly. Like, you know, how do you explain postmodern neo-Marxism to a fucking 3-year-old?
You don't. Like,
yeah, you just don't.
You can try, but it's not going to.
No,
work,
you don't. You teach them something else, and I suppose Chris and Joe didn't teach me that suicide wasn't
because they
the
didn't,
answer.
Yeah.
No, they were fucking oblivious. Sure, I was out partying. I was the happiest man in the world. To, you know, anyone looking from the outside.
But they instilled the self-worth into you, as you say, like that you were nearly like they had that much respect for you that they gave you a newfound respect for yourself.
They bigged me up all the time. That's what they did. They bigged me up all the time. They thought I was a hero for whatever reason. They thought I was class, and I'd never felt that before. I'd never heard that before. No one had ever fucking spoken highly of me. Because again, I came from a group of fucking
it's all slagging. There was no
compliments,
compliments, and I know the group of lads like as well.
So what would you be giving someone a compliment for, you big gay?
Yeah, that'd be so. Do you know what I mean? So wrong. Like, it's just it's just part and part. It was just a real slagging thing. I don't know. I think it happens a lot in Ireland, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And it's probably not healthy.
God no. Well, look, it wasn't in my instance.
Like, I mean, experienced a lot of slagging. I actually had a few wars with a couple of lads at work about even name calling and stuff, because it was getting out of hand, and people were thinking, well, if he can say that, then I can say that. And then you've got people that say it, throw mud, and they can't take it.
Yes.
So they'll throw some sort of an insult, but if you hammer them back to get all offended, you're going, well, I'm just after firing back what you said to me, blah blah blah. So I just had a quiet word. Listen, that it stops here. It was never a culture in the place I work. Name calling was never tolerated. And we can't let the standard slip now, because it's a slippery slope, and you don't know what people are feeling.
You really don't. You really don't. And I think, especially in the workplace, whatever about
Yeah, your circle of friends, you can kind of choose to separate yourself, but in the workplace, you have no choice. There's no place for it. Yeah, there's no place. There really isn't. I've learned that over the last year. There's no place for it in the workplace because you don't know what's going through people's heads at work, and they have to go there because again they've got a mortgage or whatever. So
of course, yeah,
even small slagging or whatever is just not acceptable.
It's not. It really isn't, and it's great that we live in an age whereby I think you might be a bit ahead of the curve. But at least you exist, and that mentality does exist. That it's not.
Yeah, I suppose you go into certain places. Like, I mean, if you go into fucking, I don't know, a furniture factory, I suppose it's probably the same as it was in the 1970s. If you're not able to take a joke, man up, or fuck off out the door because you can't take it. Then if you have other places like, I don't know, and I'm completely ignorant. I'm just giving examples. I would imagine the likes of Google and places like that type of.
There's not as much of it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be tolerated either. Your HR would be onto you. There'd be some.
Yeah, but you see, this is the thing. Like, if when you're working for a big tech company, like every fucking month or 2 months, you know, you have a 1-to-1 with your HR person, and
things are nipped in the bud probably if they get out of hand. Yeah.
Put it this way: if you're doing what I did for many's a year and fucking drag your arse around a building site, you ain't going into no, but it's not even that. But you ain't going to HR every fucking 2 months, and they asking you, you know, and how do you think you're fitting in here, Francis? Do you know what I mean?
Like, the boys are all slagging me. I must be doing well. Like,
yeah. And look, I think slagging is okay and encourageable to a degree if you're so close to the person that they've kind of opened up to you.
And that's very hard to know how much of that you can give or take, you know, as well, because different people are, again, as the people I work with, they're well able to throw a few insults. Can't take it though.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the time people throw insults to kind of deflect away from the fact that they can't take anything.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way?
And all it does is mirror it back on them, because then people go, well, if you're going to give me that stick, I'll give it back, and then they can't take it. And it's kind of, as you said, the initial reason why they threw it was to try and deflect from they can't take it, but then when it's aimed back at them, they can't take it. So it's just not a good thing to be doing. Like, and again, look, if slagging over a football team or whatever is alright, but when it starts getting anyway personal or that, people can take it the wrong way. And of course there's some people that can take it, and I can take it, but other people can't, and then they, you know, so it's not a good thing. And in fairness to the place I work, it was never really a thing. People were always able to come into work and be themselves and not be bullied or, you know, have no fear of it, never seen it. And then it just started creeping in over the last while, a bit of slagging and a bit of name calling, and I could see here, this isn't going well and it's not going to end well. And you had to have a war with it, as I said, and in fairness to the people who said it, put their hand up, fair enough, like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I said, look, I qualified it by saying some people, I can take it, some other people can't, so, but they'll think if you're doing it, that they can do it, and then when somebody gives it, and it's just going to, it was never a thing that was accepted in here, and we won't be starting it now. And that was it, you know, quiet war, but important to do as well, because as you said, you just don't know what way people are thinking, and the slightest little insult or something could, you know, it could drive somebody over the edge.
It fucking devastates somebody.
Do you know what I mean? Absolutely.
And depending on who says it is very relevant.
Big time,
well.
Who it comes from.
Yeah, 100%.
And if they're coming from a high authority or a place of power or seen power, then it could be far more devastating than your own work colleague, you know, that works beside you.
Yeah, and maybe not even, like, granted that the kind of the hierarchy thing is there as well, but popularity wise as well, I suppose.
That's
a different kind of hierarchy.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? Like,
if the most popular guy says something that offends you in there, that's going to fucking hurt you more than the least popular guy in there.
Yes, and it's not even the most popular guy, it's the person at the top of the hierarchy in your fucking head.
Well, that's true as well. So it might necessarily be...
It might be, let's say, no, look, no disrespect to fucking cleaners everywhere, but it might be the cleaner in the office that you fancy, and she says something fucking, she jumps in on the bandwagon.
That could be more devastating than your boss saying it.
Of course, or your best friend, or fucking anyone. And you don't know what people, you don't know the opinion people have of you. So like let's say you and me are different, we know each other fairly well, like, but you could be working alongside someone, and if I was to ask you, what do you think of your man you sit beside, you might go, yeah, he's fucking grand to sit beside at work. You ask that guy, what do you think of your man? He's the fucking only friend I have in the whole world. Yeah. And you know, you don't necessarily know how high esteem someone holds you in. Like, do you know that kind of way? So that's when it gets dangerous.
Especially, I don't know if it's an Irish thing or the culture or whatever. People don't talk about their feelings or whatever, so you're very unlikely to know do you know how people, what esteem they hold you or what regard they hold for you? Because it wouldn't be said too often, you know, like,
No,
I really
God,
respect
no.
you, or that's a bit, you know, weird. Like, if
Yeah,
say
but
you're an
sucking up to that.
inspiration, or
Yeah.
man, you inspire me, or the things you do are just, I can't believe, or simply you're just a good human being, you know. A lot of people wouldn't have the balls to say that, you know.
But put it this way,
Say that, it's a bit fucking weird.
what's the ratio, do you reckon, to, and I suppose it depends on what you're looking at, but generally speaking, what's the ratio between encouraging comments and discouraging comments that you see online?
Oh,
now, again,
Jesus,
it depends on, you know, what you're viewing, but generally,
I'd
overall,
say generally it's 2-1 in fucking, probably 3-1. Is it more? The negative comments to
the positive ones.
Oh, it's probably more than 3-1 when I think about it. If you're looking back, it's usually all fucking mudslinging keyboard warriors, horror and abuse.
Of course it is.
And this is what kids, I suppose, are growing up with as well. These are their friends, these people that are on the internet calling them. I don't know what way kids probably these days have their own WhatsApp groups or whatever. I don't know. Is that what to do? And then, because I hear of all this online bullying, and I'm always wondering and curious, is it just like comments on UFC and your man saying this to you that you don't know from Joe, or is this online bullying people that you know that are doing this online?
It's much closer. It's the WhatsApp group between you and your friends.
Right.
That's a big part of it. So you know, there's 10 years, you're all best mates, you're all fucking, you know,
and someone's the butt of most of the jokes.
Maybe, yeah. That'd be one example.
Oh,
now,
but it would be 3 or 4-1. Would it, in favour of abusive comments, or?
I think negativity in general, there's far more of it online.
Far too much of it.
Far too much of it. And like, if you think that's not affecting you, if you're drowning in a fucking sea of negativity, like, it's again, there's no one thing that's the cause of the fucking suicide rate in Ireland, the depression rate or whatever it is, or the alcohol rate or the drug addiction rate. There's no one thing.
It's all together.
It's all of it. Like,
and negativity will play a big role in it, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and I think every so often I say I think it's an Irish thing, which I shouldn't really say because I haven't kind of lived abroad for any length of time.
Yeah.
Like, I've done a fair bit of travelling here and there, but never
base
never
yourself for 6 months in somewhere.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say that the Irish are known to be kind of negative. You know, I don't know, we're known to be great crack, I suppose, as well, but there's a dark side of Irishness that's kind of well known. I think.
Big time. Like, I remember, I'd probably told you before, but when we went on honeymoon to Jamaica, a chap came out. I was coming out to his toilet or something, but one of the staff that walk around making sure everybody's happy or whatever, he says to me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm not too bad." And his face dropped, like, and he was like, "What's wrong? How can we help you?" I said, no, I'm not too... And then I realised what I was just after saying to him. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
It implies that you could be a lot better than you are. And you're meant to be in this lovely 5-star, you know, all-inclusive, you know, exclusive place. And you're going, not too bad. And I said, here, man, it's an Irish thing. But there summed it all up in one sentence, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
It's an Irish thing, lad. I'm having a great time. Well, why don't you fucking just say you're having a great time then? Why do you have to be not too bad? Do you know what I mean?
It's funny you say that, because I met a man today. And I said, I was getting out of the car and I was like, you know, Dave, pleased to meet you. Reached out and shook his hand. And he goes, how are you getting on? I was like, you know, how are you? Or something I said to him. What the fuck did he say? Living the dream.
Really?
He said living the dream.
That's an odd one for
an
Irishman.
What? And he was like, oh yeah, living the dream. And I was like, jeez, it's not often you hear someone say that. And he was like, well, look, I'm doing what I love. Things are going well. No complaints.
Yeah, it's a state of mind as well, isn't it?
Stuck for words.
Yeah. Oh shit, that's having thrown me off. Speechless for the first time in your life. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
Why should you be happy, you cunt?
Yeah, like a lad who sits down once a week and has 3 and 4 hour conversations, and it's not as if that they flow really well. It's that you couldn't get a fucking word in. Like, there could be a third person here that nobody's heard.
Yeah.
Like, kind of way, because that's how talkative, I suppose, everyone is to a degree once you're talking about a subject that you're remotely interested in. But there was me, just in an instant, just completely
lost
at a
words.
loss.
Living the dream.
Like,
he must be
like a psychopath.
Yeah, he must have been being sarcastic, was he? Like, clearly, living the dream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My first, if I had that response from somebody and they said, living the dream, I go, being sarcastic, are you?
Yeah, of course. You just assume you were.
You have to be.
And the only reason that I didn't assume that he was because just just how genuine he was. Like, you could see it in his gait, in his walk.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's just...
It's a state of mind as well, isn't it? It really is. Like,
very much so.
It really is.
Very much so.
But even our language sort of betrays the state of mind we're in. You know, that it's kind of like even the not too bad, or sure, like no point in complaining. No, sure, you know he's complaining. You know, they're all little things, but they're probably drilling into your, little hammer blows to your psyche, even saying these things.
Look at not too bad. That sounds like, when you think about it, that sounds like something that somebody made up to kind of prove a point. Not is obviously
negative.
It's obviously negative. 2, do you ever hear someone say they had too good of a time?
Yeah.
2 is a negative thing as well, and bad. How are you? Not too bad. And that's how we say it's good.
Tell us how you really feel. Do you know what I mean?
Fucking gas. But look, it kills me as well. Like, U2, I think, are the classic example. Everybody shits on U2.
Yeah.
Nobody likes U2. Biggest rock band
in the world,
ever.
on the planet. People
travel from all over the world to see them, and like, Bono wouldn't listen to him if he was playing in my back garden kind of thing. Like,
yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Begrudgery, a lot of begrudgery as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, the begrudgery's come up before in the podcast, and I don't know if it is it couldn't solely be an Irish thing, but I think we have it, we have begrudgery at 11.
Yeah,
that kind of
turned
way.
it up to 11.
I think so.
Yeah. It's the fact that somebody that could be right beside you are doing really well. It's nearly like, if they're doing really well, they're clearly only doing really well to rub your fucking nose in it, like.
Oh yeah.
Why else would you want to do well for yourself, like?
Yeah.
And then if you talk about it, you're the worst in the world.
Oh Christ! Somebody mentions that their
business is doing well or something,
right? Like even earlier that I said, in the same breath that I said that I was fucking suicidal, I said that I was earning fucking whatever it was, 60 grand a year, and I had the laptop and the flash car, and even talking about being suicidal, there was people listening to that going, "Would you listen to your man fucking going on about how much he fucking made and how great he is?"
Yeah, even though you're qualifying the saying about suicide,
I'm talking about fucking killing myself.
Yeah, because there wouldn't be. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy, like. But look, we are who we are, fucking warts and all, and I love Irish people. I love Ireland. I love Ireland. I think it's fucking class, and I don't think that's fucking... I don't think people hear that enough. Like, granted, I do plenty of fucking giving out in this podcast, and we opened up with, our society is fucked and we should fucking burn it all and we need a revolution.
It's not all bad.
It's not all bad. It really...
Like, I actually only made the point there to a couple of lads at work, and they were agreeing with me that when you're driving in from where I live towards the town, the Dublin Road, the old Dublin Road now, I think they call it. But you just look around there. You're going around with blinkers on as well. Ireland isn't a bad country, even scenic wise. Like, you're driving down the Dublin Road in the middle of summer, and you've got this view of the river and all the trees on the far side, and it's absolutely picturesque.
Oh, it is, yeah, postcard stuff.
Yeah, but when you live there, sometimes you just have to take a step back. And I was actually blown away, but I think I only copped it a few years ago. When the sun is shining and it's a lovely day, you couldn't live anywhere. It's a beautiful place, but you don't see these things. If somebody else was even from Ireland, but they were just weren't from the town, they'd probably drive through and they go, "Whoa, this is a nice looking town." But you don't see that, because all you see is this on your way to wherever you're coming and going from.
The blinkers are on.
The blinkers are on.
All you see is the traffic you're stuck in.
Yeah, exactly. And instead of looking around and going, "Whoa, look at that. That looks well, doesn't it?" I think I'd just put myself in. Imagine if you were just coming into this town and looked across, you'd be kind of going, "Whoa, that's nice."
Navan's class.
But it really is.
Paving stone out of place in the whole fucking town.
Or even coming up by the salsas and all that area on the left, opposite the Market Square, or Market, where the market is held.
All the trees and everything.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the work that goes into it or whatever. But again, it's the blinkers on, and people, I'm not knocking Ireland, it's great, but there's things that we could definitely improve on. And one of them is talking, and again, back to Off the Lead, that's encouraging people to have conversations and talk about things that, and now that you talk about things this evening, that people might actually, even if it helps one person, do you know what I mean? Yeah,
well look, I've already heard from half a dozen people who have kind of thanked me for bothering the whole to kind of do something and kind of spread a message, or for want of a better term, because again, I haven't really defined what it is that I'm doing, and I mightn't.
No, maybe this is it.
That kind of way.
Maybe this is it.
Maybe leaving it kind of undefined is where
talking
it's at.
Anyway. First of all, it's conversations, and conversations are always good.
Yeah,
especially to find out if the conversations aren't, as I said, just what happened in a football game over a pint. If you're actually talking about, so how are you, or whatever. Yeah, are you feeling all right?
And the beauty of The beauty of like even just the conversation that we're having, because this is more along the lines of the conversations that I want to have with people, as opposed to getting in, the rock star and the rock scientist and whatever. And don't get me wrong, there's a place for all those guys, and I can't wait to get on and kind of more interesting people. But I've asked a couple of people to come on that I thought would be good, and it kind of disheartened me a little. What they said made me feel like, oh fuck, maybe I'm getting the wrong kind of people on. A couple of people have said that they didn't want to come on because they haven't really done anything. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, like, your man's a fucking black belt, and the other lad fucking wants to be national champion next year. And the other
cycle across America.
Yeah, and like, I have no place there. And like that, talk about being the
complete opposite of what you want to achieve. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I want
to make it elitist that the ordinary Joe wouldn't feel like he can come out and have a chat. Like,
yeah, no, I want fucking regular people like me and like you and like fucking all the other people that I'm going to get on. I want them, and don't get me wrong, I want the fucking mad cunts
as well. Of course you
too,
do. Yeah,
because, like,
but you want it broken up with, not everybody that's just doing extreme things.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I interviewed a couple of the kind of more, I suppose, sporty guys, or the guys that are kind of maybe doing stuff a bit more. So I feel like I ended up interviewing them, which is a mistake I'm hoping not to repeat. I want to have the same conversations I'm having with yourself now, but I think what would be cool is to have pretty much the exact conversation I've had with you, but with someone who's doing something extreme, or somebody who's lived abroad,
which will let
whatever.
people know that you can have a hugely successful, or be ambitious, or be driven and obsessed with something and be really, really good at it, but then have insecurities somewhere else in your life as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Normal.
Yeah, that's it.
All these people are normal.
Because I think what I read out at the start did kind of cover that. What you sent to me that I read out at the start of this podcast about, just everybody feels the way they feel. We're all human, at the end of the day. But so many people kind of cover it up, or they just live by their professional persona. That's it. There's nothing else to see here. They only show you, they only shine out the little bits that are really good.
Yeah,
and they don't want everything else. They want to put the fade into the background, and only, look, this is what I do, and that's all. I'll talk about that. You need to talk about, fear itself, all that good stuff as well. Like,
people are living their personas.
Yeah.
And that's just fucking, it's terrifying. Like this idea that they're projecting their persona, they're not projecting themselves. And I think it's hard for people to project themselves until they've seen someone else maybe make a bit of an ego out of themselves, like I'm going to do when I do this fucking great dictator speech, and all the other ones that I'm going to do, because I don't know if I listen to them back. No, I will with my fucking hands over my eyes.
You better have them jogging shorts and runners on you before you press upload on them bad boys. It'll be some fucking crack. But fair play to you. And again, bringing out on a podcast, it's kind of like, it's putting the gun to your head now, isn't it? You have to do it now.
Yeah, a little bit.
That'd be good, because you sent that to me about 6 months ago, maybe it's close to a year ago.
10 years I'm thinking of doing that.
Yeah. That'd be brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
My original thought was to kind of reenact Christopher Hitchens' speech or rant or whatever it is, because he spoke in very kind of convoluted language. Like, I mean, I remember when I got into him first, like, you'd be listening to him and you'd have a thesaurus in one hand and a dictionary in the other.
Yeah.
Like, just to kind of follow what the fuck he was talking about half the time. And my original thought was to reenact them, but to dumb it down, for want of a better term. Do you know that kind of way? So that if I had listened to it, I wouldn't have needed
first time, a dictionary.
Exactly. And of course, whoever I'm kind of reenacting will get kind of full credit. There'll be a link to the original. It's not as if I'm going to try and pawn off the great dictator speech as my own work.
Yeah.
That's not the case. And look, I'll probably end up maybe recording my own speech.
Yeah.
But, back to this kind of progression. First you think about it, then you tell someone about it, then you end up maybe doing a watered down version of maybe what you're trying to do yourself, and then you do it yourself. So, like, put it this way, if I was ever to kind of write and record like a speech, it'd be a hell of a lot easier doing that, having reenacted 20 different speeches. Do you know that kind of way? Because it'll kind of be lost in the pot, and people who listen to it would probably half kind of think that it's just another reenactment. Yeah. Do you know that kind of way? I might just drop it out there without an intro.
Yeah, and just see how it goes.
Fucking,
see how that flies.
Yeah, exactly. Without saying, okay, this is the one I've written myself. Deep breath. I'll probably and this is the great thing about chatting to you here now. This is just kind of coming clear in my own head now. Do you know that kind of way? I'm
sometimes you have to
formulating ideas.
verbalise it to,
No, you do, and
in front of somebody as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like fucking, it's mad. And when I'm making the recordings to myself, either here in the tunnel in the evenings or out when I'm running or driving, sometimes I'll think of something. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, and I'll hit record. And it's not till I say it out loud that I hear how fucking stupid it is.
Yeah, but you have to say it out loud.
You have to say it out loud. And better still if you can say it to someone.
Yeah.
And then fucking listen to it back, because there's times when I say it out loud, it's recording, I say it out loud, end the recording, and then I listen back to all my recordings that evening, and it's not till I hear it back that I realise how ridiculous it is. So like you can be, people can be so convinced that their opinion on something is, you know, unshakable, but they've never fucking said it out loud, never mind said it out loud to someone. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah,
so you might have, like, racism is a perfect example. You might have it in your head that, you know, all blacks are bastards or whatever it is. Like, pick your fucking bigoted statement. But it's not until you actually say that out loud and someone turns around and goes, wait, what did you just say? Yeah, fucking black people are bastards. All of them? You fucking serious? Even
then it makes you think.
Even Dave, my mate Dave, the black guy. No, he's all right.
No, Black Dave's all right.
Well, who are you talking
Black
about?
Dave's cool.
It's, you know, it's not until your views that get challenged, I suppose, that you you know if they're fucking.
And I had that conversation
value.
with you before. Remember, we were discussing. I think it was unions, and you were saying government legislation. Remember, you were saying I was thinking it's big. I don't know how it got started, but basically big places. Their employees should share. You know, they should share the wealth more. And you were saying you think government should bring in legislation or something to do that. And I was going, yeah, well, it should be blah, blah, blah. And then I realised we completely changed my opinion on what I was actually trying to say. Was no, what they need is a union so they can get they can represent themselves better. But at the time I was just thinking, it's just, as you said, until your opinions are challenged, you don't really have a valid opinion, do you?
Because no, you certainly don't.
You don't. Like, I mean, everyone can have an opinion on anything, but until it's challenged, and you can, again, it's one thing to go through it in your mind or maybe even challenge yourself, but it's another thing to have somebody else challenge you, and then obviously accepting that you've changed your opinion. It takes a bit of balls as well, because a lot of people go, nope, that's just it, that's the way I think, I don't want to change.
But therein lies why people don't espouse their views.
Yeah,
they're kind of secretly, subconsciously, maybe afraid of
because they might have to back down.
Yeah, exactly.
They might have to back down and admit they were wrong, like,
and go, oh, okay, I'm after making a tool of myself.
Yeah, because a lot of people think it's wrong to admit you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm absolutely.
It's a sign of weakness. Some people would think. Like,
here's a good example I'm after thinking of, just in relation to how you can run something through in your own head, but not until you actually say it out loud to someone that they can show you how ridiculous you are. Years and years ago, I was 16 or 17, maybe probably early 20s or so. I wore a silver bracelet, and on it I had a little key, and it was the key for the padlock of the locker I used in the gym. So I had this bracelet which was a bit, fucking feminine for let's say fucking my macho fucking image at the time, say, that I got a bit of slack over. But fuck it, I liked it or whatever, and I kept wearing it. And then I added this little silver key to it, which was, it kind of escalated the femininity of it. And again, against my fucking kind of macho fucking ego-driven persona of the time, it's something that I got slagged a lot about. And I was like, oh, fuck off. It's functional. I use it to open the lock on the thing, whatever. Piss off and don't be annoying me. And I hated the look of it because I didn't like it. I liked the bracelet, but I hated this key. It looked like a charm on a Pandora bracelet.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? I hated it. But again, I couldn't get past the functionality of it. It was so handy. It was unbelievable. And then I was chatting to a mate of mine, Tony Webster, and he was like, Fran, what's the
bracelet?
No, it wasn't even the bracelet. He was like, what's the story with the key, man? I was like, oh, Tony, I'm fucking sick of defending this. Listen, it's functional, okay? It's the key to the lock on my fucking, for the locker in the gym, and I keep forgetting it if I don't have it on me, and I wear the bracelet when I'm in the gym or whatever else, and just fucking leave me alone. It's function, okay? I don't care how it looks. And he goes, yeah, but why don't you just get yourself a little combination lock?
Ding.
And I was like, fuck, and I immediately took the fucking key off.
Never wore that again.
Never wore it again. I got myself a €2 fucking combination lock. Like.
Nice on Tony.
But again, you can see how that is how you could mull something over in your head endlessly and not see what's so blatantly obvious. Like, Tony didn't go off and have a think about that for 2 weeks and come back to me. Just instantly, he was like, why don't you just get a combination lock?
Yeah.
And there's something about that to people's opinions, like, and especially people's kind of bigoted opinions.
Yeah, exactly. Like, a lot of the boys were probably just slagging you off, just for slagging you off. They weren't giving you a solution to not looking.
No, they weren't challenging me views, but more to the point, I wasn't talking about. Now, this is where the analogy kind of breaks down slightly, but people's bigoted views, like, this is where free speech, I think, comes into it. So, I think if you want to be a Nazi, you should be allowed to be a Nazi. If you want to hang a swastika in your fucking front window of your house, I think you should be allowed. Like, and a lot of people would say that, white supremacists shouldn't be allowed march down the street of Navan or organise a march on the Fair Green. And I say they fucking should, because that's how you know who the Nazis are.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
You don't have that, and you just have these people with these fucking
underground
opinions in their heads, and it's underground, and they have their little groups on Facebook, and they have fucking private meetings, and it's you need these people's
rights to be protected nearly you can see how many of them there is and what they're thinking.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
You clamp down completely on it, and you have no idea what's going on in the underground movement. Like,
the fundamental law of our society, I think, is the right to kind of free speech and to say what you.
Because it lets everybody know what page you're on. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely, and it gives the people, whether it be the neo-Nazis or the fucking homophobes or whoever it is, in a weird way, it gives them the opportunity to have their views questioned,
challenged.
Yeah, have their opinions challenged.
But I've seen it there, the rallies, I think it was for Trump on that, and there were, had the white supremacist marches or whatever. But then there was, and they were expressing their right to have a rally or whatever.
Yeah.
But so say there was like 1,000 of them. There was like 5,000 anti white supremacist marchers surrounded them, like. So it kind of gave you, like, so there was argy-bargy to and fro. It didn't get violent, but the police were there or whatever. But it kind of showed you there's thousands of them boys that actually feel like that, but they're out in the streets, they're doing what they're allowed to do. But there's the reaction. You've got 5,000, 5 to 1, that felt their needs to counter-protest,
Yeah, absolutely.
in front of them. So it gave you numbers as well. Everybody knows what page they're on now,
Absolutely, and like, if it's going to be a white supremacist march, or an anti-homo or a homophobic march, or whatever the equivalent is, let them march.
Let them out there, yeah.
And let them be photographed and have their faces put in the paper, so we all know who they are.
White and proud.
Like, if people have these views, let's let them expose themselves.
And all you're doing is only upholding their right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just think it's a kind of
it is a good point, because as you said there at the start, like you say, I reckon people should be allowed to have their swastikas in their front. A lot of people, if you just left that statement, a lot of people say you're off your rocker. Like, you can't allow that type of shit. If you allow that type of shit, society fall down. But it's actually the opposite when you think that process through.
Society falls down when you don't let people voice their opinions.
Exactly. And a lot of people would think the complete opposite. They think you can't have people hanging. This fella is advocating people being allowed to hang swastikas. Because I don't think you're not allowed to have swastikas. Can you have them here? I don't think you can in Germany, can you? Like, denying the Holocaust is against...
That's illegal in most of Europe, if not all of Europe.
Denying the Holocaust.
Yeah, which I think is wrong. I don't think I don't think there should be a law. That's anti-free speech.
That's nearly it again. Like, it's the same thing, and a lot of people would definitely have a big disagreement by you saying that you're basically advocating people's rights to deny the Holocaust. I never got myself to make it a law to deny it ever happened.
Yeah, well,
because you're clamping down on free speech. Let these muppets say that there was no Holocaust.
There's videos online explaining how the Holocaust never happened.
Oh yeah.
Any amount of them, and I don't think they should be taken down. I think they should be left up, because once they're left up, they can be exposed. And it did happen, so you can't prove it didn't.
Yeah, but you drive that shit underground, and you're giving them more of a
Yeah, and of course, you know yourself, like when you ban something, oh, it's been banned, so there must be some truth in it.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way?
That's it. Exactly, yeah.
And look, people should be allowed to spread their message whether you agree with it or not, because what it boils down to is who decides. You know, who decides what is okay and what isn't okay. And that's totalitarianism. Like, okay, granted, you're not going to ruffle too many feathers by saying that you shouldn't be allowed to hang a swastika in your front room. But, you know, what's next?
Where does it end, yeah?
Do you know that kind of way? And you should be allowed to spread your message. And speaking of spreading your messages, I'm going to fucking skip way back to the start in relation to monetizing this, whatever it is, and promoting this. Another aspect of the kind of merchandise end of things is, I'd be very interested to hear your view on this, because I think I could be onto something here. So on one hand, there's, let's say, a yearly membership of a £5 a year. And again, that the idea of that is if I can get 1,000 people a year to give me a £5 a year, you know, I can use that money to, I don't know, even publish or promote this online, say. And then if I can change that and end up getting, you know, 50 grand a year, well, there's your fucking living off.
Well, that's it. That's what I was going to
say.
say to you. And then you could do it, as you said, the dream really is to I was going to say make a living off it, but essentially that, like, if you could focus on this, it means that you could do more of this stuff.
I do professionally.
And I think there's a place for this type of stuff.
No,
because it's a different podcast. Like, again, I'm not really into podcasts too much. I don't really listen to too many. I've listened to more of your podcasts than I have of any other podcast ever.
Yeah, well, that's because we're best friends. Like,
yeah,
so.
that's it. I'm not a big podcast man, but from the podcasts I've heard, like, I always kind of thought they were very similar, but this seems to be different in that it's encouraging people to talk about fucking everything and anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I say it's from corporations, society, unions, suicide. Do you know what I mean? Everything and anything.
Yeah.
Water charges. Do you know, everything and anything up for discussion, because it doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. People might watch the news on their own and they might mutter something to their wife or whatever, but when it comes to even pub conversations, people don't talk about probably serious shit, you know?
They don't, and it's because they haven't listened to it, or they haven't watched it. So put it this way, somebody who listens to this conversation over the next couple of days, say. So today's what? Today's Monday. So let's say it takes them all week to listen to it, or they listen to it once and get to the start and finish, whatever. Come the weekend, and they're sitting down having a pint, they can say, do you know what? I was listening to this thing about suicide. Do you know what? I was listening to this thing about politics. Do you know what? I was listening to this thing about swimming in a lake. Do you know that kind of way? It gives them a starting point for just a conversation about any of the fucking 1,000 things that we've covered in the last couple of hours. And even that, it's a spark or something. That's all it is, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, that gets it off the lead.
It gets you a bit off. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? That gets you off the staring at television and looking at ads and not really talking about anything of any significance.
But the on the kind of merchandise monetizing any things, this is what I wanted to ask you. Another idea that I've had is to bulk buy essentials. So let's say toilet roll or soap or toothpaste. Shit that you're buying anyway. But why not buy it off the lead website? As good a quality as you're getting wherever you're buying it. Not in, like, you don't have to buy a pallet of the stuff. For it to work out feasible, you know, between
like
getting it delivered.
Do you mean like a group, like as in you buy pallets of the shit and then you make a margin on it, but people actually get it slightly cheaper or the same price as they would?
They're thereabouts the same price. So, like, put it this way.
I'll buy a bog roll off you if that's what you're asking me. No problem, brother.
Pretty much.
I'll buy my bog roll off the lead, yeah.
And
if it's costing me no more and it's the same quality as what the missus is buying in the shop, why wouldn't I buy it off you?
Well, that's the whole point. And you'll buy...
It's like a little club discount or something.
Ideally, if you buy your fucking bog roll, you might buy, you know, for every... I don't know what the ratio is, but for every 50 rolls of bog roll or whatever 20 rolls of bog roll, you get one tube of toothpaste. I'm sure there's a magic kind of ratio thereabouts.
Well, and you know more in the sales background than I would about this stuff.
But no, not at all. But I'm not on about quantity breaks or anything else. But you personally, like, if it takes you 2 months So use up a tube of toothpaste.
How many bottles?
Exactly. How many?
I'll have to start counting.
You may. I want to know back. Right.
I need some back roll and some toothpaste.
And
easy on that toothpaste, kids.
Throw in soap there as well. Do you know that kind of way? So get the basics, the fundamentals.
Yeah, and where did you come up with that stuff? Because it's like non-perishable goods, like.
Well, yeah, I suppose it'd have to be non-perishable.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
From my point of view, like, you know, realistically, I'm going to have to be able to, and I can do this off the back of my business. I can buy 2 pallets of toilet roll and a pallet of toothpaste, and I don't know, fucking whatever else you can think of. And
be all legit now, yeah. I don't want any second-hand toilet roll now.
Oh Jesus! No, look, it's going to be cheap and cheerful, but no, it's going to put it this way: it's going to be the same grade as the fucking stuff, the middle of the road stuff you buy in fucking Tesco or Lidl or whatever. So it's not going to be any better or worse than what you're using. It's not going to cost you any more, but the proceeds go to off the lead.
Funding off the lead.
So if you're listening to this and you want to kind of contribute, but maybe you don't want to just give me money yeah. or you don't want to buy an off the lead hat or a mug, you know, maybe you don't want to fucking wear a flag as like, on your head or on your cup or promote it that way. Maybe you'd like to kind of maybe maybe you want to support it more passively.
Yeah.
Then fucking go online, type in, you know, X amount of rolls, X amount of tubes, and X amount of whatever else I fucking conjure up to sell.
It just might work.
Well, fuck it, it's worth...
How'd you get a delivery? The delivery's going to cost you, isn't it?
But again, look, if the delivery and all that has to be worked into it. Like, I'll get into bed with DHL or fucking Parcel Motel or whoever it is. I'll arrange some fucking deal. I have enough of a background in selling shit to kind of make all that shit work. And I'm not expecting people to pay over the odds. What I'm expecting people to do is, instead of giving, you know, 20 quid a month to Tesco and toiletries, give me 20 quid, and included in that 20 quid is delivery and everything else. And
I mean,
if €1 of that 20 quid goes towards
funding this and getting people talking,
so be it. Like,
well, why not? Like, I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? If it's going to cost you the same, delivery's going to be on time, not going to run out.
Yeah, well, we'll see. And look, to anyone who's managed to fucking stay on how long.
Don't want to know, bro. Don't want to know. Nobody's getting to the end of this fucking podcast.
As near as makes no difference, 4 hours.
Fucking hell.
And we haven't got started.
Not at all.
But we are going to end.
Yeah, I think so.
So listen, to anybody listening, in particular, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts of, would you buy bog roll off me?
On that note.
And on that note, Peadar, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, brother.
I'll have you back for another fucking 4 hour one soon.
Someday.
Pleasure.
Cheers, brother.